Even within the prestigious Usteri family, a dark rumor has long been circulating. Any bloodline member who fails to show talent will be mercilessly cast out. It all started a month ago when the eldest young master, who had remained unconscious from a massive mana backlash after muttering nonsensical words for days, suddenly snapped his eyes open and bolted straight out of the mansion. Instead of heading anywhere terrifying, he braved the pouring rain to reach the edge of the forest. After digging frantically into the earth until his fingertips were raw and bleeding, what he finally pulled from the dirt, to everyone's utter shock, was nothing more than a stubborn weed. And ever since that day, without missing a single moment for a full month straight, Leon hasn't done a single thing except pull weeds. The Asteri family is an illustrious lineage of magic, renowned for its ruthlessly rigid rules. They will cast aside any member who lacks innate talent, even if they share the exact same bloodline. Lately, however, some deeply unfavorable whispers have been spreading through the inner household. The maid Colette lowered her voice carefully while chatting with the others. Have you heard? Word is the young master failed to awaken his mana again this time. Helen hurriedly slapped a hand over her mouth to stifle a gasp. Seriously, this is already his third mana backlash. If things keep going like this, is the second young master going to become the successor? One of them quickly gestured for Helen to watch her tongue. What if someone hears you? Colette jumped in promptly. Right, nothing's been confirmed yet. The little group was so engrossed in gossiping that they had no idea Sylvia had been eavesdropping the whole time. Still, failing the awakening ritual 3 times in a row is bad news. No wonder the eldest young master lost his mind. It's totally understandable. Sabin shared Helen's sentiment. Exactly. He was eccentric enough to begin with, but this time it sounds way worse. Suddenly, Oven spoke up in a raspy voice. What are you guys talking about? Colette and Helen cried out in unison. You seriously don't know. The look of sheer terror on Colette's face as she recounted the story was palpable. It all began a month ago. Following his third bout with mana backlash, the eldest young master had been bedridden for a long stretch. Until one day, he suddenly woke up. But the moment he opened his eyes, he started muttering a long stream of absolute gibberish. Then he bolted straight out of the mansion, acting as though he'd spotted something fascinating in the back garden. Word has it that the young master even dropped to his knees and started digging up the earth with his bare hands. He dug so frantically that his hands were soon torn and bloody. After digging blindly for ages, what he ended up holding, and remembering the twisted, triumphant grin on Leon's face back then, as if he'd just struck gold when anyone else would have thrown it away, was just a single blade of weed. Old man Ulvan and Salvoa could hardly believe they were hearing such a bizarre piece of news. A weed. Ulvan quickly wiped the beads of sweat off his face with a handkerchief. So he pulled up a patch of grass. Big deal. Why are you guys making such a huge fuss over it? The other 3 chimed in together. That's not the point. One of them lowered their voice. Ever since that day, for a full month, the eldest young master has done nothing but pull weeds. Of course, none of them knew that Leon was actually fulfilling a system quest to gather blue cinnamon grass. He'd pull up clump after clump until they formed a huge pile in front of him before he finally looked satisfied. That's enough harvesting for today. Leon's hands were caked in thick mud, and besides, he was thoroughly baffled by the shadowy figures lingering around him. Why are so many people coming out to stare at me today? Man, being the eldest son of a major magical household is no walk in the park. His name was Leon, or more accurately, he used to be Baekhyun, an ordinary guy from Korea. Leon used to be a team leader at a totally average small and medium enterprise, but sick of being pushed around by the company and his boss, he snapped in a fit of rage and slapped his resignation letter right on the desk. Once he quit, the only thing Leon had plenty of was free time, so he decided to log back into the game he used to grind like crazy back when he was job hunting. But when he logged in, a harsh and bitter truth hit him like a truck. What kind of psycho wiped all my characters? Even the cash shop currency I bought is completely gone. Who on earth is this insane? Every single character Leon had worked so hard to build up had been completely deleted. To be fair, it stung a bit since he had a bunch of max-level characters, but since he'd already cleared all the endgame content, he didn't have much attachment left anyway. So Leon just created a brand new character and bought the crafting profession package right off the bat, picking 5 different profession packs to use all at once because why not? Hey, a gamer's got luck and they all maxed out instantly. Leon whistled cheerfully. Alright, I've got free time anyway. Time to live that peaceful crafting life and heal my soul. That was his final memory as Baekhyun. Because when he woke up next, he had become Leon Astaria in the world of In the World. To make matters worse, the current timeline was 50 years past the climax of the main storyline. Right now, Leon was busy gathering sea rosemary while ruminating on those painful memories. Thank goodness this body retained the original owner's memories, otherwise I'd have gone crazy trying to adjust at first. The system chimed in to note that sea rosemary was an herb with a salty, bitter taste akin to seawater, and gathering it marked the completion of his novice herbalist task, netting him 1,000 shillings. The exclusive shop would unlock once he had enough funds. Leon was pretty surprised. Oh, that's fast, I get my own shop. He did a quick mental estimate. Probably around 100,000 shillings to unlock it, huh? If I grind hard enough, maybe I can get out of this mess soon. Leon moved with swift precision, pulling up a bunch of blue cinnamon grass and sea rosemary right in front of him. Thankfully, the system windows were still popping up normally, and the skills he'd bought in the game were intact as well. Come to think of it, this body apparently just failed its third awakening attempt. The Astaria family is a place that values results above everything else. Even within the household, the law of the jungle rules supreme, and only the exceptional get to have it all here. If he wanted to go out and make it on his own, he needed money first. How was he supposed to make money while safely making his exit from this place? A completely unhinged idea suddenly flashed through Lun's mind. What if he just bribed the head of the house? The moment that thought crossed his mind, he instantly wanted to sweep every single herb in sight. Alright, I've got to level up fast and brew something top tier to offer him. Wait, is this blue light effect? Lun dashed toward the bushes like lightning, definitely a rare drop. Just as Leon predicted, it turned out to be a sun-red herb. Without a second thought, he yanked it straight out of the ground. Got it. Immediately, the system flashed a notification detailing the characteristics and uses of the new herb, the sun-red herb. Leon was happier than a pig in mud. Another achievement unlocked. That floating feeling made him completely deaf to the voices around him. Young Master. Leon's eyes shone like high beams. And it's a 3-star achievement, but the more he ignored it, the more persistent the newcomer became. Young Master. Finally, Leon heard the voice of the head housekeeper, Sylvia. Her gaze looked like she wanted to swallow him alive. You seem awfully obsessed with pulling weeds lately, young master. He replied honestly, I have my reasons. Leon suddenly popped back up and asked about the sun-red herb in his hand. Oh right, Sylvia, have you ever seen anything like this? She inspected it for a moment before replying, looks like a top-grade medicinal herb. However, Sylvia's answer wasn't what Leon was hoping for. Not that, it's literally glowing, can't you see it? He started to panic. You seriously can't see it? She looked at him like he was an absolute moron. Looks like the servant's rumors are true after all. She calmly answered, no, I don't see a thing. Leon felt thoroughly awkward under her gaze. He stared at the sparkling blue sun-red herb in his hand and muttered, so, I'm the only one who can see it. Leon was just double-checking whether the light surrounding the herbs was visible to him alone. Sylvia couldn't just stand by and watch Leon fall apart any further. Please return with me, young master. You've been awake for quite a while now, but you still haven't gone to pay your respects to the family head. He's been looking for you. Leon jumped in fright. He's looking for me. Asteria is a family built on absolute performanceism. Even inside the house, it's eat or be eaten, and the exceptional take all. The head of the Astaria family is Putruk, the exact person Leon needed to butter up before making his escape. Leon felt a wave of anxiety for his bleak future. I figured he wouldn't even bother with me once I turned out useless, so why is he calling for me this early? What do? I don't even have a bribe ready yet. It seemed he had just thought of a brilliant strategy to deal with Putruk. Leon told the person in front of him, Sylvia, could you tell him I'll come see him in a bit? And there's one more favor I want to ask of you. Sylvia actually went ahead and passed Leon's message along to Putruk. Oh really? Putruk calmly played with a ball of blazing red magical fire in his palm. That brat still hasn't come to his senses yet. Kunda quickly answered, yes, ever since he woke up, the eldest young master has spent every day pulling weeds. Patrick continued probing, anything else? Kondo bowed and reported honestly, he still can't sense mana, but his physical health is completely fine and his memory has no issues. Patrick was so angry the wrinkles on his face looked like they were about to fuse together. Dismissed. Kunda knew this was his ticket out alive, so he quickly offered a bow and retreated. Patrick's voice turned chillingly cold. Sylvia, what on earth is that brat doing right now? She calmly replied, still pulling weeds. Everyone in the mansion knows about it by now. Obviously, this information didn't do much to soothe Patrick's temper. Sylvia decided to pour a little more fuel onto his raging fire. Lately, the young master's weeding territory has even expanded to the forest outside the estate. Smoke started coming out of Patrick's ears. I didn't ask about that. It looked like Sylvia was determined to make Patrick blow a gasket. Oh right, the eldest young master also mentioned that he'd come pay his respects to you later. Sure enough, Patrick lost it. What? Later? He said he'll come later, he's got some nerve. He sprang to his feet and started shouting, no way, go tell him right now that if he doesn't crawl his way over here this instant, I'll flatten that entire forest. Sylvia, seemingly far too used to the family's dramatic reactions, remained utterly unfazed. Understood, I'll pass your exact words along. After she left, Patrick finally managed to steady his breathing. He used a magical orb to track Lun's whereabouts. Oh lord, this insolent brat. Patrick grumbled tearfully about his youngest grandson. Now that he's awake, he should have run straight to his grandfather to say, "Grandpa, I'm all better now." Instead, he spends weeks just burying his face in dirt to pull weeds. When he returned to his room, Leon was startled. No way. The table was covered in mixing flasks that looked straight out of a chemistry lab. There was even aluminum and metal lying around. He cheered in delight. Where on earth did all this high-end equipment come from? Just because his grandson wanted to try dabbling in alchemy, his grandfather pulled out priceless treasures like this. Ah, the perks of being born into nobility. Leon quickly opened up his system menu to check his skill attributes. All right then. If his guess was right, leveling up the alchemy profession probably worked on the same repetitive grind as the gathering profession. Proficiency levels were split into 3 tiers, with the highest being Master, which only 1% of players ever reached. He tossed a sprig of herbs into the clay pot. The higher the proficiency, the more refined the technique and the better the quality of the finished product. He stirred the potion while grinning like a total goofball. Guess I'll just casually brew 100 batches of potions and chug them all myself to see what happens. With that thought, Leon immediately pressed his hand over the rim of the smoking pot. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "Extract." The very next second, a thick, deep red liquid bubbled over the brim of the pot. Guided by Leon's magic, the liquid slithered its way into the test tubes on the table as the system chimed. Successfully crafted stamina recovery potion. Leon was thoroughly satisfied with the stamina recovery potion sitting right in front of him. Success. Without even bothering to test for poison, he chugged a whole vial of the concoction right down his throat. Having op gear is truly a blessing. Right on cue, the system announced that he had used the potion and officially become a novice alchemist. Leon grinned like a madman, just as I thought, Grandpa. By this point, the room and his mind had lost all remaining light. Just wait for me. The more he drank, the higher the progress bar on the system climbed. Leon kept downing potions with reckless disregard for his own life. By the very end, he was running on fumes. I can't drink anymore. The table was littered with empty, bone-dry potion flasks. His stamina meter was already at 100%, yet he was being forced to chug recovery potions. Wasn't this basically torture? Just one last drop left. Hang in there. Leon forced down the final droplet of potion, his whole body shaking uncontrollably. Yet the sweet fruit of 1,000 shillings was truly in his grasp. Finally, he had successfully unlocked a new recipe. Leon muttered to himself, "All right, checked out the contents, now let's get started." He frantically tossed all the herbs he'd gathered into the cooking pot. While he was out gathering herbs, he'd been racking his brain over what kind of gift would actually suit the old man. Since his grandfather possessed a colossal amount of mana, gifting a mana recovery potion was pointless. And as for stamina recovery, the household always had high-tier healing mages on standby, so giving that would be kind of weird too. Then he thought of a type of potion that could clear away mental fatigue. Right now, Leon was fully focused on brewing it, especially since the old man had to deal with mountains of paperwork every single day. He'd heard that Achmajas could use mana to continuously sustain their physical state, meaning overworking their bodies wasn't an issue. But mental fatigue was a whole different story. Leon was genuinely dead serious about crafting this meaningful gift. The potion in the pot began to sparkle brilliantly just as the recipe described, giving off a scent that was wonderfully fresh and soothing. He quickly poured it into a vial. I've got a really good feeling about this one. In the game, it was just junk item fodder, but in reality, it felt completely different. Leon once again placed his hand over the newly brewed vial of medicine. Len shouted, "Extract." Sparkling droplets of water constantly shifted and morphed under his magic. Imbued within them were countless fond memories of Leon back when he was still Bikyahyun. The system chimed with a notification activating the specialty trait for alchemy. Leon had successfully crafted a mental recovery potion. He couldn't believe the results far exceeded his expectations. 2 stars, you need at least level 8 proficiency to make something like this. This is insane. If it's this thing, it's definitely good enough to bribe the old man with. He'd been utterly exhausted, but just catching a whiff of it made his mind snap instantly awake. It worked wonders even before drinking it. He had successfully crafted a potion that surpassed his current level. The system notified Leon that a mana circuit had formed, triggering mana coordination. Now he could manipulate mana with much finer precision. Leon quietly waited for the new skill to stabilize, keeping a tight grip on the new potion bottle in his hand. And just like that, Leon had successfully awakened his mana. He was over the moon happy. Is this mana? Leon couldn't help but let out a laugh. But that laugh slowly warped into something increasingly unhinged. He had no idea someone had been waiting outside the door the whole time. Finally I. Turns out Kondo had been secretly watching him through a crack in the door. He didn't show any unnecessary emotion, eventually turning away with a sigh. Kondo quickened his pace as he moved away from the room's vicinity. For Leon, everything going down today had been overwhelmingly smooth. His body couldn't even sense mana to begin with, but now he had both mana and money, absolute perfection. Looks like his plan to leave the family was going to go off without a hitch. Harsh sunlight streamed through the window and into the room. He hastily closed his eyes to bask in the thrill of his newly achieved power. But the very next second, his expression twisted into a deep grimace. Wait a minute, did I forget something important? After pondering for a long while, Leon let out a heavy, resounding yell, "Grandpa." Patrick lightly furrowed his brow, asking, why hasn't Leon shown up yet? He shook his head and let out a weary sigh. It's just brewing a few potions. Why is he making such a big deal out of it? Patrick spoke slowly with an air of absolute majesty. Who am I, you ask? I am Patrick Asteria. He continued with profound pride, one of the pillars of the hero's party. Patrick's gaze dropped, his voice carrying immense authority. As the head of the Asteria family, I need only wish it to establish an independent nation at any given moment. Those are all the titles tied to me. He thought with a sense of helplessness about his only grandchild. If only this child would just stay put, I would let him live out his entire life in wealth and luxury without a single worry. Gods only know what he intends to do with that frail body of his. Patrick let out a soft, cold huff and retorted, does our house lack money or perhaps power? Sylvia smiled and replied gently, it is entirely understandable for the family head to be this worried. She hesitated for a brief moment before continuing, however. Sylvia's lips curved upward slightly, her expression softening. The young master was genuinely happy while crafting potions. He instantly dismissed her with a heavy tone. What good is happiness if it means facing death? Patrick gripped the armrests tightly, his expression fraught with lingering anxiety. This is the third time he has suffered a mana shock, as you well know. Surviving even a single time is already a miracle. His voice gradually grew heavy. I cannot keep waiting for a miracle to save the boy's life one more time. Outside, Kondo muttered as he walked. First, young master, the family head has been waiting for quite a while. Leon smiled faintly. I figured as much. Patrick stood frozen, a deep ache flashing in the depths of his eyes. I only wish the boy could live a slightly healthier life. He bowed respectfully and announced, if you'll excuse me, family head. Kondo raised his head and reported slowly, the first young master has arrived. Leon stepped into the room, bowing his head in apology. Please forgive me for being late, grandfather. Gazing at him intently, Patrick offered a mild rebuke. You've been out of the sickbed for quite some time now. Why did it take you until now to come see me? Hearing Patrick's words, Leon let out a soft sigh filled with quiet worry. He fell into contemplation for a moment before speaking up. After this latest bout of mana shock, I've done a lot of thinking. Leon stated the truth calmly. There is no one in the family who doesn't know about my complete lack of magical talent. Stepping forward anxiously, she called out, young master. He offered a gentle smile of reassurance. It's all right, Lady Silva, I'm well aware of that myself. Lowering his gaze, Leon confessed with serene candor, I simply couldn't accept being someone incapable of controlling mana. Or rather, I suppose I refuse to accept it. He squeezed his hand lightly, his voice dropping lower. Because the moment I accepted that truth, I felt as though I would no longer have a place in this family. Leon raised his head, his gaze growing steadily resolute. But things are different now. This is the fruit of my own study and hard work. He broke into a confident smile. Capable of accepting myself and becoming a young master who brings no shame to the Asteria name. Leon abruptly shifted his tone, continuing with heartfelt sincerity. Besides, I figured you must have grown terribly exhausted over all this time, grandfather. Patrick froze for a fraction of a second, thinking, what is the meaning of this? Observing the person before him in silence, he thought, there is something distinctly different about the boy. Is it his expression, his aura? No, it's something far more fundamental than that. Patrick fell silent, his gaze lingering on the item placed before him. A wave of emotional turbulence washed over him as he wondered inwardly. Has he really been making this for my sake all this time? Patrick gave a slight nod, offering silent praise, truly commendable. He let out a soft sigh and muttered to himself, but I have long since surpassed the limits of ordinary mortals. Patrick shook his head thoughtfully. Even ordinary lethal poisons have no effect on me, let alone a single vial of potion. Leon said with a warm smile, I had you in mind while working hard to make this, grandfather. He gently pushed the gift toward him. You simply must try some whenever you have the time. Patrick smiled faintly, an irrepressible wave of joy welling up inside him. After a moment of quiet reflection, he asked, are you finished speaking? Leon bowed his head slightly and replied, yes. Patrick nodded gently, his tone composed. I understand, you may take your leave. He bowed respectfully before turning and walking out of the room. Sylvia smiled and remarked quietly, you say all that, but you certainly look happy. Clearing his throat, Patrick tried to maintain a calm facade. All right now, it's nothing like that. Directing his gaze toward the vial of potion on the table, he thought, but this potion. Narrowing his eyes, Patrick tried to recall. It feels like I've seen this somewhere before. Observing the vial intently, she spoke up. If it were merely a mana recovery potion, there should be a perceptible mana fluctuation. Should we have someone analyze it? Patrick shook his head in immediate refusal. There's no need. Looking down at the vial in his hand, Patrick spoke in a low voice. I want to feel my grandson's heartfelt gesture for myself. Sulva smiled, let out a soft sigh, and turned her gaze toward him. Bowing her head slightly, she replied respectfully, I understand. Then I shall take my leave. Stroking the side of the vial with a gentle smile, Patrick thought. Just how long has it been since Lun last gave me a gift? Gazing quietly at the gift, he mused with mild admiration. Now that I look closer, the boy's craftsmanship is genuinely impressive. Even with top-tier tools at one's disposal, mastering pharmacy and alchemy to the point where he could finish something like this overnight is no small feat. This little rascal really is. Patrick chuckled softly to himself and murmured, even though this won't have any effect on me anyway, it would be a terrible waste to let a gift from my grandson go to ruin. Let's see what it tastes like. Slowly unscrewing the cap, he took a sip of the potion. Patrick leaned back leisurely against his chair, closing his weary eyes halfway. He was momentarily stunned, sensing inwardly my mind has suddenly grown entirely at peace. How utterly relaxing. Fragments of memory involuntarily surfaced in his mind, past recollections flashing by piece like shattered glass. Patrick found himself unexpectedly reminiscing about the days gone by. He drifted off into slumber, quietly letting go as he soon lapsed into a deep sleep. Though it was merely a brief nap, hardly even worthy of being called sleep. In the midst of his dream, Patrick smiled faintly, though this particular dream felt strangely peaceful and sweet. A moment later, he slowly opened his eyes and looked forward. Stunned for a moment, Patrick felt a wellspring of nostalgia, recognizing it as a dream of the days he always longed for. Blinking slightly, he murmured in surprise, "Did I fall asleep?" Quietly sensing the changes within his body, Patrick noted, "Yet I feel no discomfort at all, nor any sense of emptiness." Clenching his fist slightly, his expression turned to sheer astonishment. How bizarre. My head feels lighter by half, and the chronic headache that I thought would haunt me forever has vanished entirely. Patrick sat in thoughtful silence beside his desk, his gaze drifting off into the distance. He chuckled helplessly to himself, murmuring, he really is as stubborn as they come. Propping his chin in his hand, Patrick's gaze grew resolute. That's right. I can't just keep him locked away in a cage forever simply because his body is weak. As long as we find a way to prevent these mana shocks, that will be more than enough. Stroking the potion vial gently, a deep longing filled his heart. Stay healthy and stay by your grandfather's side for a very long time, Leon. In a corner of the courtyard, Colette stared in wide-eyed shock. What? First young Master Leon Asteria is dying. Helen leaned in close and replied in a whisper. That's right. I heard he even gave a farewell gift to the family head. Lowering her voice to sound like she was privy to deep secrets, she added, that must be why he's been out pulling weeds every single day lately. Eska crossed his arms and let out a derisive, scoffing laugh. What else could it be? He's probably out picking his own burial plot beforehand. A sudden loud crash echoed from behind, making him shriek in startled fright. Flustered, she scrambled for an excuse to leave. That's right, someone asked me to help take in the laundry. Waving her hands frantically to disperse the crowd, Uska barked, all right, everyone back to work. Looking at the person before him, Kondo asked softly, Hannah, are you all right? She shook her head slightly and sighed. I'm not all right. I heard the first young master's attendant asked to quit again. His eyes widened in disbelief as he blurted, what again? Hannah clenched her fists in mounting frustration. Exactly. Those people are truly despicable. Before, they claimed serving the first young master was the easiest job in the estate and celebrated landing such a sweet gig. The more she spoke, the angrier she became, and now, just because of some petty rumors, they dare to quit without a word of warning. Once you've taken a job within the family, you're supposed to share both the good and the bad to the end. They have zero loyalty. Hannah gave a light snort filled with indignation. Just how many favors have they received from the first young master over the years, only to throw all that gratitude away over some baseless gossip? Turning pale, Kondo hurried to warn her. Hannah, behind you. A remarkably calm voice suddenly rang out from behind. Startled, Hannah whipped around and stammered, manager. Sulva wore a polite, mild smile as she asked, would you mind telling me the content of that rumor? Maintaining her gentle smile, she continued slowly, I'm quite curious myself. Bowing her head slightly, Sylvia spoke up, I apologize for being late. Waving a hand dismissively, he replied calmly, it's fine, is something the matter? Smiling gently, she shook her head, nothing of any real importance. Sylvia stepped closer at a leisurely pace and continued, I was simply sorting out some household matters. In any case, you called for me so early in the morning. What is this about? Patrick watched her in silence, a faint trace of worry flickering in his eyes. Pushing the potion vial forward, he said in a low voice, "With your witch's eyes, would you mind taking a look at this bottle of potion for me?" Lowering her gaze, Sylvia observed the potion bottle on the table intently. Frowning slightly, she spoke with a hint of doubt. This isn't something the young master could possibly make. Salva paused, her gaze flickering with uncertainty. This is. Her eyes widening in unmasked astonishment, she whispered, "Isn't this the hero's potion?" Salva slowly drifted back into the past. The hero, the savior of the world, the one who ended the war with the demon race 50 years ago before vanishing without a trace. She continued with profound reverence. Not a single labyrinth in this world could ever manage to imprison him. Sylvia clenched her hands slightly, her voice dropping. A legendary figure whom even the gods regarded with caution, and a flicker of hope suddenly welled up within her chest, perhaps the only one capable of finding the covenant hidden within this estate's labyrinth and granting me release. The only one. Taking a light breath, Sylvia asserted, only the hero could possibly possess something like this. Maintaining his calm composure, Patrick spoke slowly, "Let's not jump to conclusions just yet. If this truly were the hero's potion, its effects should be far more powerful than this." She fell into deep thought, a lingering doubt still resting in her mind. Furthermore, Solvoa shook her head slightly, silently dismissing the thought. Leon couldn't possibly be the hero. Gazing at her, Patrick stated leisurely, "Regardless, I still intend to ask the boy to make a better batch. I want you to experience this same sense of relief." "What?" Sylvia said in surprise. "For me." Patrick smiled and explained calmly, "That's right. Haven't you lived in a state of perpetual languor for hundreds of years? If this potion works on an 8-circle grand mage like myself, I figured it might help you as well, even if just a little." Hearing this, she merely offered a helpless, bitter smile. The very next moment, Sylvia burst into laughter, her laughter echoing throughout the room. Shaking her head lightly, she spoke up. "Do you know what the most useless thing in the world is, grandfather? Worrying about a witch. We are born with thousand-year lifespans, bodies immune to all diseases, immense magical power, and supreme skills." Gradually subduing her laughter, Sylvia continued softly, "So there is no need to trouble our lovely grandson." Falling silent for a brief moment, she smiled, however. Sylvia looked at Patrick with tender eyes. "I truly appreciate your kind thoughts, my lord." Patrick was momentarily struck silent, calling out inwardly, "Sylvia." A short while later, Leon stepped in from outside and asked, "You look like you've got something on your mind, grandfather." Patrick raised an eyebrow slightly and shot back immediately, "Mind? What on earth would I have on my mind?" Observing his complexion, Leon pressed on, "So you didn't sleep well last night?" Patrick shook his head in denial, "No." Propping his chin on his hand with a thoughtful look, Leon guessed, "Lack of exercise." Patrick replied tersely and decisively, "No." Tilting his head, Leon offered a serious conjecture, "Or is it old age acting up, making you unable to handle greasy food anymore?" Glaring fiercely at him, Patrick thought, "This little brat has quite a nerve." Lun continued calmly, "If none of those are the reason." Shifting his gaze to the potion vial on the table, Leon asked, "Could it be because of the potion I gave you?" Stunned for a second, Patrick confirmed inwardly, "Ah, that's right." Patrick cast aside his playful demeanor and turned serious. "All right, let's not waste time. I'll cut straight to the point. Can you make a higher quality potion than the one you gave me before?" Leon frowned slightly, calculating inwardly, "Given my current situation, crafting a 2-star potion is difficult enough as it is." He furrowed his brows in deep thought. "I simply cannot find any more 1-star herbs." Leon let out a soft sigh, continuing to muse, "That last one was pure luck and mostly thanks to my equipment." But he clenched his fist lightly, a look of fierce determination in his eyes. "I can't let this opportunity slip away while my sponsor is showing this much interest. I have to seize this chance at all costs." Raising his head, Leon replied with steady calm, "It will take a little time, but I can do it. May I ask what you plan to use it for, grandfather?" Patrick answered without hesitation, his tone casual, "I'm planning to give it to the manager." Leon's eyes widened slightly, his expression betraying utter astonishment. Blinking rapidly, Leon's mind immediately raced to a conclusion. "I can feel it, they are clearly flirting with each other." In his imagination, Patrick said casually, "I just happened to find this lying around." Sylvia blushed and replied softly, "Family head." A sudden voice cut into his train of thought, "That's not how it is at all." The more he thought about it, the more convinced he became. "That's right, naturally he'd want to give the person he loves something better than what I brought him. He must have been terribly lonely for all these years since her passing." The protesting voice rang out once more in sheer helplessness. "I told you that's not it." Taking a deep breath, Leon spoke with utmost seriousness, "Grandfather, please give me 2 weeks. I will make a higher grade potion before then." Patrick's eyes immediately went wide in shock. "What, 2 weeks?" Catching sight of the older man's reaction, Leon faltered for a fraction of a second before changing his mind on the spot and declaring resolutely, "I'll have it finished in 1 week." Just wait for it, grandfather. He silently pumped himself up. This is my chance to max out my favorability grinding. I must succeed. Patrick could only stare in blank bewilderment as Leon hurried out of the room and into the courtyard. Tugging at his hair in deep frustration, Leon muttered, "But how on earth am I supposed to brew a 3-star potion?" Walking along while nursing a pounding headache, Leon calculated grimly, there isn't enough time to mindlessly grind levels just to churn out a decent potion. And even if I bought high-end herbs, I wouldn't even know how to use them properly. I'd be better off spending that money buying a pre-made bottle. Suddenly remembering something, Leon snapped his fingers. Come to think of it, let me check the shilling shop. There's bound to be some useful materials in there. A notification window popped up before Leon's eyes. Unlock potion preview. Can view item lists and item descriptions. Stunned, he frowned slightly. What? Does this mean I still can't buy them yet? As Leon scrolled through the merchandise, his mouth twitched. Hang on, why is everything here so insanely expensive? Is this a gold-plated key or something? If it's this battered, they should be selling it cheap. He continued down the catalog, his expression stiffening in disbelief as he noted that the other categories were just as bad. Leon stared helplessly at the price tags before him, 10,000 shillings just for a spice. There's literally nothing I can afford to buy here. He let out a soft sigh and muttered to himself, if that method won't work, my only remaining option is the old-fashioned way. Leon silently weighed his remaining alternatives. There was a limit to how many high-end herbs he could forage by hand. Quickly zeroing in on his objective for gathering high-end herbs, what I need right now is. Leon nodded firmly to himself, high-quality tools. At the nearby blacksmith's forge, the steady ringing of hammers striking iron echoed incessantly. Saul glanced over his shoulder into the workshop and shouted, "Boss, get out here." From deep within the workshop, Mudu roared back irritably, "No, I'm buried in work here, what are you calling me for?" Hurrying him along, Saul urged, "Just hurry up." Sean pointed toward the storefront with a wide grin, "We've got a big spender here, come out already." Pausing his work, Mudu instantly changed his tune, "A big spender." Mutta muttered under his breath while continuing to work, "If he's a big spender, just rip him off and sell him whatever. Why are you bothering me for?" Stepping up to the counter, Leon spoke politely, "Are you the owner of this blacksmith shop?" He stated his purpose calmly, "Would it be possible for me to borrow a space to try forging a few things myself?" The old blacksmith silently appraised the customer standing before him, clearly a wealthy young master judging by his expensive clothes. Mutta stared blankly at him, letting slip in bewilderment. "What?" Leon offered a confident smile. "Of course, I won't let you lend it for free." Offering his terms with serene composure, "I will compensate you handsomely. What do you say?" Strolling around the shop, Leon came to a halt in front of a counter displaying various tools. Picking them up to examine them one by one, he evaluated them critically. "The quality is a bit poor. These won't hold up for long." Is it because professional blacksmiths can't be bothered to make these trivial little gadgets? Either way, the prices on these are highway robbery. I'd rather make one myself. Crossing his arms, Leon resumed calculating. Even if I revealed myself as the eldest son of the Asteria family to place an order with a blacksmith, they couldn't possibly manufacture high-grade equipment within a single day. If that's the case, stepping toward the entrance of the workshop, he politely called out, "Would it be possible for me to borrow a space to try forging a few things myself?" Sean raised his head in surprise. "Forge it yourself?" Leon offered his proposal with calm composure. "I'll pay you handsomely." As the money pouch was unfastened, glittering gold coins spilled out across the counter before their eyes. Mudu furrowed his brows, grumbling unhappily. "The hearth's already acting up and now I have to babysit some aristocrat's play-acting game." Turning pale, Sean grabbed his arm and hissed anxiously, "Brother, please, I'm begging you, keep your voice down." Sean turned to Leon and explained apologetically, "Young master, you grew up in the lap of luxury so you might not know how the world works, but this amount of money is more than enough to buy Mudu a shovel outright. Please take your money back." Offering an embarrassed smile, he offered some advice. "There are always swindlers lying in wait to fleece fat targets these days, so you have to be careful." Leon blinked, finding it an equal mix of funny and exasperated, "But I gave you extra on purpose." He nodded helplessly and replied, "All right then." Mudu crossed his arms and stared at him suspiciously. So, raising an eyebrow in disbelief, he demanded, "A soft-boiled noble like you actually wants to forge a shovel with your own hands?" Hearing those words, Leon involuntarily recalled the records he had read. The dwarf race. Leon continued reminiscing through the description in his mind. A race capable of touching fire without being burned, possessing supernatural strength combined with meticulous precision. Gazing at Mudu, Leon thought with inward astonishment, "I heard only their descendants remained nowadays. I never expected to run into one here." Mudu stared intently at the visitor and asked, "What's your name?" Leon answered with calm composure, "Leon." The blacksmith froze for a moment before blurting out, "You're that notorious madman of the Asteria family." Mudu whipped his head back and bellowed, Hey, go prep a space for this eccentric customer. Sean clutched his forehead and sighed, stepping in to intervene frantically. Good grief, brother, do me a favor and put a leash on that mouth of yours. Pointing toward the corner of the workshop, the old smith said, you can use that forge over there. Just boss this brat around and do whatever you want. Leon nodded in polite gratitude, thank you. Suddenly remembering something, Leon asked, by the way, what is your, glancing around, he stopped short. He's already gone. Sean stepped forward with a smile to explain, my older brother's name is Milan Mudu, you can just call him Mudu. As for me, my name is Sean, please follow me this way first. Bowing respectfully to lead the way, he said, I'll show you around the forge. Sean smiled as he walked and introduced, feel free to look around. He led Leon on a tour of the entire workshop, passionately explaining each section. Pointing toward the display area ahead, Sean continued, and once the products are finished, they get showcased right outside. Leon quietly observed everything around him. The equipment was fantastic and the process meticulously detailed, but he furrowed his brow filled with doubt. Why is the quality of the finished products so low? Leon abruptly turned his head toward the forge. What was that just now? The system's voice immediately chimed in, low-level fire spirit. It's quieter than usual. Staring at the flames, he asked, Sean, are the forge's fires usually this weak? He hesitated before answering, well, it's not exactly weak right now, but... Sean let out a soft sigh and explained, the firepower has definitely dropped compared to before. But how did you know that? Leon smiled and calmly replied, the fire told me. He continued, so let me show you how to make a shovel. Mudda's voice suddenly cut in from behind, wait, stop right there. Glancing at his younger brother, the blacksmith gave a decisive order, Sean, go back to work. I have matters to discuss privately with the young master. Once they stepped outside, Mudu slowly spoke up, young master. Looking straight into Leon's eyes with utmost seriousness, he asked, did you see it? Leon gave a slight nod of confirmation. That's right. Fixing a steady gaze on him, the dwarf lowered his voice. Can you fix it? Leon answered coolly, probably. Hearing that, Mudu hesitated for a moment before clenching his fists tightly. He drew a deep breath and laid out his condition. If you can actually fix this thing, I will personally teach you the art of smithing. Looking at Leon with fierce sincerity, Mudu added, I'll grant you priority ordering rights for any crafting requests you ever make. Leon was slightly moved by the offer. The smithy in this territory was so renowned that it took orders from other regions as well. Realizing the immense value of this privilege, Leon wore a confident smirk. All right, leave it to me. Inside the smithy, the feeble flames flickered weakly through the air as Lun slowly approached the dying fire. Mudu watched silently, his heart heavy. I worked myself to the bone to make this the largest workshop in the territory, but the fire spirit has completely run out of energy. He clenched his fists, thinking helplessly, without the spirit, relying solely on artificial firepower will ruin the product quality. I'm reaching the limit of what I can make up for with skills alone, and since I'm a dwarf, I can't even understand what the spirit is saying. At this rate, we're completely screwed. Looking at the flames, Leon calmly asked, so what happens if you just leave it like that? Mudu silently evaluated the person before him. The guy looked skinny and utterly unreliable, but if he really could see spirits. Listening for a moment, Leon spoke up, it says it's thirsty. Mudu's eyes widened in shock, thirsty. A fire spirit is thirsty. Mudu scratched his head, seriously contemplating, should I pour some water on it? Leon immediately turned to object, you're going to pour water on a fire. Are you out of your mind? Throwing his hands up with an aggrieved look, Mudu protested, hey, you're the one who said it was thirsty. What do you want us to do, young master? Leon took a breath and calmly explained, calm down, Mudu. We have to give it something a fire spirit can actually drink. Looking at him with mounting expectation, Mudu declared, if you can solve this, I'll gift you my life's masterpiece or whatever else you want. Leon raised an eyebrow to confirm. You serious? Mudu nodded without a moment's hesitation. Yes, I mean it. The corners of Leon's lips curved upward into a confident grin. Leon smiled and spoke decisively, great, I'll get to work tonight. Night fell, but the light in his room remained flickering. Rubbing his forehead, Leon let out a soft sigh. Unbelievable, I'm brought to another world and I'm still pulling overtime. The system's voice suddenly rang out, the low-level spirit is crying out. Spirit essence is depleting, quench the thirst. He chuckled softly and replied, all right, I'll help you out right now. Browsing the system info while analyzing to himself, the low-level fire spirit is suffering from severe dehydration. Normally it wouldn't reach total exhaustion, but the problem is this is the biggest smithy in the territory. Dying of overwork or dehydration, isn't that a bit ridiculous for a spirit? He quickly pinpointed the solution. Now that I know where the problem lies, what I need is, exactly, see rosemary. A recipe panel popped up in front of Lun, see rosemary oil recipe. Reading as he muttered, normally it's just a salty herb, but through a few refining steps, it turns into an oil that fire spirits can absorb. The system immediately confirmed, see rosemary oil successfully crafted. Looking at the finished product, Leon nodded slightly. Done. He carefully brought the vial of oil close to the flames. There you go, drink up. The system's voice chimed in once more. Thirst has been assuaged. The spirit's attributes and the sea rosemary oil are harmonizing. But the next notification quickly followed. Thirst is not yet fully satisfied. Leon exhaled softly and rolled up his sleeves. All right, I'll make more. Right after that, he set to work preparing additional ingredients. Leon deftly flew through every step without the slightest delay. The system issued another notification. Thirst has been quenched. Spirit essence has been restored. Another line of text scrolled across his vision. The spirit is grateful. Symbiosis experience increased. Smiling gently at the flames, he said, "You're welcome." Mudu stood frozen for a long while before blurting out, "You eccentric little brat. You actually pulled it off." Looking at him with deep admiration, Mutta said, "You're truly amazing." Mudu's expression shifted in alarm as Leon swayed unsteadily. "Are you all right?" Waving a hand, Leon forced a smile. I'm fine." Forcing a calm demeanor, Leon explained, "It's just from pulling an all-nighter, nothing to worry about." Mudu immediately shook his head in panic. "No way." Catching Leon as he stumbled, Mudu frantically urged, "You can't just drop dead on me like this, kid." A short while later, in a kitchen thick with the rich aroma of food, adorable little Thorn and Leaf leaned eagerly over the dining table to ask, "Big brother, what's your name?" Before the young man could answer, the two kids chimed in over each other, "I'm Thorn made of gold. And I'm Leaf made of jade." The pair's sheer cuteness made everyone chuckle. You two are so close. Watching their close bond, a pang of bittersweet reflection hit him regarding his own sibling. Come to think of it, I wonder if I even have any brothers or sisters. What would they look like? If I remember right, they were pretty thorny, and more importantly, I don't think they liked me very much. Pondering for a moment, he brushed the thought aside to comfort himself. Whatever, as long as we don't cross paths, things should be fine. I have zero interest in the family head position anyway. A loud shout from behind startled Leon into turning around. Oh goodness, you kids. Rhea hurried over to scold the mischievous little ones. Go play somewhere else, the young master is trying to eat. Oh, so he really is a young master. He offered a gentle smile and reintroduced himself. My name is Leon. Thorn looked excited, preferring nicknames. But young master sounds way cooler, so I'm gonna call you young master. Call me whatever you like. Chased away, the two children ran off while teasing each other playfully. These two kids, stop bothering the young master's meal, young master, young master. Sitting down to breakfast with Mudu's wife, Leon said, I'm so sorry, young master, they're still a bit too young. It's fine, seeing the kids so energetic is actually quite pleasant to watch. By the way, this soup is delicious. I'm so glad it's to your liking, my lord. Unable to hide her lingering worry from earlier, she said, Young master, you have no idea how startled I was when my husband brought you home this morning. Rhea expressed her profound gratitude for his help. I heard how much trouble you went through because of him, and on top of that, you even stepped in to solve the problem. I don't even know how we'll ever repay this debt. Don't worry about it. You gave me a place to sleep and food to eat, so we're even. Right on cue, a child's voice echoed, Daddy's back. The children swarmed forward to joyfully greet their father. Daddy, did the young master cure the spirit? Your face is covered in soot again. You little rascals. Leon offered a warm, gentle smile and suggested setting off. If you're done eating, shall we head out? Mudu broke into a confident, hearty grin. I've got everything completely prepared. Leon was utterly astounded by the sight before him. Staring in disbelief at the luxurious gold-trimmed wooden plaque placed right beside a set of freshly finished, razor-sharp farming tools, Leon listened as Mudu explained. Like I said before, whatever you need, I'll always prioritize it first. If we're both busy, just write down what you need right here, and I'll forge it and have it delivered straight to you. Mudu stepped ahead cheerfully to lead the way for the young master. Anyway, that's not the important part. Come on in, Leon gasped at the sight of the blocks of pure, refined iron before him. Mutta explained his thoughtful preparation. Here's your iron. Judging by your stamina, I figured starting you off with melting ore would probably knock you out cold, so I got the materials ready beforehand. This iron was refined by a descendant of the dwarf clan. Recognizing the blacksmith's earnestness in teaching, Leon asked, You're teaching me way more seriously than I expected. What? Don't tell me you were planning to just half-ass this and call it a day. Eager to dive straight into his first smithing lesson, Leon replied, Of course not, I'm ready right now. What should I do first? Deciding to demonstrate for him first, the blacksmith nodded, That's the spirit. Let me show you how it's done. The first lesson was mastering metal temperature. First off, the most fundamental rule of smithing is the temperature of the iron. You have to nail the temperature precisely, not too cold, not too hot. Just making it glow red hot isn't enough, but if you overheat it, it turns straight into molten iron. Fire spirit appear. Once the iron glowed a perfect shade of red, the moment for smithing had arrived. Right now. The sound of the hammer striking echoed powerfully. The force of your blow determines the shape of the weapon. Strike force is crucial, flatten the blade edge thin, and keep the spine thick for durability. Finally came the filing and sharpening to finish the piece. Once you've got the basic shape down, file it and use a whetstone to sharpen the edge. Putting the finishing touches on a hoe, Mudu muttered. Just got to fit the handle on this hoe and… The completed hoe burst forth with a brilliant aura. Hoe's done, see, piece of cake, right? Mudu proudly asserted his craftsmanship. Well, okay. For ordinary people this is far from easy, but with legendary Mudu here helping you out, don't sweat it. Can I use the rest of this iron? Mudu stared in sheer shock as the young master took immediate action. Of course, go ahead. Really got it. Leon tossed the entire batch of iron straight into the furnace, making the dwarf gasp. What do you mean got it? Calmly facing the blazing furnace, Leon said, I'm going to give it a try. The sound of iron being forged rang out with immense strength and resolve. Wiping away his sweat wearily after the first few hammer strikes, Leon thought, I expected this, but it's way harder than I thought. The system notifications popped up one after another in rapid succession. Incomplete hoe, status, unrepairable. Damn it, this needs to be remelted in the fire before it can be used again. Incomplete hoe, completion rate 15%, uncertain if completion is achievable. Undeterred, Leon stubbornly kept hammering away. This is tough, but I can't stop now. If I keep repeating this, I'm bound to get it eventually. Thus began a grueling training regimen filled with endless consecutive failures. He began grasping the knack for maintaining precise temperatures. That's it. Delivering powerful, confident blows onto the glowing red iron, Leon muttered, just like that last one. Dazzling light burst forth with every decisive swing of his hammer. The system abruptly announced that he had awakened a brand new talent. Holy crap, kid. The blacksmith stared in pure astonishment at the glowing piece of iron in Leon's hands. Right now, try forging with that. The veteran craftsman felt an unusual aura radiating from it, his eyes widening in shock. This feels completely different from before. Beating with sweat, Leon focused intensely on the hot iron. The ringing of the hammer struck true as the basic shaping phase officially commenced. He cheered triumphantly upon completing his very first hoe. Done. Handcrafted hoe, crafted by hand, increases the drop rate of high-tier items. Mudu showered his talent with endless praise. Not bad at all, this weirdo actually has a knack for it. Do you think it looks okay? It's way beyond just okay. This is a genuine innate talent, you should be proud of yourself. You finished one, so take a quick break. Really, what should I make next? Eager to learn how to craft new tools, Leon requested, teach me how to make a sickle. The sudden request left the blacksmith completely dumbfounded. Bursting into a hearty laugh at the boy's relentless determination, Mudu remarked, when it comes to sheer stubbornness, you're a total maniac. Happily agreeing to pass down all his secrets, Mudu grinned. Fine by me, I'll teach you everything. As night began to fall once more, Leon made a silent promise to his family. Grandpa, just wait a little longer. I'll definitely finish your love story. Driving the hoe deep into the earth marked the start of a brand new journey. A close-up info window detailed a newly harvested rare herb, finger ginseng. A plant with properties similar to regular wild ginseng but shaped like a finger, requires meticulous gathering techniques. When boiled and consumed properly, it increases stamina. Leon was thoroughly surprised by the overwhelming performance boost of his newly forged hoe. Just swapping to a better crafted hoe makes this big of a difference. But he quickly realized this was only the beginning, and that's not all. A mystical, glowing forest emerged filled with countless hidden herbs waiting to be discovered. Equipping both a hoe and a sickle lets me gather an even wider variety of herbs. Leon wore a confident smile thinking about his future skill progression. If my digging proficiency goes up just a bit more, 3-star potions are totally doable. Excited to train further, he thought, let's keep digging to get used to the rhythm. New item info windows popped up continuously during the harvest. Banana sweet potato leaves, banana sweet potato vines. Spotting a tuber exposed deep within a dirt hole, he cheered excitedly, just as I thought. Based on this shape, it's a sweet potato, which means underneath this dirt. The moment he brought his hoe down hard, a sudden burst of brilliant flames flared up, making him jump in surprise. A piping hot roasted sweet potato appeared alongside a surprise blessing notification. The low-level fire spirit's blessing imbued in the hoe has been triggered. Obtained a perfectly roasted banana sweet potato via the fire spirit's blessing. A roasted sweet potato. Carefully reading the description, Leon deduced, the fire spirit's blessing gives a certain chance to produce a perfectly roasted item. I bet this works on anything edible. That's incredible. I only swung the hoe once, and I already got a perfectly roasted sweet potato. The golden, fragrant roasted sweet potato resting in his hand made his mouth water. Without wasting another second in thought, Leon decided to dig in right away. Let's eat first. Right on cue, he took a massive bite. The very first bite sent waves of pure bliss through him. So hot, but that just makes it even better. Sweet potatoes are always best eaten piping hot enough to burn your mouth. It possessed a flawless, deep sweetness accompanied by a rich, nutty flavor, tasting just like eating a regular sweet potato drenched in rich milk. To Leon Wright then, the roasted sweet potato tasted like food of the gods. So good. The sweet potato's rich aroma even attracted a small bird that flew in close. Seeing its sparkling eyes, he instantly understood. What's wrong, you want a bite too. Breaking off a small piece and offering it out, he said, here you go. Curiously lowering its head to take a bite, the bird's expression shifted from curious to sparkling with light, mirroring Leon's earlier look. Chuckling at its reaction, he smiled, good, right, dig in. Seeing it flutter about excitedly over the delicious food brought back a wave of nostalgia. I used to have a little buddy just like you when I played this game. Wonder how they're doing now. Wrapping up his mealtime break, he stood up gracefully with the sunrise dawning behind him. Now that I've got some energy back, should I start gathering potion ingredients again? First, I should dig up a few more sweet potatoes. Meanwhile, a heavy sigh of distress echoed back at the mansion. None other than Kondo, leaning one hand against a tree with an anxious expression. It's been 3 days since young Master Leon left. Why on earth did he go to the smithy? This is driving me crazy. Should I go look for him right now? Behind him, Sylvia remained entirely unbothered, as if the eldest young master hadn't vanished at all. Unsure how long she had been standing there, Kondo turned around in surprise. Head housekeeper. Yes, I'm freaking out over here. There are even weird rumors spreading all across the territory. People are saying the eldest young master is dying, or that he's about to be kicked out of the family. His rambling was cut short by an enthusiastic voice. Oh look, it's Leon. With his new feathered friend perched on his shoulder, he called out, everyone waiting out here. Spotting the person he had been waiting for these past few days, Kondo cried out, young master. Kondo rushed to his side. Young master, good grief, look at the state of you. Leon calmly reassured him, I'm fine. It's no big deal. But brushing it off with a casual scratch of his head didn't sit well with Sylvia, who frowned slightly. How can the eldest son of the Asteria family possibly look like this? Kondo curiously pointed at the bird. By the way, what kind of bird is that? Leon finally realized something was perched on his shoulder. What the? When did you follow me, Holmes? Startled, Sulva stepped closer and interrupted, young master. You don't need to push yourself anymore. Understanding the implication behind her words instantly, he thought, Grandpa must have told her everything already. He let out a helpless sigh, muttering, Grandpa really lacks any sense of tact. This attitude left Sylvia frozen in utter bewilderment. Continuing unabated, he said, anyway, the 1-week deadline I asked for hasn't passed yet, so please wait just a little longer. It's running a bit late because gathering the materials took some time, but I've managed to secure every single one of them. She asked in astonishment, you gathered the materials yourself. Running inward while turning back to reply, Leon called out, so please wait just a bit longer for me. I'll craft it as quickly as possible. Kondo, I'm quite all right, so please go back to your work. With a pitiful expression, the attendant stammered, but young master, at least let me apply some ointment to those scratches. Kondo called out anxiously as he chased after him, young master, leaving Sylvia standing alone in deep contemplation. She thought to herself, as a witch, most existing potions have virtually no effect on me. I have no idea what Petruk said to the boy, but among all the members of the Asteria family, I have always seen Leon as the frailest and the child who broke my heart the most. Yet, seeing the boy grueling away at heavy blacksmithing work all night just to gather herbs. It's utterly foolish, yet a faint, fragile spark of hope began to stir within her. The images of him from his childhood were precisely why she genuinely didn't dare to harbor absolute certainty that Leon could pull off this impossible feat. Could the boy really be able to craft a potion of that caliber? A few days later, Sylvia went to see Patrick directly. Granting her permission to enter, he said, you've arrived. Judging by your expression, I'm going to guess the potion actually worked. The present Sylvia no longer wore a look of melancholy. She reported with evident pride, my mind and emotions, which had grown dim and withered for decades, suddenly became crystal clear. I knew the boy had been working hard, but I never expected him to be able to brew a potion that would actually work on me in such a short span of time. This should have been impossible unless you did something yourself, family head. Denying it immediately, he replied, Sylvia, I didn't do a thing. I've been plenty busy enough just dealing with the preparations for Leon's coming-of-age ceremony. A ceremony that ended up getting cancelled because of his mana shock, leaving a literal mountain of paperwork piled up behind me. Sylvia solemnly expressed her prediction. If Leon managed to craft a potion of this caliber entirely on his own, it leads to an entirely different problem. This feels truly just like a hero's potion. According to legend, the hero was an entity that appeared concurrently with monsters to save the world before it could be swallowed by darkness. Yet that person's personal life could never be called happy. They had to fight countless battles to rescue a chaotic world, continually tasting despair and emptiness with every choice they made. Once peace was restored to the world, that individual abruptly vanished, much like a disposable tool meant solely for the purpose of saving the world. Patrick agreed, that's right, they vanished without a single trace, as if they had simply evaporated. The remaining comrades and descendants of that person have been searching for the hero ever since, yet we have yet to find any trace of them. If by some miraculous stroke of magic Leon truly is the hero, what on earth are we supposed to do? Losing the comrade who fought side by side with me on the battlefield was already more than enough. I don't want to go through that agony once more with my own grandson. Sylvia froze for a fraction of a second. The next second, she broke into a smile. Then I suppose it's time to hide our lovely child away very carefully. Old Sylvia here would like to tender her retirement starting now. Stunned by her words, he blurted in shock, "What? You can't possibly do that. That's completely absurd. Are you willing to give up your own freedom just to hide Leon away? Don't you want to live unbound to this estate forever? If it were up to me, I'd find that hidden covenant and let you rest." Countering Patrick's fierce objection with composed calmness, she replied, "Patrick, worrying about a witch is the most useless thing in the world. I have memorized the clauses of that covenant by heart. Which Sylvia cannot leave this domain, which Sylvia may live as a human within this domain." At that very moment, a figure appeared by the window and chimed in, "Because our lovely child has helped me live more like a human being." It was an alternate version of Sylvia. Smiling with amusement, she added, "So I would be more than happy to stay by his side and protect him." Time drifted on seamlessly until the White Castle was stained with the hues of twilight. Inside a study cluttered with towering stacks of books, a deep male voice resounded. "A new maid has arrived," and she was assigned specifically as young Master Leon's personal maid. That young man was none other than Rixel, the second young master of the Asteria family. Rixel was an unrivaled genius, and the designated successor to the family of Grand Mages. He was the youngest Four-Circle mage in history. He was also the descendant who bore the most striking resemblance to the family head Patrick in every aspect. His youth was not a weakness, but a formidable weapon. To someone like him, getting a new maid under these circumstances was highly suspicious. Raising an eyebrow slightly, spread out before him was Sylvia's resume, yet the attached portrait photo was that of the black-haired girl. He thought suspiciously, having worked here for so long, to quit just because of a bottle of potion. Her retirement didn't make any sense to begin with, and the moment Sylvia left, a brand new maid showed up out of nowhere. There is definitely something fishy going on here. Turning the clock back to the previous evening. As it turned out, Rixel had met with Sylvia the day before. Sitting cross-legged in a chair and finding it hard to believe her resignation, she looked surprisingly radiant. He asked, "Did you really decide to retire?" Concealing the truth, Sylvia replied accordingly, "Yes, I wanted to come and bid my final farewell to you before leaving. Young Master Leon's potion has helped me immensely." Naturally refusing to accept this reality, he retorted, "I still find that hard to believe." Sylvia subtly suggested, "If you want to verify whether what I'm saying is true or not, why don't you go pay the first young master a visit? Back when you were little, you used to trail after him everywhere." These words instantly dissolved his tension, bringing a slight flush to his cheeks as he mumbled, "That was when I was a child." Sylvia repeated the sentiment once more, "Young master, you might find it hard to believe, but everything I've said is the absolute truth. If you get curious later on, just follow the first young master around for a bit. You've got nothing to lose." Those words had echoed back and forth inside Rixel's mind from that moment until now. He had taken them to heart. I can't bring myself to argue with her, and she honestly looked much more at ease than usual. Could all of this really be thanks to my foolish older brother? None of this logic holds up whatsoever, absolutely none of it. But still, grabbing his long coat, Rixel resolved to find Leon, muttering, "I'll have to go see for myself." They said he often goes to the Mimir Forest, right? Night had fallen over the domain as he stepped into the Mimir Forest. Night fell. Rixel ventured deep into the forest alone, muttering criticisms as he walked. This forest is as gloomy as ever, and there isn't even a proper path. What on earth makes a place like this worth dragging himself out here for? If he needed herbs for alchemy, he could have just asked John to fetch them. A sudden noise caught his attention. What was that sound? Rixel immediately tracked the source, drawing closer to where the noise originated. The sound turned out to come from a seated figure. It was Leon holding a roasted banana sweet potato. But to Rixel's eyes, the sight transformed into a horrifying spectacle as he yelled, "Brother, what the hell are you doing?" Right at that moment, Leon opened his mouth wide to take a massive bite. Panicking, Rixel hastily cast a spell, "You can't eat that. Don't eat filthy things." Pausing for roughly 2 seconds, everything seemed to freeze in place. Leon slumped straight down to the ground, wailing in absolute despair over having his meal snatched away right as it reached his mouth. He knelt and wept before the ascended, crushed roasted banana sweet potato. Glaring back in furious reprimand, Leon demanded, "Who did this? Why would you do such a thing?" But upon taking a closer look, he froze in surprise to find his younger brother standing before him. Leon asked in shock, Ruxel, what are you doing here? Meanwhile, Ruxel was panicking over his own rash action, thinking, oh crap, I was just planning to spy on him and sneak away. Catching sight of the younger boy's flustered face, Leon figured it out. Wait, you came here to see me. Could it be? Checking out your rival? No, it's not like that. Clearing his throat nervously, Rixel explained, first of all, I apologize for suddenly using magic, but you shouldn't be eating something covered in dirt like that. It's completely unsanitary. Leon hurried to correct him, but this is a sweet potato. Sweet potatoes are supposed to have a little dirt on them. Finding this slightly curious, Ruxel asked, a sweet potato? You mean that starch-rich tuber? This definition left Leon at a loss for how to clarify. That's right, but nobody's ever defined it quite like that before, so I honestly don't even know how to answer you. But this made Leon realize, are you serious? Have you seriously never eaten a sweet potato before? This question left Rixel stunned. His blank expression was all the answer needed. Feeling a twinge of pity, Leon noted, never having eaten one before means you're really missing out on a fun part of life. Finding this incomprehensible, Rixel muttered, is it really that deep? Naturally, as the older brother, Leon would certainly show his younger sibling what true culinary heaven tasted like. Just go sit and rest over there for a minute, I'll dig up a few more around here. Hesitating briefly before accepting, Rixel agreed, fine then. Walking away a short distance, Leon suddenly turned his head back to ask, come to think of it, you use fire attribute magic, right? Can you start a small campfire for us? Though he didn't quite understand, Rixel complied, that's not hard. While his brother went off to dig up sweet potatoes, he had already finished lighting the fire. Leon returned with his arms loaded with sweet potatoes and asked, is it ready? Rixel answered quietly, yes. Walking over to toss the entire batch straight into the fire, Leon said, in that case, now we just have to wait for them to cook. Won't they burn if we just leave them like this? It's fine, the skin is thick, so the inside will bake to absolute perfection. The atmosphere grew quiet as the two sat facing each other in silence. Ruxel's eyes remained glued to the roasting sweet potatoes, having seemingly forgotten the original purpose of his visit. Meanwhile, Leon cast stealthy glances at his younger brother's pensive face. Breaking the silence, he said, sometimes doing something completely out of the ordinary helps clear your head. Pushing forward is great and all, but resting is just as important. Nodding in understanding, Rixel replied, I think I get it. Right on cue, Leon noticed the sweet potatoes were done. It smells amazing, looks like they're ready, let's eat. Rixel held a sweet potato in his hands, staring at it as if it were some bizarre alien creature. Yet he still took a tentative bite. The natural sweetness instantly delighted him. Rixel blurted out, this is delicious. Seeing his younger brother enjoy it so much, Leon felt relieved. Right, they're called banana sweet potatoes. The domain was relatively warm and lacked winter, but there were still times when the weather grew chilly. This forest was particularly dark and breezy, making the air quite cold. This weather reminded him of a certain food. When it gets this cold, what do you crave exactly? Bunjiaping fish-shaped pastries and roasted sweet potatoes, along with fish cake broth and hottiok sweet pancakes. That perfect combination of natural sweetness and warmth. Without these things, it's pretty hard to endure this cold. While Leon was lost in thought, Rixel diligently kept eating. Watching this sight, Leon thought inwardly, the kid eats with so much enthusiasm. Well, kids that age have huge appetites anyway. Back when I was a student, I was always eating breakfast, snacks, lunch, more snacks, instant noodles. A moment later, Rixel widened his eyes in sudden shock. Seeing piles of sweet potato skins scattered all around his feet, Rixel realized just how much he had eaten. Leon spoke up cheerfully, I'm glad you like it. Looking somewhat embarrassed, Rixel stammered in reply, well, you see. Yeah, it's rare for us to have a bonding moment like this, so eat as much as you want. You've been working hard running errands for the family in my place, after all. You know, the person suffering bears one share of pain, but the person caring for them goes through a lot of misery too. Hearing this, Rixel denied it instantly. I don't consider it a burden at all. And I've never blamed you either. To be completely honest, though, I'm a bit envious of you because you have things that I don't. It's not that I'm dissatisfied with my current position. Mind you, I'll keep doing my absolute best. Chuckling softly, Leon replied, all right, I understand. He's still just a kid at heart. Channeling his role as an older brother, Leon offered advice that doubled as comfort. You're at an age where it's okay to be a little selfish sometimes. If there comes a time when you get sick of studying, it's totally fine to just do whatever you like every once in a while. Stepping closer to Rixel as he spoke, he gently patted the boy's shoulder. You've been doing great. These words warmed Rixel's heart, lifting a massive portion of the succession pressure weighing on him. At that moment, he finally understood the subtext behind Sylvia's words. Like Lady Sylvia said, I'm really glad I came to see you, brother. After eating his fill, Leon hurried back to his room. Excitedly pulling up his system interface to check his current balance, he thought, I've managed to save up a whopping 71,500 shillings. I'm finally about to unlock the system store. I worked myself to death making that medicine for Sylvia, but thanks to that, my level went up quite a bit too. He then turned slightly flustered, muttering, it's kind of a shame that the old man got rejected by Sylvia though. Oh well, their love life is their own business, nothing I can do about it. If Patrick heard this, he'd definitely freak out and correct him. That's not how it is at all, you brat. Leon's mood was exceptionally upbeat. I've gotten pretty close with Rixel too. Right now I don't have to worry about getting kicked out, so I might as well just relax and enjoy myself. A knock suddenly sounded from outside. Leon signaled, come in. Shortly after, a clear female voice called out, greetings. Sylvia, currently appearing in the guise of a maid, introduced herself calmly. My name is Elvia, and starting today I will be serving you as your personal maid, young master. Leon was momentarily stunned, thinking, what on earth is this? Why is this strangely familiar feeling hitting me? He mused inwardly, she must have some kind of hidden backstory. No wonder Lady Sylvia suddenly announced her retirement, so this was the reason. It would be strange in a fantasy world if other races didn't exist anyway, seeing as they even have dwarves around here. Stepping forward cordially to greet her, Leon said, I'll be counting on you, Elvia. Bowing respectfully, Sylvia replied, yes, please call for me whenever you need anything. At that moment, Leon offered a sincere remark, thank you. Thanks to you, my younger brother and I have grown a lot closer. Hearing this, Sylvia fell silent for a fleeting moment, staring at him. She then returned to her composed demeanor and asked with a puzzled tone, pardon me, young master, but I don't quite understand what you mean. Brushing it off with a laugh, Leon replied, it's nothing. Tidying up his belongings while smoothly pivoting the conversation, he said, let's talk later, all right. With that, Leon eagerly stepped toward the door announcing, today I'm heading out with Rixel. Golden sunlight cascaded over the bustling streets crowded with passers-by. Rixel wore a look of utter confusion, thinking, no matter how much I think about it, none of this makes any sense. Why? Seeing Leon approaching with a haggard expression, he couldn't help wondering, why is his stamina still this awful even after climbing mountains every day? Historically, Leon had a track record of collapsing from sheer exhaustion while walking 870,943 times, and dozing off while eating from fatigue 34,963 times. Rixel hastily tried to come up with a logical explanation. Could this also be an aftereffect of the mana shock? The mana in his body must be completely depleted. I need to get a priest to check on him. He couldn't hide his anxiety. Mages and temples didn't exactly get along, but at this rate his brother would collapse before the coming-of-age ceremony even arrived. Carefully stepping in to support him, Rixel said, let's walk slower. Clutching his chest in difficulty, Leon groaned, why am I so exhausted today? Rixel calculated carefully in his mind, we need to avoid getting caught by both the family and the temple while making sure he can safely see a priest. It might take some time, but the most reliable way to meet a priest is through volunteer work. Rixel quickly mapped out a plan in his head. Since the temple's doctrines encourage volunteer work, that naturally gives me a way to approach the priests. Stabilizing himself, Leon asked, Rixel, where are we heading now? Warning him cautiously, Rixel said, first of all, it'll draw too much unwanted attention if people see a young noble wandering around looking like this, so we need to buy some disguises first. Leon looked momentarily awkward upon hearing this, disguises, like a clothing store. Rixel flatly denied it, smiling cheerfully as he answered, a magic tool shop. A moment later, the two of them stopped in front of a small magic tool shop. As soon as he stepped inside, Leon curiously cast his gaze around. He exclaimed excitedly, I've traveled all over this territory, but I never knew a place like this existed. Rixel strolled ahead leisurely, only people who know about it come here. There aren't any illegal contraband items in here, right? At that, Rixel guiltily averted his eyes and looked away. Probably. Hearing that, Leon froze stiff. What do you mean by probably? Leon continued inspecting the other items on display, but he noticed things like earrings and pens neatly lined up on the shelves. A lot of these are pretty cool, but why do they all look like kids' toys? Rixel awkwardly let out a cough and explained, I found out about this place by accident back when I was at the academy. They might look like that, but a bunch of these items have some seriously awesome effects. Leon put on an amused, understanding expression. Ah, is that so? Right on cue, the store owner stepped out cheerfully to greet them. Of course they do. He enthusiastically pitched his wares. My shop has everything except hair growth tonic. My nasal congestion sprays and automatic shampooing magic tools are selling like absolute hotcakes right now. Rixel cut straight to the point. We're looking to buy some disguise items. The store owner gladly led the two deep inside. Disguise gear, of course we have those. They're right over there, follow me. Right after that, he pointed to a neat pile of gleaming magic tools. All of these are disguise items. Ranging from delicate party bracelets to height-increasing shoe insoles, the owner introduced enthusiastically. The common ones that help change your appearance just a little bit are located right over here. Then he pulled back another curtain. The high-end ones that can even change your hair color are on this side. The stuff here works wonders, but the price tag is a lot steeper too. Rixel and Leon's gazes quickly locked onto a glossy, shining item. This was the ultimate disguise magic tool, capable of transforming someone from head to toe, with a money-back guarantee that even your own parents wouldn't recognize you afterward. The two brothers exchanged a quiet glance, seemingly sharing the exact same thought. Shortly after, the door closed behind them, accompanied by the owner's hearty farewell. "Come back again next time." Rixel asked carefully, "How did you like it? Was it all right?" Leon chuckled with amusement. "This place is fascinating. We should come back later to take a closer look." Saying that, he glanced down at the heavy bag in his hand. "Must be because we bought some expensive items that they threw in a few freebies, right?" Ruxel casually guessed. "Nothing special about that. They're not exactly known for being generous with free gifts." As Leon lowered his gaze to look inside, he suddenly spotted something. This was an item repair kit capable of fixing gear below master grade. Leon thought in astonishment, the freebie they tossed in is way more valuable than that hairpin. Must be because it's too old, huh? Noticing his reaction, Rixel calmly said, "I have no use for stuff like this, you can take all of it." Leon asked in disbelief, "Something this good? Seriously?" Rixel nodded in confirmation. "It's fine, don't worry about it." Leon eagerly handed him a hairpin. "Awesome, all right, let's go use the disguise items first." Rixel looked cautiously around their surroundings. "This alley looks pretty quiet, let's go in there." Immediately after, their golden hair rapidly shifted in color. Even their eyes transformed into a brilliant jade green. The moment Leon caught sight of his own reflection, he couldn't help but marvel. "This is insane. Disguising ourselves like this makes it totally foolproof." Rixel strode out comfortably. "With this, we can walk around without a single worry. Shall we head out now?" Leon replied enthusiastically, "Let's go." A little while later, the sound of gushing water echoed as Leon spoke up. "Rixel, you said we were going volunteering, so why are we at a flour mill?" Looking completely bewildered at the scenery around him, he asked, "We are going to volunteer, right?" Rixel calmly explained, "That's right, flour is on the donation list, so we have to stop by and check on it." Stepping inside, he continued, "And the fun part is this mill also bakes bread to sell. I heard the bread made from freshly milled flour here is extra special." Leon's horizons were broadened. "Oh nice, I thought mills only ground grains or pressed oil." Deep down, Rixel was feeling a bit guilty. "Of course, I had another motive for coming here." A man named Nicholas stepped forward to greet them. "Welcome, travelers. I've been waiting for you." Rixel had planned this all along. The reason was to meet this man. He was one of the few devoted believers within the Asteria territory, famous for his generosity, charity, and wide connections. If he built a relationship with him, getting access to the temple would happen naturally, and who knows, maybe he'd even get the chance to meet a priest. Promptly probing for updates, Ruxel asked, "Is the order ready, sir?" Nicholas replied with a warm smile, "Of course it is." Turning around with an excited spin to point at the sacks piled inside, he beamed. "It's been ages since I last milled high-quality wheat like this. I'm ecstatic. The wheat doesn't have a single pest in it, but..." Pausing there, Nicholas looked mildly curious. "Why do you need so much flour anyway?" Rixel spun an explanation on the spot. "I happened to see some starving children and felt so sorry for them, so I decided to make a modest donation." Hearing that, Nicholas grew even more thrilled. "That's a wonderful decision. Have you decided where you're going to donate it yet?" Rixel smoothly asked for his opinion. "I'm still thinking about it. Do you have any suggestions?" Nicholas stroked his chin in thought while Rixel nervously prayed in his heart, "Please say the temple, please say the temple." Moments later, Nicholas offered, "If that's the case, would you be interested in donating to the orphanage run by the temple?" Rixel was ecstatic inside. Jackpot. Maintaining a calm exterior on the outside, he inquired, "The temple's orphanage?" Ruxel probed casually, "How many kids are there?" Nicholas estimated, "Not too many, I think around 30. Ruxel feigned doubt, "I'd have thought the temple's facilities would be better than that." Nicholas explained with a soft sigh, "They used to be, but times are tough right now. I heard the temple's subsidies have been cut down as well." Sensing it was a sensitive topic, he grew a bit awkward. "Well, this is the Asteria territory where magic comes above all else, so they struggle quite a bit with donations. Plus, given the status of prestigious magical households, they probably feel hesitant about supporting a temple-affiliated orphanage." Glancing sideways, Nicholas secretly sized up the person in front of him. He deliberated internally. Judging by such a massive flower order and his refined demeanor, he must come from a very prominent family. "I hope this connection helps improve the orphanage's situation." Lon suddenly chimed in to interrupt. "Wait a minute, you said you bake bread here too, right?" Even if we donate flour, it's going to take time before they can actually make anything out of it. Eagerly rolling up his sleeves, he made a proposal. How about we bake a few loaves of bread right now so the kids can eat them right away? Leon continued to persuade. Even with flour, the kids probably lack other ingredients. If we do this, getting to eat freshly baked, piping hot bread would probably make them super happy, right? Nicholas agreed cheerfully without a moment's hesitation. Is that so? Of course. My shop is famous for baking the best bread in this region. Rixel suddenly realized he had been so focused on his own objective that he completely overlooked the situation at the orphanage. I can't believe I missed such minor details. Looking at Leon with deep admiration, he thought, my big brother is always so thoughtful. Rixel readily agreed, that idea is genuinely amazing. Nicholas chimed in excitedly, fantastic. The three of them headed inside to get to work. All right, let's start baking right away. The table was stocked with whole wheat flour and premium olive oil. Leon inspected everything thoughtfully. Let's see here. We've got plenty of flour and olive oil. The flavor is guaranteed to turn out fantastic. Nicholas gave a brief introduction. The bread we're making today is basic barley bread, which is very popular. It's super simple to make, but incredibly delicious and a huge favorite among kids. Rolling up his sleeves proactively, he stepped forward. First, I'll demonstrate making a small loaf. Nicholas began pouring out the ingredients, mixing a specific proportion of flour with salt, yeast, and milk in the proper ratio to form the dough, then placing it into an olive oil grease tray to ferment. Explaining while deftly kneading away, he continued. Next, gently press down on the risen dough to squeeze out all the air pockets, and finally mix in some crushed sunflower seeds. A smooth, well-mixed ball of dough quickly formed, and we're done. Ruxol followed the instructions and churned out a few loaves in no time. He thought to himself, it's actually really easy. Compared to magic, this is unbelievably simple. Curious, Rixel glanced over at Leon next to him. Are you done already, big brother? Nicholas also checked in. Is the young master still working on it? Meanwhile, Leon was still struggling with his lump of dough. I think I need a little more time, I can feel it. Nicholas was left speechless, replying awkwardly, I understand. In that case, I'll bake your younger brother's batch and mine first. The soft, pliable portions of dough were quickly slid into the oven. A moment later, Nicholas eagerly opened the oven door. Let's see how our results turned out. Finding a single, thoroughly burnt piece of charcoal inside made both of them freeze in place. Nicholas flustily offered words of comfort. Oh dear, if you put in too much flour, the bread ends up burning like this. But since it's your first time, we can't blame the young master. Honestly, this isn't half bad either. A rich, fragrant aroma suddenly filled the air. Nicholas instantly glanced toward the oven in the back. Looks like the eldest young master's bread is done baking too. Swiftly pulling out the tray, he gasped, let me take a look. Right after that, a blinding flash of light burst forth, making all three of them shield their eyes. Wait a second, what on earth is this? It was a whole wheat loaf crafted by Leon with an out-of-this-world quality, boosting his cooking proficiency straight to level 2. Nicholas stared in utter disbelief at the perfectly golden, crispy batch of bread. How on earth did you manage to bake a loaf of bread of this caliber? He asked in awe, how did you even pull that off? Leon scratched his head sheepishly. I didn't really do anything special. Softly, he poured his heart out. This bread is for the kids. Even if they can't eat stuff like this every day, at least today I want them to eat as much delicious bread as they want. These sincere words left Nicholas stunned a second time. Plus, if it looks appealing, the kids will love it even more, so I carved a few patterns on top. Never expected the results to exceed my expectations like this. Nicholas's perception of the two Leon brothers instantly shifted. At first, I thought they were just wealthy nobles playing at being commoners for fun under the guise of charity, but I was completely wrong. Rixel also expressed his amazement aloud. Big brother, you seriously have a natural talent for this. Leon chuckled heartily. Thanks, kid. Nicholas continued his train of thought. These two young masters are baking bread for the children with all their hearts. In that case, Nicholas suddenly spoke up. Young masters, would you mind continuing to bake here for a little bit? There's somewhere I urgently need to go right now. Rixel looked startled for a second before nodding. Sure, go ahead. You must have your own business to attend to, yet we kept you here for so long. Nicholas replied comfortably, think nothing of it. Saying that, he hurried off in a rush. I'll be back as fast as I can. Leon looked confused at Nicholas's hasty departure. He seemed awfully busy. Did we inconvenience him by asking him to teach us how to bake? Rixel calmly reassured him. It'll be fine, big brother. He'll probably be back soon, so let's keep baking. Regaining his focus immediately, he added, I'll do my best so I don't fall behind you either. Leon burst into an enthusiastic laugh. Well then, I can't afford to lose either. The two of them went right back to crafting fragrant, delicious loaves of bread. The achievement progress for the novice baker title climbed steadily. Under Leon's detailed guidance, Rixel also started churning out successful batches of tasty bread. Before long, Nicholas's voice echoed from the entrance. I'm back, young masters. Leon turned his head to look and blinked in surprise. You're back. But wait. A large group of people stood right behind Nicholas, making Leon feel awkward. You didn't come back alone. A woman stepped forward with a warm smile to explain. Nicholas isn't usually like this, but he told us how deeply moved he was by the young master's genuine kindness, so we came to lend a helping hand. Ria unexpectedly showed up to pitch in as well. That's right. My husband wanted to come because he was thinking of the kids, but he was too swamped with work at the smithy, so I came in his place. Oh geez, Leon quickly pressed a finger to his lips to signal her to hush. Ria immediately stopped talking with a flustered expression. Ah, well, never mind. She casually set down a large chest of supplies. Following her lid, everyone else began pulling out all sorts of ingredients. Even a certain giant girl left the crowd staring with their jaws dropping to the floor. With a single thud, she dropped 4 massive, oversized sacks of goods onto the ground, making the earth itself shake. Everyone immediately broke into murmurs of awe. What on earth is that? Look at her biceps. That's every farmer's ultimate dream. Excuse me, miss. I heard a rumor that she once wrestled a bear barehanded. Witnessing this scene, Rixel beamed with excitement. Never expected them to donate this many daily necessities. Things are going way too smoothly, big brother. Leon appreciated it just as much, indeed. The people in our territory are truly kind-hearted. Seeing the radiant smiles on everyone's faces, Rixel reevaluated himself internally. Is this what happens when you pour your heart into the smallest things? I was only thinking about getting close to Nicholas to access the temple. Looking back, it feels pretty shameful. Pondering that, he smiled as he looked at Leon, telling himself, as long as Big Brother recovers his health, he'll definitely accomplish great things. A few hours later, at the orphanage affiliated with the temple in the Astaria territory, the donated goods were delivered in record time. Thank you so much. The orphanage director was moved to tears. I don't know how to repay the immense kindness of you noble young masters. Leon casually replied, please don't be formal, director. We're just glad we could help. The children ran over with bright curiosity. What's that? It smells so good. Oh, children. The director flusteredly reminded them, you need to greet our guests first. Right after that, the small courtyard filled with the bright chatter of children. Look at this, there's so much stuff. Let me see too. There's even clothes here, how pretty. The director offered gently, young masters, if you don't mind, would you like to hand out the bread to the children yourselves? I'll go move these donated supplies inside. Ruxel enthusiastically agreed. Of course, we'd be more than happy to. The two of them quickly pulled out the baskets of bread. All right, kids, come over and get your bread. The children eagerly ran up to receive them. It looks so good, thank you so much. At that moment, Leon's gaze drifted toward a quiet corner in the distance. Under the shade of a lush tree, a young boy was standing all by himself. Catching Leon's eye, the boy immediately spun around and bolted off elsewhere. Leon asked quizzically, Director, who was that kid who just ran off? The director quickly followed the direction of his hand and replied, that child is Peter. She explained softly, I apologize if he seemed a bit impolite. The children are still young, so they don't always know how to accept kindness like this. Please don't mind Peter, young master. Leon gazed thoughtfully at the retreating small figure, Peter. Seeing that the rest of the kids had already received their bread, Leon smiled cheerfully. Looks like we've handed out bread to almost everyone. The director noticed him walking past and asked, oh, where are you headed, young master? Cradling the bread basket, Leon smiled warmly in response. Peter hasn't got his bread yet. At that moment, Peter was huddled alone in a corner with his knees pulled to his chest. Leon recalled what people had told him about the kid. Peter had his adoption fall through 3 times because of his overly timid personality. Ever since then, he's refused all food and donations like this. Leon looked thoughtfully at the boy, assessing him. The kid looks around the same age as Mudu's kids. Complaining internally as he glanced at Peter's skinny, frail arms, the kid really is too thin. Calling out gently, Leon startled the boy, Peter. Seeing that Peter didn't reply, he sat down and said softly, Peter, I brought something really good over. Do you want to try a bite? The other kids finished theirs, so this is your share. Peter furrowed his brow, completely ignoring the noisy adult next to him. With sparkling eyes, Leon held out a piece of bread and tempted him sweetly. Eating this right now tastes like absolute heaven. It's made from freshly milled flour, so it's super chewy, rich, fragrant, and wonderfully warm. No matter how stubborn Peter tried to be with his words, his rebellious stomach couldn't be fooled. Seeing the boy blush a bright red as his stomach growled gave Leon a sense of inner triumph. Turns out he really is starving. Leon exhaled softly with a wry smile, thinking, if he was just acting shy, I would have kept teasing him. But to stubbornly refuse even when he's this exhausted means I need to give the kid some space. It wasn't until the sky gradually began to blade into shades of gold that the others cheerfully waved goodbye. I'll head inside first, thanks everyone for your hard work today. Peter finally fluttered his eyes open. I fell asleep. Well, whatever, that's probably for the best. Everyone must have gone home by now. Sitting up, the boy muttered spitefully, such hypocrites. They just want to satisfy their own egos by playing charity. Once they achieve their goal, they never come back. Why bother coming here just to annoy us with their volunteer games? Before he could even finish his sentence, Leon, who had been sitting there the whole time, narrowed his eyes and asked, "You awake?" Peter jumped in fright, guiltily shouting in confusion, "What the? Why are you still here? Why haven't you left yet?" Leon smirked. "You looked like you were sleeping so peacefully I didn't have the heart to wake you." Before the kid could gather his wits, Leon shoved the piece of bread right in front of his face. "Not hungry? Well, I'm starving. Want a bite?" Peter furrowed his brow with stubborn defiance and turned his face away. "You sure?" Pulling the bread back, Leon said, "All right in that case." Right on cue, he decisively tore the loaf of bread in half. Under Peter's horrified gaze, Leon unhesitatingly took a big bite out of one half. "What on earth are you doing?" Leon gave a feigned, reluctant reply. "Eating bread, what does it look like? You said you didn't want any, and it'd be a waste to just throw it away, so I had to take care of it." Continuing to chew away, he left Peter staring with his jaw hanging open in utter shock. "Wait a minute." The boy hurriedly snatched the remaining half of the bread from Leon's hand and yelled, "I'll eat it myself, all right." Clutching the piece of bread, Peter didn't hesitate to take a massive bite. The second the bread slid down his throat, his eyes lit up with brilliant sparkles. So good. Watching Peter stuff his cheeks with bread, Leon smiled softly. Once that half was gone, Leon pulled out another loaf. "Here." Giving a breezy nod, he said, "Actually, this was my portion, but I'll let you have it." Seeing the fragrant, steaming bread right in front of him, Peter couldn't help feeling a sense of wonder. This is so weird. There's clearly nothing special about the ingredients. It's just a normal piece of bread. Peter stood frozen in place, unable to shake off his sense of wonder. Why is it so good? The boy pouted with a mix of lingering grievance, thinking, things like this are usually just for show. Memories of being sent back to the orphanage rushed over him like a cinematic reel, reminding him how people were always like that. Those who had once been kind to him ultimately abandoned him right there, excusing it by saying he didn't look at them like real parents, casting him aside all over again. Just thinking about it made Peter's heart ache, causing him to press his lips together even tighter. Eating ravenously while speaking in a cold tone, the boy muttered, "Liars. All adults are nothing but a bunch of liars." Before the boy could finish, Leon cut him off. "Peter, you know." Noticing the boy's gaze fixed on him, he continued, "When adults are upset, they usually skip meals. They don't realize that doing so only makes them feel worse and leaves them with regrets later on. Yet even while feeling so sad, you're eating so well without missing a single meal." The afternoon breeze swept through, gently lifting a few strands of Leon's hair and revealing his bright, cheerful expression. "When I baked this bread today, I secretly hoped someone would enjoy it, so I'm really glad you like it." Peter fell silent, his eyes holding 1,000 lingering emotions as something within them suddenly sparked to life. Before the touching moment had even lasted 5 seconds, Leon narrowed his eyes with a teasing smile. "Hey, are you crying?" Blushing and feeling caught, the boy protested defensively, "I am not crying, it's just that the bread is too good." Feigning innocence, Leon asked, "Is that so?" Clenching his teeth and looking away, the boy muttered, "Yes." Peter hesitated for a moment. Looking thoroughly embarrassed, the boy managed to say, "Thank you, mister." Hearing those words, Leon wore a gentle, tender smile. Extending his pinky finger out toward Peter, he offered, "I'll bake some more for you next time. Come on, let's make a pinky promise." Peter stared blankly and stammered, "A promise?" Leon added with a reassuring grin, "Let me tell you something, this first young master of yours has never broken a promise in his life." His gaze radiated absolute trustworthiness. "Remember that, okay?" Gazing into those eyes, the boy could only stare in a daze. Peter's finger finally reached up to lock with his. "Next time I'm going to eat 2 of them." Hearing that, Leon ruffled the boy's hair and chuckled playfully. "Why only 2? You can eat 3 if you want. Judging by your appetite today, I'm going to have to bake a whole ton of them next time." Peter grumbled plaintively, "Hey, come on." Watching the scene unfold from afar, the head nun couldn't hide her astonishment. "Oh my." Looking at Peter's radiant face, she mused internally, "It's been so long since I last saw that child's smile. If only we had shown our sincere feelings like that in the past, the children would have opened their hearts to us much sooner." From a distance, the head nun heard Leon say cheerfully, "Now then, shall we go see the other kids?" Peter replied with his eyes curved into happy crescents, "Yes." That warm silhouette tugged slightly at the head nun's heartstrings as she thought, "I feel so ashamed for neglecting the children for so long under the excuse of being too busy. Someone as sincere as him truly deserves to be blessed by God." A short while later, the head nun politely bid farewell to the remaining visitors. "Do come back and visit us next time. Thank you, everyone. Of course, see you all later." "Pardon me, young masters, but if you don't mind." Just as Leon and Rixel were preparing to leave, the head nun suddenly called out, "Could the 2 of you stay at the orphanage a little longer? We simply can't let you leave just like that after you've done such a wonderful thing for this place. The head nun offered an embarrassed smile and explained, I just checked, and it turns out someone from the temple is coming today to offer prayers for the children. Therefore, facing their surprised looks, she continued, would the two of you be willing to receive a blessing prayer from the priest before you leave? Rixel pressed a hand to his chest politely while celebrating inwardly. It worked. Since the sister went out of her way to be this thoughtful, it would be terribly rude of us to refuse. We would be honored to receive it. The head nun gestured invitingly with her hand, then please follow this way. The hurried rumble of a carriage echoed outside. The priest will be arriving shortly. The next day, Rixel sat alone in the quiet parlor. He recalled their earlier conversation. Brother, how about we postpone meeting the priest for another time? Since he's coming from the temple, I'm worried he might pose a threat to you. Leon had readily agreed, sure, sounds good. Rixel hadn't expected his brother to agree so easily, leaving him slightly surprised as Leon stood up and explained, actually, I just remembered I have some matters to take care of back at the estate. Stunned, he thought in amazement just like that. While maintaining a brilliant, sunny smile on the outside, Leon was secretly celebrating inside with a complete facepalm of joy. So don't worry about me, just go take care of your own business. It's time for my baking lessons, so I'll be heading out first. Snapping back to the present, Rixel let out a long sigh thinking this works out too. What Big Brother needs is a prayer imbued with divine power. But it would spell trouble if that priest happened to hold a grudge against our family, so I need to meet him first and scout things out. Right at that moment, a low voice rang out alongside the opening of the door. It's an absolute pleasure to meet you. The man clasped his hands together, his lips curving into a subtle smirk beneath a pair of sharp golden eyes. May the grace of God always be with our anonymous benefactor. I am Licht, a servant of God. Rixel asked suspiciously, an anonymous benefactor? Licht seated himself leisurely. I heard all about it from the orphanage director. You wish to keep your identity as a donor a secret. Ah, yes, that's correct. The youth silently appraised the suspicious-looking man before him, thinking, he's younger than I expected. I heard young priests usually stay strictly within the temple, yet he went out of his way to come out here and bestow prayers. He's definitely not an ordinary figure. Licht offered his gratitude with utmost politeness. Thanks to your noble gesture, the temple has received tremendous help. On behalf of all the priests, I sincerely thank you, Rixel replied formally. Think nothing of it. This success was only possible because everyone pooled their efforts together. However, the person who truly poured their heart and soul into this was my older brother. Even the idea of baking bread for the kids was entirely his. Hearing this, Licht blinked in curiosity. Your older brother, is he the one who returned home early due to health reasons? Rixel gave a slight nod. That's right. Twirling his fingers, he recounted. My older brother has had an extremely frail body since childhood, and to this day he is still fighting a severe illness. Lifting his gaze, Rixel hesitated before confessing, to be completely honest, I didn't come here purely out of kindness or a desire to do volunteer work. I deliberately arranged this so you could examine my older brother's condition. Licht narrowed his eyes into a smile and said, please calm yourself, benefactor. It is truly a tragedy that someone so upright has to suffer under the torment of illness. However, I am also visiting here in secret to avoid drawing the eyes of the temple. Watching Licht adjust his glasses, the youth thought, is he turning me down? I completely failed to read any expression on his face. Yet the man suddenly declared, 3 days from now. The priest clasped his hands before his chest and smirked. Would the two of you be able to come here once more at this exact same time 3 days from now? Upon returning to the estate, Rixel burst out shouting, brother, good grief. Looking at him sitting there with dissatisfaction, he nagged, why are you still awake at this hour? Your health is already like this. How are you supposed to handle staying up late all the time? Seeking to avoid the lecture, Leon flopped straight down onto the bed, complaining, I just can't fall asleep, okay. Feigning casual indifference to steer the topic away, Leon asked, anyway, what's this all about? Why did you rush into my room like that? The youth reported the good news excitedly. That priest agreed to examine your body for you. Hearing that, he immediately sat back up. My body? Rixel nodded and explained. Yes, he said he wanted to lend a hand since he himself had received such a massive boon. Leon thought to himself, but right now I'm only slightly weak. You can hardly call it an illness. Ever since my last mana awakening, those mana shocks have vanished completely, and to begin with, I never had any chronic disease anyway. Recalling his recent activities, he mused, in fact, I've been running around like crazy lately, so my physical stamina has actually improved quite a bit. Still, this isn't a bad offer at all, should I accept it? Leon decisively agreed, all right, I'll go. Hearing that, Rixel lit up with joy really. Lowering his lashes slightly, the younger boy added, though, that priest requested we meet at dawn. Finding it a bit strange, Leon asked with a puzzled tone, at dawn when? Rixel answered, 3 days from now. 3 days later at the temple's orphanage, Leon currently in disguise. glanced sideways at the bottle of water resting on the table. High-grade holy water. He silently appraised it. To be able to create something like this at such a young age is quite impressive. Rixel, having snuck up behind him unannounced, called out, "Brother." Leon quickly responded, "I'm right here." Pressing a hand to his chest, he bowed slightly in greeting. "It's a pleasure to meet you, priest." Clasps his hands together, Licht replied, "May the grace of God always accompany the two of you. I am equally honored to make the acquaintance of such benefactors. First off, why don't we sit down and have a little chat?" Once all three of them were seated, Leon voiced the question lingering in his mind. "Come to think of it, priest, there's something I'm quite curious about." Licht answered amiably, "Please feel free to ask." Hearing that, Leon asked, "If you don't mind, could you tell me the reason why you scheduled our meeting at dawn?" He hesitated slightly. "Well, you see. Actually, I recently had a dream about the two of you." Leon and Rixel stared in astonishment. "A dream." Stretching out a hand with a faint smirk, Licht explained, "Indeed. Sometimes priests endowed with exceptional divine power receive revelations from God through dreams. They are also known as prophetic dreams." Rixel chimed in cautiously to probe further. "Might I boldly ask what kind of dream it was?" Smiling softly, the priest replied, "It wasn't anything too grand. The children were sleeping peacefully in a field and the two of you were standing right beside them. Your appearances back then looked a bit different from now, but I'm certain it was you. When I woke up, that dream left me with an overwhelming sense of warmth, which is why I wanted to meet the two of you in person." Licht added inwardly, "Besides, I also need to verify something." Observing the two before him, he thought, "I want to see what kind of people the ones who appeared in my dream actually turn out to be." Casting a sharp, discerning gaze toward Rixel, Licht analyzed, "First off, the younger brother is a mage. He speaks quite politely, carries himself with refinement, and looks very young. So young that he has to go around in disguise. He must belong to a prominent family. Judging by this region, there's a high probability he's from the Asteria family. Is his goal truly to cure his older brother? It would spell trouble if mages were attempting to steal information from the temple. I'll find out the truth the moment I examine the older brother." Licht addressed Rixel. "Now then, as we agreed, may I begin the treatment?" The youth gave a brief nod and stood up. "All right, I'll step outside for a moment. I leave him in your hands." Once Rixel had stepped out of the room, Licht walked over to Leon and said, "I shall begin." Leon replied politely, "Thank you." The very next second, a stream of blue light radiated from Licht's hands. It gradually converged into Leon's body. Sensing an outcome different from the norm, Licht raised an eyebrow in perplexity. Staring at Leon in sheer disbelief, he thought, the blessing was cast to absolute perfection, yet why isn't his body showing even the slightest change? Is my divine power really that weak? Thinking this, he channeled another burst of divine power. Did I make a mistake somewhere? Even after casting it twice, Licht remained utterly shaken by the boy's condition. His face darkened in slack-jawed shock. Leon turned to him with a bright, enthusiastic smile and said gently, "I actually feel a lot better." Massaging his previously stiff shoulder, he expressed his satisfaction. "Priest, I think receiving a blessing like this is more than enough." Startled, Licht stammered no. His initial confident demeanor was now stained with anxiety as he thought. There are only 3 reasons why a body fails to react to a high priest's blessing. First, a mage of a higher rank than the priest is blocking the healing process. Second, they are already completely healthy and have no need for a blessing in the first place. And finally, they are afflicted with a congenital short lifespan. Leon nodded gently, flashing a bright, appreciative smile. "Thanks to you, I feel completely refreshed." Abruptly shifting his tone, Licht spoke softly. "My friend, if you ever need my help in the future." He stepped closer and grasped both of Leon's hands tightly. Raising them together with an expression of deep sympathy, he urged, "Please come to the temple and look for me. When the physical pain becomes too much to bear and you cannot close your eyes in sleep." A wave of passionate fervor welled up inside him. "I will definitely help you no matter what. Do you understand what I mean?" Leon, who still hadn't caught on to any of it, could only reply, "Yes." Opening the door to leave, Leon didn't forget to offer a parting word. "Thank you so much for your kindness, priest. Think nothing of it, take care, and I hope we meet again." Watching Leon's retreating back as he walked away, Licht dropped his smile. He followed with a pious prayer, "May the grace of God accompany you through whatever time you have left." Leon scratched his head and muttered, "Why do I have this lingering sense of unease?" Scene transition to the Asteria estate. The carriage had brought the two brothers back home. Rixel said happily, "Brother, I'm so glad to see you looking so much better. That early morning trip was truly meaningful." Leon agreed, "I think so too." Rubbing his shoulder slightly, Leon thought happily, "Since my body was already quite healthy to begin with, I didn't feel the effects of the divine power all that acutely, but it's genuinely useful energy. A single application would have been more than enough, yet he kept repeating it over and over, which completely cured the soreness in my shoulders from staying up all night baking, and all my muscle aches vanished too." Frowning with concern as he looked at his younger sibling, Leon asked, "By the way, Rixel, your complexion doesn't look too good. Are you tired? The dark circles under your eyes are so deep. Rixel offered a reassurance smile with his eyes half closed. I'm fine. Turning around to leave, he added, I have to head out now. I have my mana training session this morning. Leon was startled. What? He sighed and muttered to himself. He pulled another all-nighter last night, didn't he? If he keeps pushing himself this hard, his body is bound to revolt sooner or later. Appearing from behind, Sylvia chimed in, the heir's training schedule is always harsh, but lately he seems busier than ever. Massaging his chin thoughtfully, Leon mused, that's true. I'm worried he's going to ruin his health. Stepping closer with a refined tone, she suggested, if you're this worried, why don't you try talking to the family head? You're going to have to meet with him soon anyway to discuss the coming-of-age ceremony, so you can bring it up then. Besides, the family head must have a lot on his mind lately too. Hearing that, Leon brightened up as a plan formed in his mind. Sylvia smiled softly, or perhaps I should bring him some sweets. A short while later, Leon and Sylvia arrived at the kitchen. He expertly picked up a rolling pin to flatten out the dough below. Turning to her cheerfully, Leon said, good idea, thanks Elvia, cookies aren't too heavy and they have just the right amount of sweetness. Even Grandpa, come to think of it, I wonder if Grandpa likes sweets. Maintaining a completely straight face, she corrected his choice of address, I am Elvia. Who on earth is Sylvia? The family head doesn't have any particular fondness for sweets, but he will eat whatever you make, young master, so you don't need to worry. Hearing that, Leon looked slightly flustered and embarrassed as he said, even so, if he's going to eat them, I want him to genuinely enjoy them. Suddenly remembering something, Leon let out an ah of realization. Sylvia paused slightly, guessing, don't tell me. Seeing Leon reach for the sweet potato on the table, she asked, are you planning to use that? Picking it up, Leon replied, that's right. Watching him peel the sweet potato, she remarked with hesitant uncertainty, that's certainly a bizarre combination. He answered brightly, this is the perfect opportunity for him to try it and see how good it tastes. The sweet potato was gradually sliced into thin pieces by Leon. Instead of sugar, I'll mince some banana sweet potato and mix it into the dough. With the natural, gentle sweetness of the sweet potato, Grandpa will definitely enjoy it without any trouble, right? Once the preparation was finished, he reached for the cookie molds. Next, like this. The dough pieces were pressed into various cute shapes using the molds. They look so adorable. Next time I should ask Mudu to make me some new cookie cutters. Placing them into the oven, Leon said cheerfully, next step. Now we just arrange these shaped cookies into the oven and bake them. Gazing at the glossy, fragrant cookies, he said eagerly, they're done, special banana sweet potato cookies. Looking at the system notification that popped up, Leon wondered, why does food have the exact same kind of effect as a potion? Expressing her praise in pleasant surprise, Sylvia said, you're truly amazing. I only shared the dough recipe, so you essentially made all of this entirely by yourself. Frowning slightly, she added, the final step of cooking is tasting, so you should try one. Picking one up, he said, let's give it a try. Leon tasted a freshly baked cookie. The moment he felt its sweetness, he broke into a radiant grin thinking, I think this tastes even better than chocolate chip cookies from my past life. Cooking proficiency increased. Recipe saved. Sylvia also offered some cheerful advice. Sweets help relieve fatigue. Eating too much isn't good for your health, but since these aren't overly sweet, the family head will likely love them. Turning to her with genuine sincerity, Leon said, thanks for helping me out, Elvia, you were a huge help. Smiling gently while shaking her head, she replied, I only did my duty. Shall we pack up the cookies now? As if remembering something, Leon declined, I'll handle the packaging myself, you can go take a rest. Looking slightly surprised, Sylvia asked, what? Turning around with a mysterious smile, he said, I still have one more thing to make. Once Sylvia had departed, he nimbly operated the system and muttered, I couldn't just open the storage while Elvia was standing right there. Now that my cooking level is at level 3, I've unlocked plenty of recipes and have enough ingredients. Rubbing his shoulder lightly with an eager expression, he thought, next up is the drink. System interface pops up, grants resonance effects when consumed alongside food. Leon selected the ingredients from storage, muttering, what I'm making next is a stamina-boosting drink. The crimson drink required a potion, fruit aroma oil, and flower roots. He was certain both Grandpa and Rixel would love this. Staring at the ingredient list for a moment, Leon felt slightly puzzled, but these ingredients look so familiar, where have I seen them before? Oh well, whatever. It pairs perfectly with the cookies, so I just need to focus on checking the quality. After careful selection, Leon placed a tray of fruits on the table. Awesome, the ingredients are super fresh oranges and fresh lemons. Resting his hands on the table with great enthusiasm, he declared, let's begin. First, wash the fruit and slice it up nicely. Next, simmer low-grade vitality recovery potions over gentle heat. When the oranges and lemons are lightly cooked, add starflower root and wait for the fresh fruit flavors to blend completely. Catching the fragrant aroma, strain the steaming beverage through a sieve. Finally, add a single drop of sea rosemary aroma oil. A bottle of beverage was completed. Alchemist's stamina-boosting drink. Looking at its description, Leon mused, no wonder it felt familiar. This actually reminds me of mulled wine Vin show. Tasting the drink himself, he beamed brightly. The taste is amazing too. Now let's pair this freshly made drink with the cookies. The tray was now fully laden with both cookies and the drink, officially recognized by the system as Leon's special food and beverage set. Successfully crafted, achievement unlocked, you have received shilling. Happily accepting the reward, Leon thought, this should be more than enough. He took off his apron and left it on the table. Picking up the food tray, Leon walked off. Now then, time to go see Grandpa. Outside Patrick's study, Leon's voice echoed from inside the study. Grandpa, are you busy? As Leon pushed the door open and stepped in carrying the tray, Patrick grumbled, what are you bringing in here? Did the servants let you carry things yourself? I'm going to punish them right away. Before he could finish, Leon smiled and cut him off. It's not like that. I brought it myself because I wanted to hand it to you personally. Placing the tray on the desk, he introduced it cheerfully. This is a drink I made using the potion I brewed last time, and I baked some cookies because I thought they'd go great together. Hearing that, the older man's tone softened considerably. You mean you made these yourself? Leon replied, yes. Gazing straight at him with confident sincerity, he expressed, I thought it would be fun to show you my progress this way. Seeing Patrick pick up a bear-shaped cookie, Leon urged, you should try one. The moment he took his first bite and carefully tasted it, Patrick's eyes widened in sheer astonishment. As Patrick savored the flavor of the cookie, he thought to himself, the cookie melts right in my mouth, and the sweet, gentle aroma of sweet potato spreads through, delivering a wonderfully pleasant and rich source of energy. It's completely different from a plain roasted sweet potato, a truly special flavor crafted with a perfectly balanced level of sweetness. The system interface chimed with a notification. Novice cooking proficiency increased. Leon gloated inwardly, the cooking talent progression requirement. Someone has to actually taste the food to earn experience points. Watching those experience points skyrocket like that meant his grandfather must have really loved them. What a massive relief. After finishing his treat, Patrick put on a stern expression and demanded, all right, spill it. Leon was caught completely off guard. Huh. Come on, Patrick said as he calmly lowered his hands. You didn't come all the way here just to hand me this. Cut to the chase. Leon gave the back of his head a sheepish scratch and replied awkwardly, I really can't hide anything from you, can I? He hesitated before bringing it up. The thing is, I heard my coming-of-age ceremony is going to be rescheduled soon. Can we let Rixel rest until then? Hearing that, Patrick asked with a puzzled look, why's that? Leon furrowed his brow slightly and said with concern, everyone in the family is going to attend the coming-of-age ceremony, right? But Rixel's current schedule seems way too exhausting. Could you dial back the intensity of his training until the ceremony takes place? I want our whole family to be there with bright smiles on our faces. Patrick rested his chin in his hand and fell into deep thought. On the outside, he wore the picture of a stern, solemn family head, but on the inside, he was bursting with glowing pride for his grandson. What a thoughtful kid, whose grandson turned out this well-mannered, who even raised such an amazing child. Observing the grandson standing before him, he grew more pleased by the second. I figured they'd tear each other apart fighting for the sole heir position, and I was genuinely worried lately because they seemed so distant. Yet they've built such a tight-knit brotherly bond without me even knowing. Well, add another thing to the list of things I'm proud of. With zero reason to refuse, Patrick conceded, all right, I'll grant your request. I'll tell him to handle his own packing until the ceremony. Leon happily complied, thank you, Grandpa. Patrick suddenly followed up with another question, is that really all though? Don't you have any other requests for your coming-of-age ceremony? Leon was momentarily stunned. Leon grinned widely with squinted eyes, nope, no other requests. Patrick furrowed his brow in judgment. Who on earth does this kid take after? He has zero ambition. Even though the main highlight of the coming-of-age ceremony is supposed to be the gifts. A coming-of-age ceremony isn't just a simple event. If it's something the guest of honor desires, they ought to get it, even if it's a one-of-a-kind jewel found nowhere else in the world. That's the most elegant way to flaunt a family's boundless wealth. Stunned for a moment, the old man wondered. The kid said he doesn't need anything. Does that mean? His eyes widening, Patrick muttered to himself. He wants me to figure it out and prepare something insanely grand on my own. Watching that look of fierce determination, Leon broke out in a cold sweat. Well then, I'll take my leave now. Patrick rested his chin on his hand, deep in speculation as Leon's retreating back vanished down the hall. He pondered anxiously, how on earth am I supposed to prepare the absolute perfect gift? Leon strode confidently down the mansion's corridor. Ahead of him sat towering stacks of books and documents scattered haphazardly across the desk. Rixel was sitting with his head propped in his hand, intently reading a document amidst a desk overflowing with paperwork. Bursting unceremoniously through the door, Leon yelled out, startling his younger brother so badly that papers went flying everywhere amid a yelp of Ah. Leon stepped inside, looked around, and chuckled as the younger boy scrambled to pick up the scattered documents off the floor. What's going on in here? I never took you for such a messy person. Rixel flushed red, covering his mouth in embarrassment to hide his fluster. So embarrassing. I never wanted you to see me like this, big brother. Anyway, what brings you here? Leon cheerfully carried over a tray of sweets, figuring working hard like this would make him crave some snacks. I baked these myself. Sitting together on a luxurious sofa, the younger brother popped a cute, bunny-shaped cookie into his mouth to taste it. Rixel's eyes widened in pure shock the second he chewed into his first bite. A crisp, crunchy sound echoed, followed by a stunned expression that quickly melted into glowing praise. Oh my god, this is ridiculously good. I could tell ever since you baked that bread, you're seriously talented at this, big brother. Oh, stop it. Leon affectionately checked in on him, advising his younger brother to take a breather before the big ceremony. Rixel, Grandpa's got you running around doing a ton of stuff, right? Why don't you take it easy and rest up until my coming-of-age ceremony? Leon smiled gently, revealing that he had personally brought it up with their grandfather out of concern for his health. I asked Grandpa for you. You look totally exhausted. Rixel felt a warm wave of deep emotion at his older brother's thoughtful, tender concern. I never thought my big brother would care about me this much. Thanks so much, big brother, but I'm not tired because of air training or family head duties. That touching moment was instantly derailed when the eldest brother completely misunderstood the reason for his fatigue. Don't tell me it's love letters. Knowing this, I shouldn't have even bothered getting curious. It's totally not that. The two brothers traded awkward expressions as Rixel hurriedly clarified the real cause. Well, at your age, starting to notice girls is pretty normal. It's because of your upcoming coming-of-age ceremony. Leon finally pieced it together upon realizing his brother's worry. Ah, so it's about the family ritual. The Asteria family's coming-of-age ceremony featured a trial called the Library Labyrinth, a place that collected skills and guided those who entered toward the exact magic they needed most. Though called a labyrinth, it automatically adjusted to the user's level, meaning there wasn't a single branching fork to get lost in. If you tried to brute force it, it became an impenetrable maze. But if you listened to its guidance, it was simply a library. The secrets of how the labyrinth operated and the dark memories of the original body's former owner slowly rose to the surface. The original Leon had even used it as a hideout before he took over the body, and rumor had it that anyone who reached the end of the labyrinth was allowed to bring back a special item. Rixel must have thought this was super dangerous for me since I didn't have any mana. What a good kid. Leon offered reassuring words, but Rixel's hilarious, frantic response completely froze him in his tracks. It's fine, Rixel. That ritual is mostly just a formality anyway. No, it's not. I'm worried about the outfit. Leon looked up with a blank expression, breaking out in a cold sweat as he asked, the outfit. Gesturing across the chaotic office, Rixel held up a document and asked, have you checked out the ceremonial attire the family head prepared for your coming-of-age ceremony yet? Nope, haven't seen it yet. Rixel slammed a blueprint hard onto the desk. Right here, the family head has one fatal flaw. The blueprint for the ceremonial outfit was revealed. A skin-tight electric blue jumpsuit paired with neon green pants, a blazing red cape, and glaringly bright red high heels. He literally has zero aesthetic sense. This is a total disaster. Cancel the whole ceremony, we're completely doomed. Both brothers broke out in cold sweats, their faces sinking into despair. Leon spoke up. This outfit C-A-N Chinese letter not be worn to the coming-of-age ceremony, especially given his image as an 8-circle archmage. The younger brother nodded frantically. I completely agree. The two brothers clutched their heads and wailed in mutual chaos. Leon wondered aloud, wait, he usually dresses totally normally, so why the sudden shift in taste? Rixel explained. Because up until now, Sylvia has always stepped in to stop him every single time. Leon felt a deep wave of gratitude towards Sylvia. Sylvia, so she's been silently protecting us all this time. I've got to find a way to shut this down. Now you're grateful to me. I wanted the whole family to match in coordinated outfits. Let's push ahead with the plan. The kids cheered joyfully. The young master, it's the young master. Wearing a simple, modest cloak, Leon greeted the local children with a radiant smile. Doing well lately, Thornleaf. Stooping down, he offered a colorful pouch of cookies with a grin. It's been a while, everyone. Here, try these. I baked these cookies with my own 2 hands. The 2 kids happily hugged the cookie bag and dug in enthusiastically. Oh goodness, something this precious. By the way, what brings the young master here today? I'm here to ask you all for a favor. Rhea looked surprised upon hearing his unexpected request. A favor? Do you remember that tailor who used to volunteer with us at the orphanage? Leon continued his quest to track down the talented tailor from before. Can you introduce him to me? Oh, what? The image of the exceptionally skilled tailor flashed brightly in his memory with his immaculate craftsmanship. I caught a glimpse of his skills when we were volunteering, and he's genuinely a master at his craft. He resized clothes for every single kid on the spot and whipped up brand new garments out of mere fabric scraps in no time. He looked like a true grandmaster. Snapping back to reality, Ria thought it over for a moment before replying to his urgent request for a skilled tailor. I need someone with hands as skilled as his. Is this going to be too difficult? Not at all, I can arrange it. But Ria's expression turned hesitant and awkward. Noticing her hesitation, Leon asked, is there some other reason you're reluctant to introduce him? Well, once you get there, young master, you'll understand. Leon pulled his hooded cloak over his head, carried his pouch of goods, and walked alone toward a desolate, rundown wasteland. Standing before a dusty, spiderweb-covered wooden sign, he muttered, is this the place? The wooden sign suddenly rattled and let out a creaking groan, almost falling off and startling him into a panic. Did I come to the right place? The door creaked open, revealing a long line of creepy mannequins lining a dark, rundown hallway, casting an eerie and terrifying atmosphere. Something feels seriously off. Why would someone this talented work in such a dump? Leon timidly called out into the dark, gloomy space, hello, is anyone here? Suddenly, a mysterious figure appeared right behind him, making him jump out of his skin. Yes, a customer. Andrew beamed brightly, spreading his arms wide with a mix of excitement and disbelief. You're a customer. Recognizing him, the tailor froze in shock. Aren't you the young master I met at the orphanage, but your hair and eye color are different? Leon gave the back of his head an embarrassed scratch as he explained. I'm really sorry I couldn't tell you the truth that day. I'm the eldest grandson of the Asteria family, but I had to wear a disguise for certain reasons. Andrew flashed a warm smile, grabbing his hand to show deep respect. Oh, that's completely fine. A young noble having his own reasons is only natural. Andrew asked curiously, still, given your status, why would you go out of your way to a place like this? Leon smiled faintly and replied, I'm looking for a skilled tailor. Andrew flinched, breaking into a nervous sweat as he replied, a skilled tailor. Someone from the Asteria family definitely doesn't need to stoop to patronizing someone like me. Cutting through his awkwardness, the tailor remembered his manners and hurriedly led the way. Instead of standing out here, please step inside. Shall we sit down and talk over some tea? Right this way. Stepping inside, Leon was immediately drawn to rows of colorful fabric rolls, prestigious awards, and golden trophies proudly displayed on the shelves. Leon marveled, flushing with excitement. Isn't that the highest award from the Empire's most famous competition? Andrew said self-consciously. I feel so ashamed hosting someone of your status in such a rundown shack. Andrew gestured for him to sit. Please take a seat while I brew some tea. Leon replied cheerfully, talk about great timing, I brought some cookies along, we can enjoy them together with the tea. As steaming tea poured into cups, Andrew offered apologetically, I'm so sorry, I'd love to treat you to something much fancier, but my current situation is a bit. Don't worry about it at all. Andrew looked utterly stunned by the unexpected gift. These cookies, I baked them myself, hope you like them. Made by the young master's own hands. Staring at the cute, bear-shaped cookie with a sweet little heart iced in the center, Andrew recalled, come to think of it, he said the bread donated to the orphanage was handmade by him too. That bread was shockingly delicious. He decided to taste the sincere cookie baked by the young master. I wonder what kind of flavor this cookie has. Thank you, I'll gladly partake. The instant he took his first bite, an explosion of flavor completely conquered Andrew's taste buds. An absolute flavor explosion. The delicate sensory experience began with a satisfying crunch before melting away softly into a rustic, comforting warmth. Starts off crisp and instantly melts right on the tongue. Initially feels like a rustic country boy, but then that flavor transforms powerfully, captivating you like a dramatic romance story. Right then, a romantic scene flickered through Andrew's mind. A crown prince whose heart is stolen by a country girl at first sight, a bright, stirring flavor just like the breathless rush of first love. Utterly immersed in the supreme sweetness, he couldn't find any words grand enough to praise it. So good, delicious doesn't even begin to cover this. Andrew dropped his jaw in awe, this is pure art. Leon sat calmly sipping his tea, radiating an alluring, contrasting aura. Those contrasting vibes are just like the young master standing right in front of me. Good, looks like he really likes it. People might write him off as the family's black sheep, but he's actually an unfathomable mystery no one has ever managed to crack. The white porcelain plate bore a slight crack, holding only a few scattered cookie crumbs. Wiping his mouth with a napkin, Andrew breathed a sigh of absolute fulfillment. This is truly magnificent, young master, thank you. Leon asked with a smile, was it good? Clenching his fists with a glowing, excited face, he exclaimed, without a doubt, I almost cried. This cookie just reignited the fire of inspiration deep inside me. Turning serious again, Andrew said, young master, since you went out of your way to come here and treated me to something this incredible, I'll speak my mind without holding anything back. Glancing toward his display mannequins, Andrew guessed, coming all this way, you must be looking to commission some clothes, right? Well, I'm fully capable of tailoring for you. Sitting straight on the sofa, he declared with sharp, confident eyes, I'm confident I can draft patterns, cut fabric, and embroider better than anyone else. However, Andrea explained, if word gets out that I designed them, other nobles won't accept it. You might even get mocked just for wearing them out in public. Leon looked surprised. Why on earth would that happen? Well, you see. Clenching his trembling hands on his knees, Andrew wore a bitter expression. Because I'm the illegitimate child of a noble family. I see. Privilege really makes it way too easy for people to look down on others. They claim it lowers their dignity, saying commoners shouldn't touch garments meant exclusively as luxury goods for the nobility. Is that really all it takes? Leon wondered to himself, do I really need to suck up to these snobby aristocrats anyway? Once those rumors spread, even the people who used to sponsor me gradually cut ties because most of them never wanted to be associated with me in the first place. Sitting across from each other, Andrew suggested, so if you're going to give me the job, it's better if you just tell people these clothes were made by some nameless rookie. Leon interrupted, hold on a second. Can I look at some of the clothes you've made before? Explaining his current shop situation and the items he currently kept on hand, Andrew said, I threw away all the clothes I used to sell to aristocrats, so now I only keep commoner apparel. That's fine, I just wanted to see your craftsmanship. Hearing that, Andrew decisively yanked back a dusty velvet curtain to reveal a secret showroom hidden in the back, leaving the young master utterly spellbound. Andrew proudly introduced the passionate masterpieces he handcrafted for the ordinary working people in the region. These are the items I sell to the locals. Unbelievable. Right before Leon's eyes, sparkling item stat windows popped up to prove his exceptional craftsmanship, truly top-tier garment quality. Handcrafted tailored bolero jacket 2-star. Leon looked around the tailor shop. This is definitely the right guy for the job. He assessed the tailor's brilliant workmanship. Handcrafted tailored cotton trousers, handcrafted tailored formal dress. For fabric like this to hit 2 stars means all the other crafting conditions were executed to absolute perfection. A grand idea sparked in Leon's mind as he looked at the bolt of premium fabric. What would happen if someone like this was given top-tier materials? He dropped an unexpected proposal that left Andrew flabbergasted. Andrew, I genuinely want you to make the clothes I'll wear for my coming-of-age ceremony. The tailor anxiously advised against it, but young master, this is a huge opportunity for me, but you're definitely going to be the one who loses face. I guarantee not a single person will dare peep a word about it. Just tell me yes or no, can you do it? Holding up 3 fingers casually, Leon laid down his time frame. 3 outfits finished before the coming-of-age ceremony. The crushing pressure made Andrew sweat with anxiety. Is that even feasible? Leon encouraged him with unwavering confidence. I'll take full responsibility for it, so give it to me straight. Are you ready to go all out? Clenching his fists, Andrew's burning desire to create surged up. Getting to craft gorgeous clothes out of high-end fabrics and unleash my talent without having to worry about anything else. What tailor in their right mind could ever turn down an offer this irresistible? Flushing red, Andrew bravely accepted the thrilling challenge. Just say the word, young master. A wise choice. Eagerly preparing to design the outfits, Andrew asked, what kind of style are you aiming for? What details should I incorporate? Leon began laying down a series of tricky demands. I want them to look subtle and neat while retaining a baseline elegance. Since the whole family is matching, I want a unifying theme, but each outfit needs its own distinct personality. Also, make sure it doesn't look too old-fashioned or too childish, meaning sophisticated yet elegant, identical yet unique. Andrew realized in sheer horror, wait a minute, does that mean the family head is going to be wearing clothes made by me too? That's right, is there a problem? Are you seriously okay with this? Anxious because he was so widely despised by the nobility, Andrew warned, like I said before, I'm a tailor the aristocracy detests. What does that have to do with my family? Explaining further about the absolute supremacy of the Asteria family, Andrew argued, no one would ever dare talk back to the Asteria family, a household whose status rivals even the royal family. Right. That bold affirmation left Leon blinking in silence for a few seconds. Leon's immediate recognition gave Andrew an immense surge of motivation. I, Andrew, will pour my entire soul into making these for you. Inspiration flooding his mind, he swiftly finished sketching the design. Oh my god, a brilliant design just popped right into my head. Did you have any specific fabric in mind, young master? To be honest, I don't know the first thing about that stuff, so I brought this along. Presenting the family's treasure catalog left Andrew stunned. This is the fabric catalog preserved by the Asteria family. The legendary fabric catalog whispered about among master tailors everywhere. Deeply moved, the tailor asked for permission to open the legendary book. Just getting to lay eyes on this is fulfilling enough. May I open it? Of course, take your time. The sound of turning pages echoed through the room. Andrew gasped as he stared at the sparkling pages. Oh my god. The catalog contained the rarest fabrics across the entire continent. Featuring top-tier materials from every corner of the realm, including spirit silk, famous for being craftable by only a handful of spirits. Legendary materials that seemed straight out of fairy tales filled the pages, such as fey breath, woven from the concentrated life force of archmages. I can't believe these fabrics actually exist in real life. Leon smiled, checking in on Andrew's satisfaction. Well, did you find a material you like? The problem is there isn't a single fabric in here I don't like, young master. Suddenly the tailor paused in front of a mysterious page. This is. Leaning in close, Leon asked, "What's wrong? Is there a problem with that fabric?" Back in my prime days, there was a specific fabric a certain lady loved using. Andrea explained the strange disappearance of the fabric from the market. It became completely impossible to find, so seeing it in this catalog is mind-blowing. I never forget a fabric once I've touched it, and I've always wondered what kind of material it was. Too bad there isn't a single scrap of information written about it here. Leon leaned over to inspect the fabric sample closely. Let me take a look. The system interface flashed open with astonishing stats regarding the item, Archmage's Deep Love. Could this actually be something Grandpa made himself? Andrea had mentioned a certain lady who used this fabric for her clothes. Pondering the item description, Leon thought, the description mentions an archmage, which means, since we're doing matching family outfits, we absolutely have to use this one. Leon immediately made his choice of fabric for the garments. Andrea, can you make clothes out of this fabric? Of course, I'd be honored. Smiling eagerly, Andrea prepared to get to work. In that case, let's start by taking measurements. A new voice interrupted their workflow. Big brother, working hard, are you? I caught wind of some news and came by a bit late because I was busy rounding up some supplies. The younger brother's sudden appearance left the two men surprised. Supplies? Sounds like things are getting pretty rowdy outside. Shouts echoed from outside, startling them. Move all of this inside. Understood, my lord. Andrew dropped his jaw in sheer disbelief at the grand scene unfolding in his courtyard. What on earth is all this? A massive wave of high-end equipment was unloaded in rapid succession. Rixel proudly introduced the grand-scale support provided by the family. I heard you found a tailor you liked, and since we're preparing for a once-in-a-lifetime coming-of-age ceremony, this level of backing is only natural. Leon couldn't help but laugh. You really went all out, didn't you? Well, can you use all this? I figured you're probably used to your old gear, so I thought this might be. Not at all. Andrew faltered for a second before making a new decision. I'll gladly use it. Deeply moved by this sincere gesture, he added, I'd be endlessly grateful if you replaced every single piece of my old equipment with this. Expressing his deep gratitude, Andrew bowed. Eldest young master, thank you so much for patiently standing here while I took measurements. Burning with absolute dedication, Andrew promised to craft a masterpiece. I'll pour my absolute all into this. Take your time. Smiling, Leon turned to make one final request. And there's one more thing I'd like to ask of you. The request to learn tailoring left everyone utterly dumbfounded. Could you teach me some sewing basics when you have free time? What? Huh, how on earth could I ever dare teach you, young master? Andrew panicked and tried to talk him out of it for fear the young master would hurt himself. No, I mean, if you try sewing for the first time, you'll just end up pricking your fingers with needles the whole time, and those sewing machines can cause unexpected accidents. It's fine. Leon reassured him he just wanted to try it out for fun. I'm not planning to tackle anything crazy right away, just want to dabble for fun. May I boldly ask why? The young master's deep understanding touched the tailor's heart. Why? After talking with you, I realized how much skill and passion you possess, and I saw how exquisite and meticulous your aesthetic sense is. It would be an absolute shame if I couldn't understand the hardships you went through to sew these garments. So I figured I need to grasp the basics first to truly appreciate the creator's intent. Choked up by his precious words, Andrew thought, I never imagined he could think so deeply about this. Every single stitch, every technique applied, right down to the construction of the silhouette, carries a specific intention infused by the tailor. Expressing his profound gratitude and loyalty, Andrew declared, I am more than happy to teach you everything I know without holding a single thing back. He offered the young man a warm piece of advice before briefly stepping away to handle some preparations. First off, would it be all right if I went to take the second young master's measurements before we begin? If you have any questions about any of the things in here, please feel free to look around and try them out. Thank you. The peaceful scenery of the wooden cottage at dusk, casting a golden hue across a corner of the sky. Stepping into the tailor's workshop, Leon couldn't help marveling at the surrounding space, thinking, no matter how many times I see it, it's truly impressive. Approaching the table to inspect a piece of coarse fabric, a system interface popped up to evaluate the material's quality, crafter's worn cotton trousers pattern. The fabric quality is exceptionally poor, with loose threads fraying everywhere. How on earth was he able to make clothes out of such inferior material? Picking up the trousers to examine their structure and understand the tailor's sewing methods, he muttered, let's see. So you just sew the pieces together like this? I wonder if I should try sewing something myself. Glancing down at his still clumsy hands, he thought, I haven't received proper training yet, nor have I grasped the basics, so jumping straight into using convenience items feels a bit wrong. I should probably try hand sewing first. Suddenly, Leon remembered that he owned a treasure perfectly suited for this exact situation. Ah, thank goodness, I happen to have the exact right thing on hand. Crafter's Repair Kit. That repair kit I got as a bonus from the magic tool shop last time. His hands began moving in a blur, pouring his complete focus into finishing the piece. Why wait for any other time when I can use it right now? Leon looked quite startled upon catching sight of the needle. Did its appearance change? He couldn't help feeling excited by this extraordinary magical item. It transforms and looks brand new the moment you use it. Magic items really are fascinating. It even threads the needle automatically. Seating himself at the workbench, Leon eagerly dove right into testing it out. All right, let's see what it can do. The brilliant afternoon sunlight illuminated his focused silhouette as he diligently worked on his sewing. He was genuinely surprised by how captivating the craft of sewing turned out to be. Why is this activity so addictive? The longer he worked, the more peaceful and focused his mind became. I thought I'd get bored quickly with something requiring this much precision, but it's actually calming my mood down. The more concentrated I get, the more even my stitches become, and I'm even starting to pick up some speed. A magical guiding line materialized to help him complete the work effortlessly. On top of that, I can clearly see an entire guide path laid out right in front of me. Is this also thanks to the power of that magic item? This is way easier than I thought. Cotton trousers pattern unlocked. Leon joyfully inspected his impressive first-ever hand-sewn creation, thinking, it actually doesn't look half bad. A sudden noise from behind startled him into turning around. You're done already, I'm so sorry I should have called out to you. Stunned and astonished by the young master's innate talent, Andrew thought, not at all. You looked so intensely focused that I didn't have the heart to interrupt. Did you start sewing from this side? For someone trying this for the very first time, this kind of skill is. Examining the trousers with a mix of surprise and admiration, he remarked, of course, it's still a tiny bit uneven, but this is genuinely impressive. A long-forgotten tailoring technique suddenly clicked in Andrew's mind. Good grief, how incredible. This is the exact technique I let slip away from me all this time. Galvanized with enthusiasm, the tailor set to work, beads of sweat forming on his brow, thinking hand sewing has always been the core foundation of high-end bespoke tailoring. I've been so caught up in ready-to-wear garments lately that I nearly forgot all about this. Lost in creative absorption, Andrew completely tuned out his surroundings, murmuring, that's right, I'll accentuate this part to give the outfit an extra touch of elegance, and I'll raise this section slightly to create an even stronger focal point. It would be wonderful if I could secure that spot extra firmly. Leon thought, the old guy is lost in his own world again, isn't he? Deciding to let the tailor keep working, the two young men prepared to head back first. Should we head back now? Let's do that. After all, today. Rixel murmured thoughtfully. The whole family has that scheduled family dinner with the head of the house, after all. The butler stepped into the study, bowing respectfully to report, My lord, the young masters have arrived. Shall we head down to the dining room? Setting down his writing brush, Patrick let out a weary sigh after finishing his work. Very well. The two strode down the expansive corridor beneath the dazzling glow of the chandeliers. The butler spoke up first to break the silence. It's rare for all three of you to share a meal together. Indeed, we ought to have moments like this every once in a while. Patrick's expression turned stern as weighty matters crossed his mind, thinking it's not like I'm eager to work myself to exhaustion. I only do it because it's the best way to protect these kids. The butler sympathized, taking on the sovereign's workload on top of everything else. It's only natural that you're exhausted, my lord. Patrick's gaze turned sorrowful as he looked out the window, muttering, those damned royals. The war with the demon race ended 50 years ago, yet they're still sucking the life out of this old man. The butler hurried to offer comforting reassurances as he watched his master grow gloomy. Patrick continued, how much longer do I even have left? I just want to spend the time I have remaining with my grandchildren. The butler pleaded, please don't speak like that, my lord. An eighth circle maid shares the same lifespan as the elves, doesn't he? Patrick sighed, suppose so. Continuing forward, Patrick reaffirmed his paramount responsibility. It's rare for the main branch of our family to gather in full. As the head of the house, I cannot afford to be absent. The butler agreed, you are entirely right, my lord. The grand doors of the dining hall swung open. The servants chimed in unison with respectful bows. The family head has arrived. Leon thought, I don't know if I'm just getting old or if that flattering grandson of mine is finally melting my heart. Raising their gazes in unison, the two brothers watched as Patrick thought, right now, all I want is to live out the rest of my days in peace alongside the treasures my child left behind. But to make that happen, we must not let a single soul discover the potential of that child. Smiling brightly, Leon greeted, "Good evening, Grandpa." Pondering the excessive grandeur of the family meal, Leon wondered, do we really need to put on such a flashy display just to have a family dinner? Rixel explained the reason behind the extravagant spread. It's been a while since our family got together in full, so I asked the head chef to whip up a few special dishes. Leon muttered, "Ah, I see." Reminiscing about his past lonely meals, Leon thought, come to think of it, back then I used to either skip meals entirely or just eat bland hospital diet food, while Grandpa always dined at the royal palace. Realizing the solitude his younger brother must have endured, Leon thought, that means Rixel probably had to eat all by himself most of the time. He cast a thoughtful glance at Rixel, thinking he must have been terribly lonely. Leon resolved to foster more family reunions. That's right, we definitely need to have days like this more often. His heart ached for his brother's isolation. My little brother, I knew it, he must have been so lonely. It must have been awfully difficult bearing everything all by himself. Determined to change that through regular gatherings, Leon resolved from now on, for his sake I should tell. No, I'll suggest to the family head that we hold family gatherings much more frequently. Beaming happily, Leon thought, Rixel, you won't have to eat alone anymore from now on. Before the meal commenced, the butler carefully helped Patrick settle into his seat. Everyone responded in unison to the host's invitation. Let's eat. Yes. The clinking of silverware pierced the quiet atmosphere of the dining room. Shrugging off the initial silence, Patrick inquired about his grandson's work progress. Rixel, how are things coming along with the assignment I gave you? Yes, everything is being handled quite smoothly, grandfather. Despite answering fluently, Rixel couldn't entirely mask his tension. A cold glint flashed in Rixel's eyes as he thought, after all, this is my brother's coming-of-age ceremony. The one that got delayed for a full 3 years before finally being held. Doesn't grandfather even care to ask how he feels about it? Or at least ask what kind of gift he wants? The atmosphere definitely wasn't what he had hoped for. I'll have to take the initiative to start a conversation. Grandpa. Gathering his courage, Leon posed a question. Did you happen to weave fabric for mother back in the day, Grandpa? Instead of answering immediately, Patrick slowly took a sip of his wine and replied, I haven't the slightest idea what you're talking about. Observing his grandfather's expression shrewdly, Leon thought, I knew it. Whenever mother gets brought up, he instantly gets uncomfortable. Continuing his meal, Leon gently steered the conversation forward. I met a tailor today, and during our chat, I happened to come across a very unique piece of fabric belonging to our family. Directing an earnest look at his younger brother for backing, Leon asked, Rixel, you remember it too, right? That fabric that was sparkling brilliantly among the items you brought back. Rixel nodded. Yes, I remember. Memories of Andri came rushing back. The master tailor told me a story from his youth about a young noble lady who was extremely fond of a very specific type of fabric. Leon delivered a persuasive argument. He said the fabric in our house looks identical to the one that lady used to bring him. Since a fabric he hasn't been able to find anywhere else since then happened to be right here in the Asteria estate, I couldn't help wondering if that lady was mother, which is why I asked. Patrick fell into deep, contemplative silence at his grandson's unexpected question, thinking, so that's how it is. The topic of their mother. The atmosphere at the dining table plunged into a heavy, gloomy silence. This was perhaps the subject their family wanted to avoid more than any other. A close-up of the warm soup resting on the luxurious family dining table. But we can't just keep burying it and ignoring it forever. Being able to talk comfortably about someone who has passed away is the only way we can truly comfort and heal one another. A confident smile crossed his face as he hatched a plan for reconciliation. What we need right now is a breakthrough to reconnect us. So I'll use these matching outfits as an excuse to mend our bonds and get everyone to open up more. Patrick finally spoke up to voice his agreement with his grandson's proposal. Leon, just as you said. The unexpected truth dropping straight from the old man's lips froze the air in the dining room. That fabric was indeed woven by my own hands. The two brothers stared in stunned bewilderment, asking, You wove it yourself, Grandpa. May we ask why? Swirling the wine in his glass, Patrick gently tipped it as if recalling a distant memory. There was no grand reason behind it. It's only natural for a father to worry over his only daughter. The past came flooding back, a time when every single thread was chosen with absolute protectiveness and love. I was terrified she might trip and get hurt or catch a cold walking in the rain. I selected the finest magical yarn, infused protective spells into every single strand, and had it woven into fabric. Yet, memories of his late daughter flickered across Patrick's mind. I never imagined that piece of fabric would still exist after all this time. Rixel lowered his gaze to the table, a wave of choked-up emotion welling up inside him as he heard about his mother. Our mother's fabric. Rixel has never shown it outwardly, but he must have always been curious about his mother. Engulfed by my own shattered heart, I ended up leaving my grandchildren all alone. To shatter the somber atmosphere, Leon chimed in with an enthusiastic tone. I'm planning to make a few bespoke suits out of that fabric. Do you think we'll run out of material? No need to worry about running out, stop overthinking things. Thank you, Grandpa. But his grandson's next question caught the old man off guard once more, nearly making him drop his wine glass. So, when are you free to visit the tailor together with us? What? Patrick looked utterly dumbfounded by his grandson's proposal. I thought only the two of you were getting clothes made. What are you talking about, Grandpa? Naturally, you need to get a suit made too. Rixel quickly stepped in with a sensible suggestion. Brother, while I agree that everyone should wear matching outfits, the family head's schedule is extremely busy. Why don't we invite the tailor to come directly to the estate instead? That's a brilliant idea. Patrick finally conceded defeat to his grandson's clever persistence. All right, have it your way. Since you're the one in charge of this project, Leon, I'll defer to you. Thank you so much, Grandpa. Leon quietly cheered inwardly as the first phase of his plan proved successful. Excellent. With Grandpa's approval, I don't have to worry about his weird fashion sense ruining my designs anymore. Everyone is finally starting to talk more naturally too. Beaming radiantly as a massive weight lifted off his shoulders, he thought, now I can focus with complete peace of mind on preparing for the coming-of-age ceremony. The atmosphere inside the estate grew warm and bathed in light. After that, everything proceeded remarkably smoothly. Andri arrived at the estate and began taking precise measurements. Thanks to Andri's visit, the suit preparations progressed without a hitch. The maids and servants throughout the manor bustled about making preparations for the big day. The decorations for the ceremony were all falling neatly into place. The family's united front made everything move forward at lightning speed. On top of that, I'm getting all-out support from Grandpa and Rixel. Brother, don't push yourself too hard, just leave all the troublesome tasks to me. Are you seriously worried about the budget under our roof? Truth be told, I barely have to lift a finger for most things. Needles and threads were neatly laid out, ready for the final stages. Yet determined to carve out time for his personal hobby, he kicked off a sewing practice session, thinking, I finally have time to dedicate entirely to practicing my sewing skills. But something feels a bit off. Everything seemed to be proceeding as usual until an unexpected notification popped up. Usually around this time, a brand new talent should have awakened right while he was sewing. New talent unlocked, sewing. Sewing proficiency reached novice level 1. Instead of feeling elated, Leon felt a surge of suspicion. Shouldn't a notification banner like this pop up? Why isn't anything happening? His suspicion quickly morphed into sheer panic. Why is that? It's not quite on the level of when I was blacksmithing, but the quality of what I make should be pretty decent. I made it entirely with my own hands without relying on a sewing machine. Why hasn't the talent awakened yet? I didn't skip any of the basic steps this time either. He quickly brushed aside his panic, scrambling to find an explanation for the delay. Could it be that I just don't have any aptitude for this? No, let's not jump to conclusions. How much time have I spent on sewing already? If I really lack talent, it should probably be in cooking instead. He began questioning the differences between these two skills. So what's the actual difference between sewing and cooking? Is it the tools? Or do I need a mentor to guide me, just like I had Elvia for alchemy? Suspicion quickly escalated into absolute terror. But my alchemy relies far more on equipment than it does on a teacher. Where on earth is the catch? A servant suddenly burst into the room and announced, Young Master Andri has arrived. Sylvia hurried in to report on the clothing preparation status. The clothes are done. It seems so, but the tailor's expression looks a bit strange. Leon looked baffled by her hesitant demeanor. A strange expression? Yes, he looks as if. Sylvia's face betrayed clear worry and tension. Something terrible must have just happened. Leon hurried down the hallway upon hearing the report. Andri is here, but something seems off. I've temporarily invited him into the parlor. Would you like to see him right away? Walking along, he wondered anxiously what could have possibly gone wrong. What do you mean by something's wrong? Leon pushed open the parlor door and froze in shock at the sight before him. What in the world is this? The room was overflowing with a dazzling display of bespoke suits. Did he literally bring my entire dressing room over here? He couldn't help marveling at the sheer scale of the wardrobe. How on earth did a single man carry all of this here? Everything looks perfectly fine to me. Leon greeted his familiar tailor with enthusiastic cheer. Master Andri, you're here, I've been waiting for you. Andri politely presented the finished garments for him to try on. These are the young master's formal wear. Would you like to try them on right now? Absolutely stunning. The quintessential bespoke formal wear crafted by a master tailor. Leon quickly slipped into the meticulously tailored jacket. Beaming radiantly as he stood before the large mirror, he thought, it's gorgeous. The quintessential bespoke formal wear crafted by a master tailor. But Leon quickly caught the lingering sadness on Andri's face. Is something the matter? You don't look very happy. Andri's expression flickered with hesitation. No, even I have to admit it looks stunning. It's just that there's one thing worrying me. A system notification flashed into view, bearing good news before immediately dashing it with a bucket of ice-cold water. You have acquired an outfit of exceptional quality, but it cannot be worn to a banquet. What? Something is missing. Find that missing piece and put Andrew's mind at ease. Inspecting himself in the mirror for a moment, realization suddenly dawned upon him. I get it. Leon touched his collarbone, murmuring, the neck area looks way too bare. Andrew's face lit up in a blush, his eyes shining as if he had just discovered a kindred genius. Exactly, young master. Floating sketches of accessories surrounded him. The outfit itself is perfection, but it lacks a focal point. A necktie, a bow tie, a cravat, even a pocket square is missing. Pondering the dress codes of this world with his chin propped in his hand, Leon thought, right, those little details matter a lot in this world. Let's see. Imagining what his grandfather and family members would look like wearing his designs, he mused. If everyone's outfits follow this style, Grandpa should wear a dignified, elegant necktie. And since Rixel is still young, a youthful bow tie would suit him much better. Standing before three mannequins draped in unfinished formal wear, Andrew hesitated and spoke up. Young master, please forgive me, but might I ask a favor of you? A favor. Standing before three mannequins draped in unfinished formal wear, Andrew hesitated and spoke up. Young master, please forgive me, but might I ask a favor of you? A favor. Leon's jaw dropped in absolute shock at the request. What? Andrew offered to teach him everything. I want to teach you everything from making neckties to embroidery. Hold on, leaving aside the fact that Leon expressed his surprise and worry about the proposition. Wouldn't it be terribly rude for me to casually tamper with a master's work? Andrew began recounting a story from the past. Is there a specific reason why you're asking me this? Well, Andrew explained the connection between the boy's mother and the garments. Actually, before taking measurements for the family head the other day, I realized that the young lady I used to make clothes for back then was none other than your mother. Even though I was just a humble, unknown tailor, she thanked me. The profound significance of garments crafted out of love. That was when I realized, both back then and now, the clothes she made for the people she loved carried immense, profound meaning. Andrew urged him to finish the outfit with his own hands. Since the family head poured magic into every single stitch for his child, you, the young master, should be the one to finish this outfit with your own hands. Because this outfit requires something that Andrew could never provide. A happy smile and the realization of a profound truth. That certainly couldn't have been an easy decision for a tailor with such high self-esteem. Turns out making pretty clothes isn't everything. Clenching his fists with a confident smile, Leon thought, since he's being this kind and considerate toward me, I've got to give it my absolute all. I understand. Shedding the trial jacket, Leon said, I'm leaving it entirely in your hands, Master Tailor. Of course, let's start picking out styles. Please take a seat over here. Seating himself at the drafting table, Leon immediately picked up a pen to sketch. Actually, I just had an idea. A page of the sketchpad displayed sharply drawn illustrations of neckties and boaties. I understand what you're aiming for. You want the family head to exude refined elegance, while the second young master looks youthful yet sophisticated, right? Yes, I want anyone looking at them to immediately recognize them as the heirs of our family. Splendid. Turning to him, Andrew asked, and what style would you like to choose for yourself, young master? Leon made his decision. I'll decide mine after I finish everyone else's. I see, then let's start by practicing with a basic necktie. A silk strip meant for a necktie materialized against a shimmering backdrop. The structure of a necktie goes like this. The part looping around the neck is the protective fastening section, and the narrower end is called the tail. Finally, the wide blade-like end determines the overall silhouette, so its details require the utmost care. Breaking into a sweat, Leon asked, wait, are you using sword terminology here? Did I use the wrong terms? Please don't use words like that in front of Grandpa. He doesn't have the best history with the Swordmaster family. Inspecting the fabric closely, he observed, you're not using an interlining. Andrew praised him in pleasant surprise. You've got a sharp eye. Normally I would, but we don't need it this time. Smoothing out the white silk, he explained, the silk we're using is top-tier material that holds its pleats for a very long time. Figure's expensive fabric is on a whole different level, so luxurious. Beaming with radiant joy, Andrew readied himself for the work ahead. All right, let's begin. Leon responded modestly to the praise. They're all done. You don't need to flatter me like that. This necktie came out way too good considering the amateur who made it. Now, let's move on to the next step. They discussed the idea of embroidering the family crest onto the garments. Now we'll try embroidering. Do you have any ideas in mind yet? Yes, absolutely. I want to incorporate our family crest. The deep significance behind the chosen crest design. A family crest is basically like a brand logo. Give it a convincing meaning and it instantly looks high-end. Look at these leaves attached to the branch. I designed them to symbolize that our family will remain tightly knit and bonded together forever. Good grief, what a profound meaning. Andrea approved heartily and encouraged the young master to begin embroidering. Then let's embroider with that exact meaning in mind. He offered instructions on embroidery techniques to achieve ultimate refinement. The most important thing in embroidery is surface texture. Nail that down, and the embroidery will look completely natural and exquisite. Confidently committing to finishing the work on time, Leon thought, I get it, nothing beats good old-fashioned practice when it comes to this. Give me 3 days, and I'll have everything wrapped up by then. Expressing absolute trust in his talent, Andrea replied, Of course, I completely believe in you, young master. A few days later, a sharp yelp escaped as a needle pricked his finger, drawing a droplet of blood. Sucking on his injured finger, Leon muttered to himself, Phew, didn't go too deep. Still looks normal enough. For the next several days, he sewed like a madman, pricking his fingers countless times. He quickly burned through all the sample scraps Andrea had left behind and started drafting his own patterns from scratch. Determined, he told himself, I'm purposely refusing to use that magical item repair kit. If I keep relying on its instructions, I'll never actually improve. Call me stubborn if you want. Clutching his head in helpless defeat as he slumped over his desk with a heavy sigh, Leon muttered, It looks a bit better, but thinking about it, it's still pretty mediocre. This really isn't easy at all. Getting poked by needles over and over makes me just want to give up. Throwing his head back against the chair, he groaned exhaustedly. My shoulders are killing me and my eyes hurt. Staring blankly and in complete silence at the outfit laid out on the bed in front of him, Leon suddenly gripped the fabric on his desk tightly as a renewed spark ignited in his eyes. No giving up now, my stitching speed is starting to pick up. A brilliant golden radiance suddenly enveloped his busy hands as he sewed. A shimmering golden quest notification flashed into view. New talent unlocked, tailoring proficiency has reached novice level 1. Finally, Leon's sewing skills leveled up rapidly after he handled the cutting stages by hand. Now I can. Tailoring proficiency has reached novice level 2, strike while the iron's hot. Achievement unlocked, reward of 3,000 shillings. Meticulously smoothing down every single crease, he continued to receive level-up notifications from the system. Pausing for a moment to ponder the underlying mechanics of how crafting talents awakened, Leon wondered, wait, does unlocking a crafting talent depend on? Gazing at a piece of fabric sketched with an embroidered leaf motif, he questioned the actual necessity of the finished product to his everyday life. How badly I actually need the item. Reflecting on his past awakenings, real practical necessity had always acted as the strongest catalyst. For instance, when his blacksmithing talent awakened, he desperately needed a sickle and hoe to gather herbs for medicine. When his cooking talent awakened, he needed oil to bake bread and cookies. See, rosemary oil gives off a refreshing scent. New talent unlocked, cooking. Cooking proficiency has reached novice level 1. But with tailoring, no matter what he made, only his proficiency went up while the talent itself had never awakened. Pinpointing his current goal, he decisively prepared the next necessary materials to focus on completing it. In that case, what I need right now is this. Making decisive cuts with his scissors without blindly following pre-made guides, he thought, thank goodness I didn't use the repair kit from the start. It actually looks pretty good even without following the instructions. High-end necktie, value increased thanks to artisan hands. Getting ready to execute the crucial embroidery step to elevate his masterpiece, Leon whispered, nice. The artisan hands trait finally triggered. If I embroider on top of this. A pristine white necktie embroidered with luxurious gold leaf patterns materialized amidst a sparkling aura. Top-tier necktie. The system showered him with praise one after another, unbelievable quality for a novice tailor's work. A masterpiece worthy of being showcased anywhere. The moment the necktie was fitted onto the outfit, the system immediately announced that the 2 matching pieces had upgraded into a complete set. Set bonus triggered, +1 stat point. Staring at the dazzling result before his eyes, Leon cheered triumphantly, I did it. Before him lay a high-end ceremonial suit radiating a magnificent splendor. Thrilled at the sight of the finished product, he blurted out, my very first 4-star item. This ceremonial suit can maintain stable body temperature regardless of any outside weather. Reading that, Leon couldn't hide his surprise. It even comes with bonus effects. Right on cue, the system announced that his great tailor achievement progress had reached 1/3. Beaming with excitement as he read the text, Leon chuckled to himself, this is insane. If Rixel's clothes and mine turn out this good, I'll clear this achievement in no time. Picking up his scissors again with a cheerful grin, he motivated himself. All right, stay calm and keep focusing. Sharp scissors sliced swiftly through the soft fabric, using his deft hands to transform the white fabric into a dainty bow. He finished it by embedding a sparkling gemstone right in the center that flashed brilliantly under the lights. Once the bow was attached, the set bonus upgraded further. Now it not only retains body temperature but also grants immunity against a certain threshold of physical and magical damage. The progress bar hit 2/3. Smirking in triumph, Leon thought, awesome, Rixel's outfit is done too. Next, casting a troubled glance toward the remaining suit beside him, he muttered, now my own outfit is the real problem. Resting his chin in his hand in deep contemplation, Leon frowned slightly and murmured, given our family's prestige, I can't look sloppy. Plus, it would look pretty weird if the guest of honor didn't wear a necktie, wouldn't it? To make sure it doesn't clash with Grandpa's or Rixel's ties. Struck by a sudden inspiration, a clever idea popped into his head. I'll shorten the long tie and turn it into a brooch-style necktie instead. Grasping his pen and sketching fluid lines across the paper while muttering to himself, he planned, the centerpiece of this tie will be a gemstone. Let's see. Glancing over toward a small box placed nearby, he decided, I'll use one of Grandpa's old gemstones. Admiring the sparkling glow radiating from the gemstones, Leon thought with delight, this one looks absolutely perfect. It looked identical to the eye color of his own family members. Gently pinning the purple gemstone right at the collar, he beamed with excitement. Pinning this on here wraps it up. Note, paragraph 1243 content was merged into the previous text context for natural flow. The very second Leon finished that action, his Great Tailor Achievement quest officially completed. Along with a generous reward, the system noted that because Leon had achieved something extraordinary, he was granted a monetary bonus. Surprised, Leon thought, I even get extra cash rewards. Right then, the system notified him that he had crossed over 100,000 shillings, unlocking the entire shilling shop catalog. Reading those glowing letters, Leon's eyes lit up with unbridled excitement. 25,000 shillings all at once. And the shilling shop finally unlocked. I gotta check it out right now. Just as Leon was drowning in pure joy, frantic footsteps echoed from behind. The door suddenly burst open with a deafening bang, startling him into letting out a loud shriek. Staring in terror at Rixel's crazed expression, Leon stammered, Rixel, why are you here? Rixel stalked into the room with a pitch-black, menacing expression and snapped, tomorrow is your coming-of-age ceremony. Why on earth are you still sitting here sewing, big brother? I heard you haven't slept for 3 nights straight. At this rate, you're gonna pass out before the ceremony even starts. Leon felt his hair stand on end in absolute panic, thinking, I was just slammed with a brutal deadline and had no choice but pull all-nighters. But how on earth does the kid know about that? Wearing an icy expression, Rixel dropped a chilling ultimatum, go to sleep right now. Terrified by Rixel's deadpan, wide-eyed stare, Leon let out a squeak of fright. Right on cue, Sylvia materialized out of nowhere, wrapped Leon up tightly in a blanket like a cocoon and smiled brightly. The second young master is right. Come along, let me tuck you into bed. Bound up like a caterpillar, Leon let out a silent, tearful cry of despair. No way, the shilling shop just unlocked. Why are you forcing me to go to bed before I can even take a peek? Just a second, please let me look at it for 1 second. Bright sunlight streamed down over a grand, majestic castle. A voice echoed from deep within the castle, young master. Standing beside Leon, Sylvia offered a gentle observation. You look exceptionally dashing today, young master. Especially that necktie, it suits you wonderfully. Letting out a relieved sigh, Leon smiled, really? Oh, thank goodness. Flashing back to his thoughts from earlier, all that hard work finally paid off. Even though I passed out the second my head hit the pillow. The elderly butler wiped away stray tears with a handkerchief and choked up emotionally, young master. Tilting her head slightly, Sylvia curved the corners of her lips into a soft smile. Watching Leon's tall, grown-up frame, she thought to herself, the frail child from back then is holding his coming-of-age ceremony today. I used to worry this day would never arrive for you. Time really flies. Right then, Rixel walked over cheerfully to greet them. Good morning, big brother. Leon blinked with a warm smile. Rixel, were you waiting for me? Looking at him with tender eyes, the younger boy gave a firm nod. Yes. Raising an eyebrow proudly, Rixel made a bold declaration. From here on out, I'll be escorting you. The heavy doors swung open across the grand hall, accompanied by his soft-spoken remark. Because today, the room buzzed with the lively atmosphere of the banquet. Rixel stated with serious conviction, you're the star of the show, big brother. Melodic classical music played softly from a live orchestra, filling the luxurious room. A young noblewoman cast her gaze around the room before gasping in awe, the decorations are so grand. Talk about the signature style of the Asteria family. A middle-aged man beside her chuckled. This puts even royal banquets to shame. Another man holding a glass of wine turned to chime in. I heard Marquis Patrick and his eldest grandson didn't get along, but turns out it was all just baseless rumors. A man with a mustache shrugged indifferently. We'll see about that. A booming announcement echoed through the bustling hall. Marquis Asteria and the young masters have arrived. Everyone immediately turned their heads toward the source of the voice. Murmurs of chatter rippled across the room instantly. It's the Marquis, as majestic as ever. Walking right beside him is young Master Rixel, and trailing right behind the two of them was Leon, wearing a calm, gentle smile. The guest of honor today, young Master Leon, dressed in his immaculate suit, He stepped forward amid a wave of applause from the party guests. The moment a certain noblewoman spotted Leon, she muttered disdainfully, "He doesn't look as imposing as I expected." Kind of gets completely overshadowed by the air young Master Rixel. A man next to her agreed with a smirk, "I heard he's a bit of an oddball too." Patrick suddenly furrowed his brow and called out to Leon. Leon greeted him cheerfully, "Yes, Grandpa." Looking toward the crowd of nobles, the old man gave a stern warning, "Listen closely. Don't go mingling with that crowd over there. They aren't the kind of people you should be getting mixed up with." Looking surprised, Leon teased, "Are you worried about me, Grandpa?" Patrick sighed heavily and scolded with a frown, "Remember, this is a public event and you have to give the opening speech in a bit, so pull yourself together." Seeing the old man's serious face, Leon couldn't help but chuckle out loud. "Don't worry, I won't do anything to tarnish the dignity of the Asteria family's eldest grandson." At the same time, he thought fondly, he still cares about me in his own grumpy way. Adjusting his collar with a nonchalant shrug, Leon thought, I have zero interest in entertaining a bunch of bootlickers anyway. My one and only goal is. Bowing politely with an elegant grace, he introduced himself. Good evening, everyone. I am Leon Asteria, and today I have officially come of age. Continuing his train of thought, to leave a pristine impression of the family in everyone's eyes. Leon spoke up with effortless confidence. I sincerely thank everyone for taking the time to attend, especially the future heirs who will lead this country forward. Today Rixel suddenly froze mid-thought upon hearing those words. Staring at his older brother in sheer amazement, Rixel thought, Big brother. Has he always been this dependable? Right then, a young noblewoman whispered, Young Master Leon is looking surprisingly captivating today. Sweating slightly, the girl next to her hesitated, so I wasn't the only one who thought that. It's weird, looks simple, but... The lady in the yellow dress raised an eyebrow inquisitively. Doesn't his outfit look unusually special? Realizing it as well, her friend nodded. True, now that you mention it, it has a remarkably refined and minimalist aesthetic. The other girl agreed firmly. It's not just the clothes, it actually enhances the wearer's presence. Her companion nodded in eager agreement, spot on, truly expected of the Empire's most prestigious household. Blushing, the young lady asked curiously, I wonder what designer made that? Another girl glanced over and replied, I heard none of the usual high-end tailors got commissioned for this. After observing for a long while, Patrick crossed his arms and remarked, the kid's got a brain on him. Rixel looked over in utter surprise at those words. Flushing with a warm blush, Rixel stammered out, Big brother, did he actually plan ahead this far? The old man paused for a second before curving his lips into a smile. Can't say for sure, but he's always quick-witted, just like someone I know. As Rixel continued pondering with lingering curiosity, Leon's gentle voice rang out across the venue. From here on out, please feel free to enjoy yourselves until tomorrow. Relax and have a wonderful time at the banquet. Once again, thank you all for traveling such a long way to be here. I'll take my leave now. Beaming with a radiant smile, he offered a final parting wish. Hope you all enjoy the party. Thunderous applause echoed throughout the entire hall. The second Leon stepped down from the stage, Rixel beamed with admiration. Big brother, you were amazing. Looking at him with awestruck eyes, Rixel asked, You've been super busy, so how on earth did you find time to write such a great speech? Did you practice in secret? Leon offered an embarrassed chuckle. Nah, I just kept it simple. Thanks for the compliment, though. Gotta hand it to my years of corporate office slave experience back in Korea, he thought smugly. Patrick walked up to them and offered a satisfied nod. Can't deny the bloodline, even without mana or flashy auras, he still carries himself with absolute majesty. Following up with a rare smile of praise, Patrick said, Well done. Leon smiled back warmly, Thank you, Grandpa. Patrick gently suggested, All right then, let's head over and enjoy the banquet ourselves. Tables draped in crimson, tablecloths were piled high with mouth-watering dishes. The melodic strains of a violin ensemble filled the air. Red wine swirled gracefully inside a crystal glass as a voice asked, So Leon. Turning his gaze toward Leon with mild curiosity, Patrick inquired, Have you decided what you're bringing to the labyrinth trial yet? As Leon took a slow sip of his wine, Patrick explained his reasoning. I hear whatever reward you get from the labyrinth depends entirely on the item you bring with you. People who bring spellbooks gain new magical knowledge, while those carrying staves receive new combat spells. For ordinary mages, the outcome is pretty predictable, but since you aren't a mage, it's a complete wildcard. In that case, swirling his wine glass thoughtfully, Leon hesitated before answering, I suppose, I'll bring along a potion I brewed myself. Internal frustration flared up instantly inside Leon. I don't have any magical talent, and right now I don't even have decent gear. Even this 4-star suit was made by Uncle Andrew, and I only added the tie myself. So I might as well bring the absolute best thing I've ever handcrafted with my own hands. Note, paragraph 1302 content was smoothly integrated above. Patrick fell silent in thought for a moment before letting out a soft sigh. Fair enough. That's a good way to look at it. The labyrinth will grant you knowledge suited to your current capabilities anyway. And I have one more question to ask. Do you have any interest in politics or becoming the family head? Without a second thought, Leon gave a firm, definitive answer, no. That instantaneous reply left Patrick slightly flustered. You answered that right away. Sensing that the old man hadn't fully accepted his stance, Leon hurriedly expressed his stance like his pants were on fire. I'm 100% serious. Zero interest at all. That's never gonna happen, Grandpa. Besides, I always figured Rixel would become the next family head anyway. Meanwhile, Rixel looked at his older brother with swelling emotion, Big Brother. Clearing his throat, Patrick turned his attention to his younger grandson. In that case, Rixel, do you swear to cherish your older brother with your life? Rixel immediately placed a hand over his heart and swore a solemn oath. Yes, I swear on the honor of our family and on my very own mana. Expecting a long-winded, dramatic political speech to follow, Patrick instead took a casual sip of wine to clear his throat and muttered with a nod. All right, settled then. Completely ignoring the bewildered looks on his two grandsons' faces, Patrick threw an internal celebration. Never expected the heir succession issue, the thing I was most worried about, to get resolved this fast. Makes me wanna go brag to the whole world. At present, the main rival households threatening Asteria were the royal family and the sword master lineage. Those stray thoughts briefly annoyed Patrick, causing him to glance off into the distance, where the two young successor candidates were sitting down for dinner and chatting. Those old fogies in the royal family are already tearing each other's hair out over their own throne succession mess, so we don't need to worry about them for now. Just as he thought things were settled, Patrick shifted his gaze toward a certain young woman in the distance. The real issue is the Bidentes family. Their bloody purge disguised as a succession ritual only just ended recently. Word is a young girl shouldered all that bloodshed to pull her entire household back from the brink. Who on earth lives in such a barbaric era to let something like that happen? Still, the fact that they're swamped with internal family affairs works to our advantage. But since they're super touchy right now, it's best to avoid crossing paths if we can. Realizing he had drifted off in silence for too long, Patrick cleared his throat and resumed the conversation. Anyway, Leon, I get where you're coming from. Go ahead and live your life however you want as a member of the Asteria family. Smirking playfully as he asked a cheeky question, Leon inquired, and what if I happen to cause some trouble? The old man offered a concise, straightforward reply, go right ahead if you want. However, stretching out his sentence deliberately without getting straight to the point left Leon baffled. However, Patrick flashed a rough, mafia boss grin, if you get hurt, I won't let it slide. Cold sweat poured down Leon's back. I'm pretty sure if I die from causing trouble, Grandpa will beat me straight to the netherworld first. Bowing deeply and rapidly to express his absolute determination, Leon promised, I will live quietly, peacefully, and take very good care of myself. Having finally heard the exact words he wanted, Patrick nodded happily and commanded, good, let's finish our meal. The banquet continued on for a long while. Eventually, Leon stepped away to enjoy a glass of wine by himself, while keeping a watchful eye on the crowd. Thanks to the earlier conversation, he conveniently found himself standing off to the side, giving him some peace and quiet to let his mind wander. Both Grandpa and Rixel are trying way too hard. Dealing with these snobby aristocrats is exhausting. Note, paragraph 1325 content was integrated above. Casually handing his half-finished glass of wine back to a passing waiter while still lost in thought, Leon thought still, I've got my own work to do. Note, paragraph 1327 content was integrated above. For reasons unknown, Alex took the initiative to walk over and strike up a conversation. Greetings, young Master Leon. I've been curious this entire time. Would you mind revealing who designed this magnificent suit? That question instantly triggered Leon's inner business instincts. My very first VIP customer. No matter how loudly he was screaming inside, on the outside he maintained the polished, polite demeanor drilled into him by his etiquette lessons. Of course, absolute. To his utter shock, the moment Leon answered, a swarm of other prospective clients rushed over and chimed in eagerly, Young Master Leon, me too. Count me in. Please share his name with me as well. Staring in bewilderment as a much larger crowd gathered than he had ever anticipated, Leon thought, is this the power of a 4-star item effect? His mouth automatically opened to reel in the noble clientele. Everyone's curious about who crafted this outfit, aren't they? Though I'm a bit hesitant to say. Naturally, that unexpected response left Alex and the others looking baffled. Pardon. Putting on a troubled expression, Leon dropped a juicy piece of gossip. As it turns out, the designer is the illegitimate child of a noble family. Because he also makes clothes for commoners, he was completely blackballed by high society. Predictably, the nobles took the bait almost instantly without an ounce of skepticism. Good grief, in this day and age, people still discriminate against tailors over something like that. Well, the First Prince's faction tends to be pretty rigid about those kinds of things. Hearing the royal faction mentioned in the whispers, Leon paused for a second. Wait a minute. Come to think of it, the second prince is an illegitimate child too, right? Could Uncle Andrew have ended up as collateral damage in the underground war between the two princes? Shaking off the thought, he smoothly switched back to his ultra-polished corporate salesperson persona. Anyway, because of that, I can introduce him to you all, unless that makes you uncomfortable. Before Leon could even finish his sentence, the group of nobles burst into chuckles and waved it off. Not at all, please tell us. We only care about the clothes anyway. Reassured by their eager validation, Leon smiled with confident charm before introducing the mysterious artisan. Since you're all so enthusiastic, it'd be rude of me to keep it a secret. Allow me to introduce him. The tailor who made this outfit is Andrew, and his shop is located in the southern territory of our household. Waiting eagerly for the name, Alex gasped in immediate realization. I knew it. So it really was him. I kept wondering where he disappeared to. Turns out he was under the Asteria family's protection. Before anyone else could chime in, Leon dropped an absolute bombshell right in the middle of the banquet. You'd better hurry if you want to book an appointment. From what I know, there are only about 3 slots left. That revelation left the nobles gasping in alarm. Only 3 slots. Just as Leon prepared to wrap up his sales pitch, Clarentia suddenly made her presence known. Hold on a second. Completely ignoring how the surrounding nobles flinched and backed away from her, she calmly addressed Leon, that tailor. Does he really accept custom orders for any kind of clothing? While everyone else whispered anxiously, what on earth is she planning to order? Probably a stunning dress, right? Leon maintained his friendly customer service smile and replied, of course, Marchioness Clarentia Bidentes, an apparel commission from the Sword Master family. He immediately leaned into the opportunity. If you don't mind, may I ask what kind of attire the Marchioness is looking to commission? Clarentia answered without a moment's hesitation or trace of coyness. I need training gear and comfortable everyday wear. However, her next sentence sent an absolute chill down everyone's spine. My old ones are all completely shredded and unwearable now. The chilling aura radiating from Clarentia made the nobles panic and scramble for the exits in absolute terror. Oh dear, my back is suddenly acting up. Good lord, my head. I forgot to turn off the stove at home. Oh gosh, something urgent just came up. I'll definitely make an appointment next time. Leaving the massive banquet hall practically empty except for Clarentia and Leon, the young man felt a bit awkward. And just like that, they all bolted. Well, considering the rumors that she's the sole survivor of that bloody purge, it's no wonder people are terrified of her. But a customer is a customer, no need to mind stupid rumors. Note, paragraph 1349 content was integrated above. Guided by that pragmatic mindset, Leon calmed down, put his sales face back on and said, since the clothing quantity is quite large, it might take a bit longer than usual. Is that all right with you? Clarentia agreed instantly without missing a beat. That's not a problem at all. Do I need to pay a deposit beforehand? Without needing a single second to think, Leon gave a sensible reply. We can sort out those details after the banquet is over. The moment Clarentia left, Leon couldn't help letting out a sigh of relief, thinking who would have thought it'd end as simply as this. Now then, what's next? He quickly turned around and called out to the people who had fled earlier. The remaining slots were snapped up in the blink of an eye. Would anyone else like to put their name down on the waiting list? Just like that, he successfully reeled in a whole batch of potential customers to sign up for the tailoring service, resulting in a stack of orders almost as thick as a regular notebook. Time slipped away without him noticing, and looking down at his ledger, Leon broke into a bright, beaming smile. Awesome. Master Andrew should be more than satisfied with this many orders. Suddenly, Sylvia appeared out of nowhere and spoke in a soft, gentle tone. Young master, the family head has announced that the trial is ready. Without overthinking it, Leon gave an immediate nod. Got it, I'll be right there. A short while later, Leon stood in blank bewilderment before the door to Patrick's study. Before he could push the door open, Thuris materialized out of nowhere and struck up a conversation. As expected of the proud eldest grandson of the Asteria family, famous for your mastery of magic. You don't look nervous at all, do you? That tone, 3 parts polite concern, 7 parts mocking sarcasm, was grating on his nerves. This guy, he knows full well I can't use magic at all. On the outside, though, Leon forced a friendly smile to play along, but before he could finish his reply, Rixel stepped in to rescue him. Naturally. Why on earth should my older brother be nervous? Rixel's boldness in standing toe-to-toe with an opponent holding a far higher backing left Leon breaking out in cold sweat as he thought, that Rixel. At times like this, he looks exactly like the old man, completely different from how he acts around me. Naturally, the first prince was precisely the type of person Rixel loathed to his core, talented perhaps, but fundamentally a hedonistic freeloader interested only in debauchery. Unwilling to drag things out and lose face, Thuris quickly offered his retreat. If you'll excuse me, I'll return to my seat. Once the 2 princes had departed, Rixel turned to his brother with a worried look. Brother, is the potion you mentioned in here? Safe travels. Leon quickly flashed a bright, cheerful nod, a complete 180 from his earlier flustered demeanor. and replied, yeah, thanks. Slipping the bag over his shoulder, a wave of nostalgia washed over him as he thought, this place holds so many memories. I used to come here and study diligently ever since I was a kid. For someone like me who couldn't awaken any talent, this place was both a sanctuary and a refuge. Rumor had it that the founding family head left a treasure hidden right here after the war against the demons ended. I wonder what kind of item it actually is. Even if they call it a treasure, suddenly, Sylvia handed a sharp dagger straight to Leon. As the young master, he understood its purpose all too well and offered a soft word of thanks. Without wasting a second, he made a small cut across his finger, letting his blood drip directly onto the ground. The array beneath Leon's feet instantly activated, sending continuous tremors rolling through the massive estate, prompting Thuris, who had just stepped down to the main hall, to blurt out in bewilderment, I never expected opening a simple door could cause an earthquake this massive. Meanwhile, completely oblivious to the guests' panic, Leon poured his undivided attention into the strands of spiritual energy weaving outward. They quickly coiled tightly around his waist, and abruptly yanked Leon right into the space behind that door, paying no heed to his frantic panic. The labyrinth library of the Asteria family. Depending on the labyrinth's will, one could clear it without facing any trials at all. However, if an intruder entered with greed and attempted sabotage, it would instantly turn into an inescapable dungeon whose terrifying force could trigger an earthquake powerful enough to shake the entire grand estate like it was about to collapse, sending the visiting princes and everyone else into a frenzy of screams. What on earth is happening? Everyone stay back. At the same time, Leon, who had just opened the library, stared in a daze at the dazzling light rushing toward him after being dragged inside, thinking something's seriously wrong here. The library doesn't normally open like this. What kind of sudden bullshit is this? Upon catching sight of what lay ahead, he shrieked in absolute terror. Because Leon abruptly realized he was being dragged into some bizarre, pitch-black void within the library. Catching a glimpse of Patrick and Rixel's horrified faces twisted his heart with guilt, forcing him to swallow back any sound. Grandpa, Rixel, what the hell is going on here? Time lost all meaning as Leon's body drifted weightlessly through a bizarre, mystical dimension. The system suddenly spat out a lengthy notification, entirely unbothered by whether its host had regained consciousness or not. You have achieved the Labyrinth Library achievement. You have been granted clearance to read every single book in the library. Intelligence increased by 10. Mana permanently increased by 10. A high-purity, refined mana circle has been successfully formed. Back at the banquet, the continuous violent shaking sent guests screaming in sheer terror. The flickering candles swayed wildly in chaotic arcs. Wine glasses lost all stability and crashed to the floor as everyone scrambled frantically to save their own lives. Save me, where is the marquee? Suddenly, the ornate chandelier overhead swung back and forth violently, until the chain connecting it to the ceiling snapped completely. The massive chandelier came plunging straight down in a terrifying freefall. Alex was the only one who spotted it, freezing in slack-jawed horror as she screamed, "The chandelier is falling." Fortunately, before it could crush her, a burst of Patrick's magic cleanly blasted it aside. Escaping death by a hair, Alex collected her wits and stammered, "We're alive." Dubert couldn't help roaring in awe, "That's Lord Patrick's protective barrier, he's shielding us." The chaotic turmoil sweeping through the Grand Asteria estate was brought back under control in a remarkably short span of time. Up on the upper floor, Patrick stood channeling his mana across the entire perimeter. Giving orders with fierce urgency, he commanded, "Rixen, get down to the banquet hall and guide everyone out. I've already erected multiple protective barriers." Rixen hurried to bow and confirm, "Yes, my lord." The moment the servant left, Rixel broke out in panic, "Grandpa, what on earth is going on?" Surveying the ruined landscape around him with a heavy sigh, Patrick muttered, "The labyrinth has gone haywire. I already had Rixen evacuate the guests first. What about the princes?" Shrugging off his usual frivolous demeanor after the terrifying ordeal, Thuris answered with rare seriousness, "They're safe." Rixel deployed a protective spell around them. Hearing that, Patrick finally exhaled a breath of relief. Thank goodness, everyone's safe. Rixel, send healers to tend to the wounded and arrange quarters for the remaining guests. I will guard the labyrinth entrance myself. I'm leaving the rest of the situation in your hands. Saddened with such a monumental responsibility dumped on him out of nowhere, Rixel immediately mirrored a panicked expression. "Wait, that's way too dangerous, grandfather. I'm staying here too." To his dismay, Patrick shot down the objection without a second thought. "No. As the designated heir of this family, you must fulfill your duty." Sensing the suffocating tension gripping the Asteria family, Thuris anxiously chimed in, "Marquis, it's too dangerous. We don't know what state the labyrinth is in right now." Whipping back with his usual stern composure, Patrick retorted, "Do you honestly think a petty little mess like this could put my life in danger? Or perhaps I didn't realize until now just how deeply my honorable guests cared about my well-being." "Rixel, get moving." The old man's refusal to accept any argument left him utterly stunned. With the atmosphere plunging into frost, the two princes hesitantly spoke up, "Right. Brother Leon should be safe. Let's go, I'll lend a hand too." Ignoring the pair entirely, Rixel's mind was consumed by frantic worry. Brother. With that, the three young men hurriedly evacuated the perilous upper level, leaving Patrick behind in solitude, his heart heavy with lingering dread as he gazed toward the library door, thinking the labyrinth's condition is fluctuating wildly. If by some bad stroke of luck Rixel gets dragged into this too. Suddenly, a familiar, melodious voice rang out from behind. To stay behind even in a crisis like this. Catching sight of Clarentia's face, Patrick blurted out, "Head of the Bidentes family. Why on earth did you stay instead of evacuating?" Bypassing his question entirely, she steered the conversation with effortless leisure. "You seem awfully certain that he's still alive, don't you? As if you already knew the outcome beforehand." Patrick offered no reply, but his deeply pensive expression gave Clarentia her answer in absolute silence, prompting her to calmly state something that caught him off guard. "I'll help." Frowning in confusion, Patrick challenged, "On what grounds? It would be far more advantageous for your family if you just left us to deal with this." Clarentia paused for a few seconds before offering a logically sound excuse. "Well, I just placed a custom suit order with him, you know. I'd hate for my plans to get ruined. In that case, I'll wait nearby." The moment Clarentia stepped away, Sylvia materialized right behind Patrick. Observing quietly, she remarked, "That child's sharpness is truly extraordinary." Forcing himself to nod despite his reluctance, Patrick admitted, "Indeed." Sylvia erected barriers around the perimeter of the labyrinth. An order given was an order followed. She dipped her head, "Yes, my lord." While Sylvia busied herself weaving a dense barrier of magical energy, Patrick lowered his voice to issue a strict warning. "Under no circumstances is this matter to leak outside. From now on, our top priority is restoring the outer areas surrounding the labyrinth. That way, at least Leon will have a path out." Meanwhile, entirely oblivious to the chaos unfolding outside, Leon lounged comfortably, soaking in the surrounding fresh air. The breathtaking natural scenery put him in such a fantastic mood that he began humming a self-composed tune. The melodic chirping of birds blending with the gentle whisper of the wind brought a natural smile to Leon's face. Suddenly, he spotted the familiar system notification. "You have achieved the Labyrinth Library achievement." Mumbling to himself in frustration, he complained, "This is going to give me a headache. Seeing this achievement pop up means I've somehow cleared the labyrinth. But I haven't the faintest idea what the hell I did to clear it." Snapping upright to clear his head, Leon grumbled in annoyance while rummaging through his memories of the game. This is supposed to be the reward zone. Since the labyrinth's been beaten, this place should be safe, right? So how the hell do I claim the reward? In the game, you literally just click on it. Finding himself forced into a passive role drove Leon up the wall, meaning the original Leon wandered in and out of this place without running into any obstacles whatsoever. Is the only thing that's changed since then my mana pool? Nah, probably not. It only went up by a little over 10 points. If it were just about mana volume, my relatives would treat this place like their own living room. Besides, if anyone could waltz in this easily, Grandpa wouldn't have bothered hiding his treasure here. Could it be linked to the fact that I'm possessing this body? This fresh line of thought gave Leon a glimmer of hope, sparking a brand new deduction for his vague master plan. Come to think of it, Grandpa mentioned that the founding family had hid a treasure here 500 years ago after finishing the war against the demons alongside the hero. And that hero vanished without a single trace the moment the war ended. Coming to a sudden halt at that thought, Leon muttered, "The labyrinth got solved the exact second I stepped foot inside." Unlike the original Leon who frequented the library all the time, this was my very first visit since possessing this body. What if the labyrinth didn't recognize me as Leon Asteria, but as someone else entirely? It sounded completely absurd, yet the war with the demons was the core setting of the game, where the player stepped into the role of the hero to fight the demons and save the world. If the treasure hidden here by the founder happened to belong to the hero, wait, does that mean this is my character's item? Sitting on the grass with his chin propped in his hand, Leon glanced around thoughtfully. If the hero's hidden treasure is the item I used to own, the system should have flagged it as legacy loot ready for retrieval. Standing up slowly, he declared with firm resolve, "Either way, I can't stay stuck here forever. With just a single mana circle, I can't even touch tier 4 magic or higher, so my only option is to brute force my way through." Taking steady steps forward, Leon thought, "There's definitely a way out. Even though my level is low, His stride suddenly came to a halt. It seemed he had caught onto something. Glancing down at the white flowers blooming beneath his feet, he recalled the entry on rare white flora. These flowers never grow alongside other species and are typically cultivated for ornamental purposes. Reading the description, he raised an eyebrow and muttered, looking closely, "They're planted in a strict pattern." It looked as though the entire map followed a specific order. Beside the pure white flowers were patches of ordinary purple grass, which also grew in isolated clusters rather than mixing with the rest. Surveying the flower field, Leon analyzed thoughtfully, every zone only has one type of plant. But if they're all jumbled up like this, crossing his arms with a confident grin, he deduced, this area has been sectioned off, and these plants are artificially arranged. There has to be one specific zone planted against the rules, the spot holding the key to getting out. And the most abnormal location is. Spotting what lay ahead, Leon's jaw dropped in sheer astonishment. Beaming triumphantly, he chuckled. So the spot where plants that shouldn't naturally grow together are clustered is right here. Closing his eyes gently, a powerful surge of deep blue energy radiated around him as he murmured inwardly, I'll close my eyes and listen to my own heartbeat, letting my consciousness sink into my body and sync with that rhythm. A magic circle materialized right before his chest. Feeling it form, Leon smiled in amusement, a mana circle, huh? Fascinating. Right on cue, the system confirmed the successful location mapping of the mana circle, unlocking its data for him to view. Closing his eyes once more, Leon coached himself, all right, Leon, focus. Try channeling your mana straight into your eyes. A powerful surge of energy swelled up and he snapped his eyes wide open. Support skill Witch's Eyes activated. Duration 10 minutes. Catching sight of the red dots scattered across the flower field, Leon nearly jumped out of his skin. Holy crap, that was close. Nearly all the spots where three types of plants overlap are rigged traps. Shifting his gaze to another cluster of flowers, he noted, either there's zero mana thread, or that area is rigged to detonate magic if triggered incorrectly. Not this one. Sweeping his gaze across the area with a bright smile, he decided, I'll need to venture a bit further out. The scenery shifted to show him walking across the flower field, hazy wisps of blue magical energy swirling through the air. Marching forward, Leon suddenly stopped in his tracks. At that exact moment, the system chimed to announce that the Witch's Eye skill had been supercharged, revealing the hidden zone name. Pinpointing the exact source of those illusory mana threads, he beamed with triumph, found it. Dropping to one knee before the energy source, Leon debated, should I dig down and check it out? Opening the system store with eager anticipation, he thought, if that's the case, I need something to sever this mana thread. Let's check the shilling shop. Since Leon's balance had crossed 100,000 shillings, the entire catalog unlocked. His membership tier had upgraded to bronze. Gasping in shock, Leon muttered, everything's unlocked and there's even a brand new page. Swiping across the system interface with an arched brow, he muttered, survival category. Since that's what I need most right now, I'll check this section first. Staring at the item displayed before him, Leon blurted out in disbelief, no way, wait, condition, high wear and tier resulting in low success rate. Success rate 20%. Remaining uses 1. Reading through the stats, he threw his hands on his hips in rage. What kind of garbage is this? Is this a scam? Leaving aside the ridiculous price tags, I can't even use any of this crap. Talk about overkill. At that moment, the system suggested applying a filter. Leon's eyes lit up with joy. Awesome, it actually has a filter function. Excitedly inputting his parameters, he requested, show me everything under 120,000 shillings, sorted from cheapest to most expensive, including discounted items. The system instantly loaded the results with a chime. Satisfied with the responsive interface, Leon nodded. Nice, that makes filtering way easier. But looking at the screen left him slightly disappointed. Most of this stuff won't do me any good right now. Pausing to weigh his options between a magic detector and a pair of sharp shears, he analyzed, these two seem like the best bets. The magic detector was tempting, but way too expensive. The shears were definitely the more practical choice right now. With my current skill level, I couldn't break through illusion magic even with a detector anyway. Gritting his teeth, Leon made his choice and tapped to purchase. I'm buying this one. The system instantly flashed a notification confirming the sharp shears were permanently bound to him. Chuckling wryly, Leon shook his head. I spent ages grinding shillings ever since I got here, only to blow them all in a split second. At least I like the sound of that permanent binding perk. Hopefully this does the trick. Fired up, Leon declared, now, time to dig up the source of that mana thread. Pulling out a shovel, he boasted proudly, all those grueling hours of crafting and gathering are finally paying off. Digging is a walk in the park now. Wielding the shovel, Leon immediately got to work, slamming the tool into the ground with steady, rhythmic strikes. The system warned that the Witch's Eye skill had 1 minute remaining, prompting him to gasp, it's been that long already. Wait. Right as the thought crossed his mind, the tip of the shovel struck something hard with a sharp, piercing metallic clang. Wide-eyed with shock, Leon gasped, there it is. Unable to contain his excitement, he dropped the shovel and started digging with his bare hands. Hurry. Gripping the treasure chest buried underground that was pulsing with raw energy, he hoisted the chest up, grinning like a kid on Christmas. It looked straight out of a video game loot drop. The system started a 10-second countdown. Snipping the mana threads frantically with his shears, Leon snapped back, I know, I know. Right as the countdown hit 7 seconds, the sharp blade cleanly severed the final thread. The supercharged witch's eyes skill expired. Staring expectantly at the golden glowing chest, he cheered, it actually worked. When the system prompted whether he wished to claim the reward, Leon didn't hesitate for a second. Hell yeah. Item bound to host and stored in inventory. Item cannot be identified locally. Beaming as he watched the glowing light fade, he chuckled, binding to me proves this belongs to my character. Puzzled, Leon tilted his head, but what the hell is it if it can't even be identified here? The system chimed in to announce that because a related item had been collected, Leon was being forced into story mode. Mandatory lore cutscene incoming. Breaking out in a cold sweat, Leon panicked. Staring in absolute disbelief, he shrieked, hold on, what the hell is story mode? What's going on? The view shifted to display a grand, ornately decorated door. Patrick and Rixel stood before it, the atmosphere heavy with tension. Narrowing his eyes, Patrick broke the silence with a stern query, Rixel, I trust the fallout from the public rumor mill has been handled properly. The younger mage gave an honest report, yes, my lord, we blamed the chaos on an earthquake. There are no signs of any other incidents. Breaking out in a nervous sweat, Rixel hurriedly added, I also secured a cooperative pledge from the two princes regarding this matter. And the head of the Swordmaster Bidenti's family has given his word that no groundless rumors will spread. Nodding in approval, Patrick thought good. That keeps the rumors from leaking into the royal court and high nobility. Who would have thought the first prince's incompetence would actually come in handy for once? Pressing further with a grave tone, Patrick asked, what about the temple and the underworld? Breaking out in another cold sweat, Rixel answered, we moved on both fronts before any information could leak. At the very least, my brother's whereabouts remain completely unknown. Frowning deeply, Patrick praised, good job. Reassuring himself inwardly, no matter what happens, that information must never reach those two factions. The temple and the underworld. One harbored a high archbishop utterly obsessed with anything related to the hero, while the other was founded by one of the hero's former comrades, having since grown into a massive underworld empire. His thoughts flickered simultaneously. Unlike others, those two places possessed enough intellect to uncover the core truth, and if not careful, they might realize that Leon wielded a special power. And in reality, Leon was indeed connected to the hero. The first piece of evidence was the hero's potion. The second piece was what was happening right now. The trouble began the exact moment Leon stepped into the labyrinth, the sanctuary housing the hero's treasures, where something definitely existed that even Leon himself knew nothing about. Until we figure out what that is, the information must be kept in absolute secrecy. Suddenly, a loud noise rang out, startling both Patrick and Rixel into looking in the same direction. The surrounding space shook violently, and right at that moment, someone panicked and screamed, the labyrinth is shifting. Patrick immediately raised an eyebrow and signaled, everyone get ready to brace yourselves. With a guarded and hesitant tone, he added, I can sense a massive power bursting out from within. Watching the light emerge on the door, Rixel asked in bewilderment, something's crawling out. Suddenly, an object flew out and struck Patrick squarely on the forehead, to Rixel's utter astonishment. Patrick tried to suppress his rising anger until his whole body shook from the impact, while Rixel picked up the object with cautious confusion. This is. Looking closer at the flying object, he exclaimed in surprise, a letter. After glancing over the handwriting on the paper, Rixel asserted with certainty, though it looks like it was written in a rush, this is definitely my big brother's handwriting. There's no blood or sign of damage anywhere. Patrick grew slightly curious, breaking into a nervous sweat as he asked, what does it say? With a pale face, the younger brother looked up and squeaked, Right on cue, the system announced that Leon had successfully accessed the storyline. After being knocked out for a moment, Leon gradually regained consciousness, pushing himself up while clutching his head. My head is killing me. Did I trigger a storyline cutscene? Before him played a brief character lore sequence prompting Leon to deduce. Judging by the title, this must be someone's memory. An unidentifiable man whose face remained blurred held out a small chest, smiling as he offered, I don't need this anymore, so Patrick, handle this for me. Hearing the familiar name, Leon realized with a start, Patrick. This is the memory of the day my grandfather received an item from the hero. The voices in the memory echoed one after another. Not yet, we haven't finished everything. Why right now? Someday when it's needed. Covered in sweat and clutching his head in panic, Leon cursed internally, damn it, such crucial info and I couldn't hear a word clearly. And why is the camera angle like this? I should have been more careful during character creation. I used random settings so now I can't even remember what that was. Patrick accepted the chest in the memory and declared sternly, understood, I'll take charge of keeping it safe. Right then, the system notified him that he had observed a stored memory, bringing the storyline sequence to a close. Starring in blank confusion, Leon blurted out, wait, what? It's already over. Breaking out in a cold sweat and wincing, Leon complained, I thought I was going to see something super important, but I didn't harvest any useful info at all. Staring down at the small treasure chest in his hands, he muttered thoughtfully. Judging by the timing, this must have been back when the war against the demons was still ongoing. Looks like that person left it with my grandfather to use for a rainy day. Inside the chest lay sparkling, radiant pieces of jewelry. Leon looked at them with lingering suspicion. Could this be the accessory set that hides skills? Slipping the bracelet onto his wrist, Leon raised an eyebrow and mused. To be fair, this item wasn't that hard to come by in the game, only people trying to hide their power wore it. But in reality, it's a supportive tool used for grinding extra EXP. I used to equip one on every single character just to farm extra experience points. Anyway, I have no idea which character in my account this belonged to, but whoever it was probably left it behind because they didn't need it anymore. Plus, it showed up right when I needed to mask my mana, so I should probably be thankful. Closing his eyes, he received a system prompt asking if he wanted to check the status of his mana circuits. Without a moment's hesitation, Leon answered firmly, yes. After analyzing the data, the system reported that his current residual mana pool was extremely low. Leon blinked in surprise. That's weird. Can my very first mana circuit really hold this much? A man appeared in his mind's eye, folding his hands together to concentrate his mana, while Leon pondered internally. Everyone else has to train and meditate day and night just to expand their mana reservoir before they can even dream of forming a second or third circuit. Staring at the sight, Leon wondered with mild bewilderment, why is my first circuit so absurdly large? Wearing an expression of anxious perplexity, Leon ultimately shrugged off the doubt with a carefree mindset. Whatever, as long as it benefits me, that's all that matters. Rising to his feet, he muttered, anyway, thanks to this item, my secret won't get exposed. Even if it's just event gear, it counts as a high-tier treasure around here. Total jackpot. Looks like I'm in for an unforgettable coming-of-age ceremony. Suddenly lifting his head, Leon broke out in a cold sweat and thought, now the real problem is. Darting his gaze around the area, he chuckled wryly to himself. I'm still trapped inside the labyrinth. Ringing through the quiet space, Leon's voice echoed, first off, I need to move and find a way out. Right as he said that, his foot accidentally kicked against a book lying on the ground. Instantly, the system flashed a warning, access denied. You cannot access this without the permission of the library's owner. But the next second it updated to recognize him as the rightful owner of the place. Staring in blank shock, Leon stammered, I'm the owner now. Tugging a worried face, Leon muttered, must be because I cleared the labyrinth. This wasn't part of the plan. A text prompt scrolled across the screen. The labyrinth entrance is damaged and undergoing automated repairs. The system then asked if he wanted to teleport straight to the endpoint. Startled by the notification, Leon complained, what the hell? The interior got trashed and now even the entrance is broken if I leave things like this. Breaking out in a cold sweat and turning pale, Leon panicked. Grandpa is definitely going to chew me out. I do not want to get chewed out. What do I do? An image of Patrick's furious, enraged face flashed in his mind, accompanied by a roaring scold, you idiot. I told you to do whatever you wanted, but I didn't expect you to cause a catastrophe like this. Blinking in sudden realization, Leon wondered, wait a minute. If I'm the owner, can I fix this myself? The system offered a suggestion to repair the labyrinth. If you proceed, bound items will be reset to their original locations. Leon rejected it flat out. If I do that, the items I just looted will disappear, and the whole mountain of books I accumulated since building this place will vanish too. No way. Curious, he asked, is there any other way? The system offered an alternative solution, manually adjust and repair the labyrinth. Repair resources for the entrance will be dispatched, but it will take time to complete. Nodding thoughtfully, Leon mumbled, feels a bit like restoring a save file. The last time I added books to the labyrinth was a week ago. Aside from the treasures I'm holding onto, I'll just restore it to how it was a week ago. Eagerly, he asked, how long is it going to take? The system replied that it would take 672 hours. During which he wouldn't be able to leave the area either. Frowning in disbelief, Leon stammered, how many hours did you say? Staring at the number 672 glowing on the screen, Leon shrieked in horror. That means a whole month. Breaking out in a frantic sweat, he asked nervously, can I at least walk around inside the labyrinth during that time? The system confirmed that he had free roam of the library interior. Pushing further, Leon asked, is there any way to send a message outside while repairs are underway? The system pointed out an unused book delivery tube. Beaming with relief, Leon cheered, perfect. First things first, I should send a note to Grandpa and Rixel so they don't worry. Sweating profusely, he nodded resolutely, all right. Fixing a stern expression, Leon commanded, start the repairs. The system immediately initiated the process. Magical energy lifted stacks of books. sending them fluttering gracefully through midair. Even the toppled ladder and wooden stools scattered across the floor began shifting on their own. The entire interior of the library seemed to hum and shift dynamically. The system simultaneously displayed the countdown, 671 hours and 59 minutes remaining until labyrinth restoration is complete. Placing his hands on his hips with a satisfied grin, Leon muttered, all right, all right. Now can you drop me off at the end of the labyrinth? A swirling spatial gateway instantly materialized before him. Starring in awe, Leon remarked, now that's a super convenient feature. Calming down, Leon murmured, guess I just need to focus on surviving here for a month. Right as he thought that, something caught his eye. Gazing over at a crystal-clear blue lake, he gasped in excitement. Could that be it? A lake. Leon's reflection shimmered across the rippling surface of the water. Stepping closer to the shoreline, he marveled, never expected to find a massive lake hidden inside the labyrinth. Thankfully, it doesn't look dangerous. Just as Leon was kicking back to relax, a warning message popped up. The lake contains bilateral aquatic lifeforms and decapod crustaceans. Wincing, Leon pleaded, can you explain that in plain English? The system helpfully simplified, there are plenty of edible fish and crustaceans. If you fish, you can catch anything from common to rare grades. Promptly inquiring, Leon asked, how many rare grade fish are in here? The system replied, only one. Right on cue, the system announced that the lake's fishing function had been unlocked thanks to his owner privileges. Staring blankly, Leon muttered, I can catch them, but I don't even have a fishing rod. Oh wait. A fishing float bobbed gently atop the crystal-clear water, accompanied by his humming. Sitting by the edge of the lake with a fishing rod in hand, Leon chuckled cheerfully to himself. Thank goodness I grabbed fishing gear from the shilling shop, even though it cost me a pretty penny. I honestly thought I'd have to resort to chewing on the bait if things got desperate, but I actually managed to catch a few fish. Whistling a carefree tune and breaking into a grin, he thought, looks like I'm not gonna starve to death after all. Suddenly, the fishing float jerked violently downward, making Leon shriek in surprise. Sweating slightly, he asserted with certainty, this one's completely different from the small fries I've been catching. The fishing line pulled taut, groaning under the strain. Starring in pure fascination, Leon marveled, this one's got some serious muscle. Is it a giant fish? Bracing both hands firmly around the rod, he calmly coached himself, easy now, don't rush it. The purple-scaled head of a large fish broke the surface of the water. Gritting his teeth, Leon growled, get up here. Jerking the rod upward with all his might, he cheered triumphantly, gotcha. Right on cue, the system chimed, you have caught a labyrinth carp. A detailed info window popped up, labyrinth carp. No fine bones, zero muddy odor, exceptional flavor. Staring at the massive fish, Leon beamed with delight, that thing is huge. Stretching his sturdy arms with a relaxed expression, Leon mused, reeling in a catch feels amazing. No wonder people get so hooked on fishing. The system flashed an enthusiastic notification in response to his newly awakened enthusiasm. You have unlocked a new talent, fishing. Fishing proficiency has reached level 1. Dropping the labyrinth carp into his basket, Leon hyped himself up. Awesome. Tonight's dinner is going to be carp. A nutritious fish is exactly what this frail body needs right now. Standing up and carrying his catch across a meadow full of blooming flowers and lush green grass, he pondered, first, I should set up a cooking spot. Various necessary items materialized around him one by one, tables, chairs, a frying pan, and other household utensils. Placing the labyrinth carp onto the table, Leon browsed his system inventory for cooking supplies. I put these away earlier so Rixel wouldn't catch a cold out in the forest, but looks like I can repurpose them now. I'll grab the alchemical kit too. Hesitating as he scrolled through the interface, Leon gasped, huh, what's this? The system quickly explained, that's a magical flintstone designed to make starting fires effortless. Remembering it, Leon smiled in relief, a freebie bonus. With this, starting a campfire will be a breeze. Tapping the screen to select it, a tiny flame instantly sparked to life atop the flintstone. Standing before the crackling fire with his hands on his hips, Leon sighed happily. Having a fire makes this place feel so much cozier. Instantly gives me a sense of security. Turning back toward the table, he straightened his sleeves and muttered, all right, time to prep the carp. Skillfully running a blade across the fish with practiced fluidity, he remarked, when you're dining outdoors, grilling it over an open flame is always the best way to go. The internal organs of the labyrinth carp were neatly removed. At the same time, a system description popped up. Internal organs are inedible and can be utilized for alchemy. Surprised yet intrigued, Leon muttered, can be used for alchemy, huh? Snatching up the organs, he decided, guess I'll toss these into the alchemical flask. Wiping his hands, he glanced over at the flask bubbling away nearby and wondered, is it because of the alchemical ingredients? It started heating up the second I dropped them in. Super convenient. Fantasizing about delicious food while prepping, Leon drooped slightly. Skewered dishes are genuinely magical. Feels like anything you put on a skewer instantly tastes twice as good. Or is it just me? Inspecting the raw skewers on the table, he mumbled. When skewering fish, you gotta point the head downward so the excess fat drains out properly. Picturing the carp inside his stomach, he continued daydreaming, while keeping all the juicy moisture locked inside, making the outside super crispy and the inside tender. Following his instincts, Leon finished stringing up the fish and vegetable skewers, cheering, "Nailed it. The rustic grilled labyrinth carp is ready to go." Suddenly standing up and glancing over at the neatly stacked supplies near the tree trunk, he considered, while waiting for the fish to cook, should I set up a sleeping area? Acting on the thought, Leon quickly cleared away a few pebbles, muttering, "A bit rocky but." Laying out his bedding with an excited grin, he encouraged himself. Who knows when I'll ever get an experience like this again? If you want romance, you gotta put in a little effort. Admiring his handiwork once everything was set up, Leon smiled. Not bad at all. Right on cue, a rich aroma wafted through the air, making him whip his head around with a gasp. Oh, perfect timing. Leon happily took a seat on his personal chair. His eyes shone with eager anticipation as he stared at the skewer in his hand. The system offered a gentle reminder. Eating grilled labyrinth carp grants a low satiety boost. But what caught Leon's attention was the final warning line. Caution, item cannot be taken outside the labyrinth. Starring with his jaw dropped, Leon deadpanned. First time I've ever seen that kind of warning tag. Does that mean this is exclusive high-end labyrinth luxury food? Shrugging it off with a grin, he brought the fragrant fish to his mouth. Whatever, bon appetit. Nibbling away while making mental notes, he praised. The outer skin is golden and crispy like deep-fried food thanks to the rendered fat, while the meat between the belly cuts is unbelievably tender. Above all, the savory, smoky aroma characteristic of grilled fish was an absolute appetizer for the senses. Tearing up with emotional fulfillment, Leon sighed. This flavor makes me wish I had a bowl of hot steamed rice and some kimchi right now. Purring like a content kitten, he kept eating. I heard carp usually has a terrible muddy taste, but the labyrinth carp has practically no odor and very few fine bones. Absolutely divine. I seriously want someone else to taste this. Suddenly, a system prompt popped up, making Leon do a double take. What? My maximum mana capacity just went up. Staring at the growing mana circuit floating before him, he shook his head in sheer disbelief. No way, that's impossible. A gorgeous blue hue radiated from the expanding circuit as he stammered. My mana pool actually expanded, just from eating. Frowning in shock, he thought if mages found out about this, they'd probably fish this lake completely dry. Wonder if this works on Rixel too. I gotta let him try some next time. Glancing suspiciously over at the strange alchemical flask, Leon stood up, peered inside, and muttered, "Let's see here." A pink gem emerged from the flask, leaving Leon blinking in bewilderment. What's this? The system informed him, labyrinth carp essence, capable of restoring mana. Picking up the pink gem to inspect it closely, Leon muttered, first time something actually spawned in my brewing station. Is there some sort of hidden synergy effect? Shaking off the thought with a sly smirk, Leon's expression softened into a knowing grin. Tapping the system interface, he chuckled, man, this is getting interesting. Plus, with everything going on lately, I haven't had a chance to really dive into alchemy, have I? Best stash this away for now. Surveying the system interface with satisfaction, Leon thought, I've been harvesting every herb I stumbled across these past few weeks, so I've got plenty stocked up. In the distance, a pair of little mushrooms sprouted up, prompting him to remark. Plus, there's endless raw materials scattered all over this labyrinth, mana flows everywhere, and nobody's around to bother me. Breaking into a gentle smile as he looked around, Leon murmured, come to think of it. Standing amidst the dreamy landscape of blooming flowers and lush greenery, he declared with absolute conviction, isn't this place practically my own private, high-speed leveling zone? Spreading across his face was a hungry grin as he rubbed his hands together greedily. Nice. Looks like the depths of this labyrinth have way more to offer than I initially thought. Across the quiet night sky, shooting stars streaked silently past, weaving a peaceful, breathtaking scenery. Remembering something, Leon chuckled. First things first, gotta finish eating this grilled carp. The morning sun began casting its warm glow across the landscape, marking yet another day of survival in the labyrinth for Leon. Each passing day felt peacefully surreal. Today, Leon continued his leveling journey with some sweet-tasting labyrinth crawfish. Cheering, managed to catch 3 of these today. Lifting them up with sparkling, excited eyes, he mused, am I actually getting lucky? Tossing them ashore for the system to store, Leon muttered thoughtfully, still got some flour left over from when I baked cookies earlier. Should I make a crawfish chowder? Walking barefoot along the dew-kissed grass and soaking in the serene atmosphere, he reflected, I'm actually starting to get used to living in this labyrinth. Strolling along, Leon mused, every morning starts with checking the fish traps I set the night before, then inspecting the crops growing near the edge of the forest. Staring down at the tiny tubers beneath the dirt, he smiled. The sweet potatoes are growing really well too. Squatting down with his shovel, he muttered, all right. Free to harvest whatever he fancied today, Leon happily gathered labyrinth chili peppers, baby labyrinth mushrooms, and labyrinth garland chrysanthemums. Holding the garland chrysanthemums in his hand with an excited grin, he marveled, first time I've ever seen garland chrysanthemums around here. Pretty. Leon's eyes widened in profound awe as he thought, this would probably fit right in if I placed it near the campsite. The system interface displayed a selling price of 300 shilling, leaving him utterly bewildered. What? An item like this can actually be sold. Staring dazed at the system's description with mounting skepticism, Leon mused, there's never been a notification like this before. Does the shilling shop double as a marketplace counter now? Holding the bundle of crown daisies in a daze, he wondered aloud, can I sell this right now? But the price on the screen suddenly dropped, causing Leon to frown in frustration. What the heck? The selling price was 300 shilling just a second ago. Why did it go down? Are you trying to haggle with me right now? Noticing his expression, the system immediately popped up a notification. Value is calculated in real time. This prompted Leon to sneer derisively, so that's how it is. Raising a hand to his mouth and closing his eyes in deep thought, he analyzed, looks like I can only sell 1-star items for now, and the item description has to include the price as well. That means if I want a fair payout, I'm going to have to actively negotiate. Suddenly, large question marks materialized across the screen. Thinking it over with a sly glint in his eye, Leon held up the bunch of crown daisies to make his pitch. Look closely. If you dry these crown daisies and brew them into tea, they're fantastic for your health. It's no exaggeration to say they double as an alchemical ingredient and anyone can brew them easily. Doesn't that make them way more valuable? So I reckon it's worth a lot more than what you're offering right now. Hearing this, the system seemed enlightened as it began to evaluate valid point. Adjusting selling price. A newly calculated value of 280 shilling popped up, leaving Leon dumbfounded. Frowning in bitter agony, he complained, I just fed you brand new market data, and you only bumped the price up by a tiny bit while still slapping me with a commission fee. Talk about being a cheapskate. The system serenely displayed a line of text. Commission fees are mandatory under shilling shop regulations. Letting out an exasperated sigh, Leon conceded, oh well, if it's the rules, I suppose there's no arguing with it. But then a gentle notification appeared. The shilling shop always listens to customer feedback. The system subsequently proposed a revised price of 300 shilling alongside options for yes and no, leaving Leon thrilled as he thought, turns out it's not entirely rigid after all. That means if I can talk my way through it, I can sell things for a higher price. Plotting slyly in his head, Leon concluded, without knowledge, you just get ripped off and underpaid. But from now on, I can keep learning, and I'm definitely going to squeeze the highest possible price out of everything. Outwardly, though, he flashed a bright, accommodating smile and said, deal, I accept. The moment he spoke, the shilling shop announced the item had been successfully sold for 300 shilling, instantly spitting out a money pouch that he eagerly snatched up. Payment processed instantly. Awesome. Without missing a beat, Leon turned back to grill the system. Can I sell processed or cooked items? The shilling shop promptly confirmed affirmative. However, there are currently no eligible items available in your inventory. It issued a supplemental warning. Counterfeit or defective items cannot be sold. Hands on his hips, Leon retorted with an encouraging nod, so what you're saying is if I want to sell something, I just have to prep a fresh batch and do it properly, right? Understood. As the store interface faded away, Leon relaxed with a content sigh. Today has been an amazingly productive day. Stretching his body comfortably, he declared, I've gathered all the ingredients from the forest, time to whip up something good to eat. With that, Leon turned back and laid out all his acquired ingredients on the table, as the system chimed in with a recipe for a spicy, aromatic dish. Ignoring the notification entirely, Leon picked up a reddish ingredient and beamed with delight. So this is what peppercorns look like. And they're whole peppercorns too. Absolutely fantastic. Without wasting any time, Leon tossed the ingredients into the pot one by one while narrating. All right, first we drop the meat and spicy fruit into boiling water, followed by the cleaned crawfish heads and legs to build the broth base. While that simmered, he nimbly handled the rest of the prep work, explaining, once the flour and water are kneaded into a nice, pliable dough, I slam it against the workbench to build up its elasticity and let it rest for a bit. While waiting, I'll prep the tender mushrooms and let them simmer thoroughly. Enjoying every step of the cooking process, Leon gently slipped the crawfish bodies into the pot and muttered, and then adding the crawfish tails turns this into an unimaginably delicious seafood soup. Stirring the mixture steadily, he beamed with mounting anticipation, it smells incredible. Next, pinching off pieces of the dough while giving instructions, he continued, once the broth has absorbed all the flavors, I take the rested dough, tear it into thin little pieces and drop them straight in, gently lifting up a handful of small leaves. He added excitedly, finally, toss in a generous handful of maize crown daisies and let it simmer just a little longer. A pot brimming with colorful, intensely fragrant soup materialized before him. Cheering triumphantly, Leon announced, "All done, dig in." The broth boasted a rich, perfectly blended seafood flavor profile. Scooping up a spoonful to taste, he murmured, "Let's try the broth first." Leon showered the dish with endless praise. "This broth is ridiculously good." The piping hot soup instantly washes away any lingering greasiness. A particular favorite suddenly crossed his mind. What about a batch of sujibai, hand-pulled dough soup? Leon envisioned the entire culinary symphony coming together piece by piece. The uneven thickness of the hand-torn dough pieces gives each bite a unique texture, while the mushrooms and crown daisies scattered throughout create a delightful contrast in every chew. The natural sweetness of the vegetables harmonized seamlessly with the broth to introduce an entirely new layer of flavor. Lost in thought, Leon blurted out, "Familiar flavors like this are honestly dangerously delicious." Scooping up another spoonful featuring a chunk of meat, he said, "Let's check out the crawfish meat." The moment it hit his tongue, Leon felt his taste buds explode, sending his mind drifting away on clouds of pure ecstasy as he praised, "It's so sweet." The texture is firm and springy, just like blue crab, but the meat carried that distinctive, rich sweetness unique to blue crab. Realization dawning on him, Leon chuckled, "No wonder the broth tasted so amazing. It was thanks to the blue crab." Dipping his spoon in for the next bite, he scooped up a piece of crawfish, a piece of sujibai, and washed it down with a sip of broth. Opening his mouth wide to savor another mouthful of this culinary masterpiece, Leon transformed into an absolute food critic, thinking, "Whenever things start feeling a bit heavy, I just bite into a crown daisy to clear my palate. This combination means I could literally eat this forever without getting tired of it." Before long, the pot was scraped clean down to the last drop. Slumping back with a relaxed breath, Leon sighed and marveled, "That was seriously beyond delicious. My sugar levels are fully replenished." Unwinding beneath the shade of a tree to rest after a fiercely successful harvest, Leon suddenly snapped himself awake, muttering, "No sleeping. Get up, I need to gather firewood before the sun goes down." Surveying his surroundings, he mused, "I think I spotted a suitable tree nearby." Standing before a tree with his arms crossed, Leon appraised it critically. This one will do nicely." System description: a tree with sparse branches, soft fragrant wood, and natural waterproof properties. After a brief calculation, Leon decided to purchase some tools, thinking, "I'll try crafting a few utilities. If I manage to make something of decent quality, I'll sell it at the shilling shop." Brandishing his new tools with a triumphant grin, he cheered, "I've managed to save up some shillings for today." Wielding the axe enthusiastically, he recited the item info: "Basic woodworking kit for beginners, crafted by a master carpenter for novices. Does not include high-end gear but gets the job done." The system highlighted a V-shaped notch on the tree trunk where he needed to chop. Following the prompt, Leon swung the axe with fluid precision. In a matter of moments, the thick trunk came crashing down. Leon cheered happily, "Nailed it." The system chimed in to log the acquisition of maize wood logs in various sizes from small to large. Wiping the sweat from his brow with sparkling, delighted eyes, he muttered, "Getting this much material out of just one small tree is fantastic." Hesitating for a moment, he debated, "Should I saw up the rest and haul it back?" Wait, something caught his eye as he paused mid-thought. "Huh." Squinting through the haze, Leon asked, "What's that? Is there something over there?" Padding forward on bare feet, Leon froze in absolute shock before a small cottage, gasping, "Good grief. There's actually a cabin hidden in a place like this." Peering curiously through the window pane, he remarked, "At a glance, it looks completely ordinary." Pondering skeptically, "Can I actually use this? Inside, there's just some basic furniture and a bed." Senses tuned to his hesitation, the system immediately chimed in. "By virtue of the Labyrinth Master's privileges, you are granted permission to use this dwelling." Leon brightened up immediately. "Well, what do you know? This is still miles better than having to sleep out in the open for an entire month." A sudden wave of doubt washed over him. "Wait a minute." Turning to question the system, "Can I relocate this cabin over to my main campsite?" Affirmative. Leon pumped his fist in victory. "Fantastic. That means surviving in this labyrinth for the next month just got a whole lot easier." The system prompted, "Would you like to execute relocation immediately?" Scrambling backward in a hurry, Leon waved his hands. "No, wait a second." Sprinting back to his familiar clearing, he muttered, "Now that I've got a proper house lined up, I need to craft a few more tools and clear out a spot at the main camp before dropping the cabin in." With his signature agility, Leon cleared the area in record time. Resting his hands on his hips with a relaxed stance, he gestured, "All right, drop it right here." The system issued a warning that installation would take a moment and generate considerable noise, making Leon hesitate for a second. Stroking his chin in curiosity, he wondered, how is it even going to move? Since this is a labyrinth, it'll probably use magic for a summit. A massive shadow suddenly loomed overhead, startling Leon out of his wits. Whoa. Glancing upward with a face twisted in sheer terror, he stammered, "Don't tell me." The cabin was dropped unceremoniously straight onto the ground, sending violent shockwaves rippling through everything nearby. The system chimed, "Cabin installation complete." Starring in slack-jawed shock at the floating cabin, he had never imagined relocating an entire house by making it fly, and the sheer absurdity of the experience genuinely terrified him. Yet a smile quickly crept across his face. After spending a whole week roughing it out in the labyrinth, he finally had a real home of his own. Gazing around the newly finished wooden cabin with quiet satisfaction, everything had been organized and settled while the sun was still shining brightly. That meant he had plenty of time to craft essential household tools before nightfall. He immediately set to work carving wooden bowls and chopsticks. The system chimed in to inform him that he had crafted some hideously ugly wooden chopsticks, so poorly made they were virtually unusable and honestly better suited for firewood. It also evaluated his ugly wooden bowl, calling it an absolute monstrosity, though it conceded that at least it wouldn't leak water. The system went out of its way to emphasize just how ugly it was, leaving Leon burning with embarrassment under the barrage of insults. Even so, accepting the reality that nobody becomes an expert on their first try, he resolved to press forward. He continued crafting wooden bowls, cups, chopsticks, and various other household items. The system announced that his creative streak in churning out a wide variety of items had awakened a brand new talent, woodworking talent unlocked. A congratulatory banner popped up. Woodworking talent reached novice level 1. Leon smiled warmly, realizing this was more than enough to ensure his survival inside the labyrinth. Shortly after, the system informed him that items ranked 1 star or higher were now eligible for sale, explaining that regardless of practical utility, Schilling's shop would buy anything as long as it possessed some aesthetic appeal. Leon wondered if the shop would buy the items he was about to make. He promptly crafted a flowerpot out of maize wood. The system's appraisal read, "A flowerpot carved from maize wood, crafted with high precision, though its actual utility as a flowerpot remains questionable. Estimated base value, 1,000 shilling." Excitedly deciding to test out his negotiation skills by selling it, Leon watched as the system pulled up a trade window. "Would you like to sell the 1-star maize wood flowerpot?" The initial offer was set at 800 shilling, exclusive of commission fees. Shocked by the low valuation, Leon argued vehemently that the flowerpot looked gorgeous and was crafted with exceptional refinement. The system acknowledged its fine craftsmanship, but countered that it lacked any special utility and belonged to the lowest 1-star tier, dropping the offer further to 650 shilling before commission. Leon pushed back even harder, explaining that this wasn't made from ordinary lumber. It was crafted from maize wood, a rare material found exclusively within the labyrinth, arguing that its sheer rarity alone should drastically inflate its value. He pressed his advantage by highlighting the flowerpot's greatest selling points. Maize wood is completely waterproof, and its dense grain grants it unmatched durability. Asserting that the piece boasted both beauty and high practical value, he declared it a top-tier product that could easily sell on its own merits. The system re-evaluated the parameters, announcing that the valuation had been adjusted based on the new conditions, raising the offer to 1,500 shilling. Beaming with satisfaction at a price that exceeded his expectations, Leon immediately agreed to the trade. The system confirmed the sale for 1,500 shilling as the flowerpot vanished from his inventory and the funds were deposited. Leon inquired if he could repeatedly sell the exact same item, to which the system confirmed he could, though it warned that oversupply would cause the market price to steadily decline. Concluding that producing a diverse variety of items would ultimately prove more profitable since he'd naturally end up crafting plenty of useful tools along the way, Leon figured he would continue accumulating valuable experience, confident that reaching the expert tier was only a matter of time at this rate. 3 weeks drifted by as Leon diligently leveled up his various production skills. During a fishing session, he reeled in a rare maize white cod, which the system explained was a rare fish species found exclusively inside the labyrinth. Its body resembles fresh snow, while its eyes glow like moonstones. It commands a significant market value. The system subsequently chimed to announce a milestone achievement, completed achievement, caught 10 different high-quality fish species. Title unlocked, Path of the Master Angler, received 3,000 shilling. Fishing proficiency increased to novice level 3. A congratulatory message popped up alongside a warning that his fishing rod had exceeded 95% wear and tear and required repairs. Leon let out a sigh of relief, thanking his lucky stars he'd caught the fish with only 5% durability left, and proudly declared his preparations officially complete. He knew the absolute prerequisite for graduating from novice to expert was, in addition to a specialized talent aptitude for the expert path, at least 5 talents needed to reach novice level 3. The system displayed his current talent levels, Alchemy formerly potion crafting, novice level 9, fishing novice level 3, gathering novice level 7, cooking novice level 6, sewing novice level 4, woodworking novice level 3. Realizing that hitting novice level 3 in fishing completed his final requirement, he conceded that grinding production skills demanded an immense amount of grueling effort. While gutting the white cod, a crystal orb abruptly rolled out from its belly. Leon stared in astonishment as the system identified the item, Maize Cod's Eye. Though harvested from a fish, it is classified as a genuine gemstone. Its primary trait is an extraordinarily high capacity for channeling magic despite not being a magic stone. Unlocks recipes requiring expert level 1. Market value 10,000 shilling. Stunned by its astronomical value, Leon considered selling it immediately, but hesitated. Realizing unlocking its recipe required expert rank just like the fish essence, the system confirmed. Host must reach expert level 1 to view the recipe. Convinced this item would be indispensable later on, Leon decided against selling it. Confident the recipe would become available soon enough. Right on cue, the system chimed to announce, Maize Cod Essence acquired. His alchemy proficiency hit its ceiling. A congratulatory notification flashed. Thanks to innate aptitude and relentless effort, your potion crafting talent has evolved into the alchemy specialization. His alchemy rank instantly skyrocketed to expert level 1, and the system notified him that a slew of new recipes had been unlocked. Leon gazed in shock at the staggering volume of newly acquired recipes. He immediately noticed this level up felt entirely different from previous ones. Instead of having to read manuals, the knowledge flowed directly into his brain. Many of the new recipes had nothing to do with ordinary potions. Some even covered advanced countercurse techniques. He grew even more pumped up about leveling up. The system announced the completion of the recipe data transfer. Astonished by how fast everything happened, Leon realized that while novice rank only granted knowledge concerning potions, expert rank encompassed the entirety of the alchemical arts. Content with his progress, he decided to review the recipes. Eager to discover what the fish essence could actually be used for, and searched his inventory for fish essence. The system's description read, "Fish essence must be swallowed whole," emits an intensely pungent fishy odor that may cause discomfort to sensitive individuals. Classified under alchemy. Realizing he could consume it directly without processing, he checked if any recipes incorporated it. The system confirmed several locked recipes, required ingredients, 5 special fish essences, 2 fish eyes, warning him that he was currently short by 1 fish eye and that the crafting success rate would be abysmal. Leon breathed a sigh of relief for not selling the fish eye earlier, before realizing a far more alarming issue. The recipe required 5 fish essences, while the single fish eye he just pulled was the only one he possessed. That meant he had literally only one shot at this. Though anxious over having 0 backup materials, a thrill of excitement surged through him, because alchemy was hands down his favorite discipline. The nervous thrill of fishing and the grounded satisfaction of manual labor were great, but nothing compared to the explosive rush of satisfaction whenever a special recipe succeeded. Leon chuckled with absolute confidence, thinking fretting over failure is for amateurs. The lower the success rate, the sweeter the victory. As the mixture began bubbling violently in the bowl, the reaction turned abnormally fierce, making Leon realize something was amiss. The system chimed, received heat resistance through the blessing of the fire spirit. He slammed his hand down to clamp the lid tightly in place, knowing that if the lid popped open ever so slightly, the entire process would fail since he only had one chance. Failure was not an option. After weathering the volatile reaction, the brewing process finally succeeded. The system announced, created alchemist's fish pill 2-star, description, a pill crafted by a novice master alchemist possessing significant value, permanently increases mana upon consumption. Smells faintly of shrimp, but chewing or breaking it in the mouth releases an overwhelmingly pungent fishy stench, must be swallowed whole. Market value 15,000 shilling, categorized under fish. Recipe unlocked. Leon stared at the finished fish pill. Despite the heart-stopping brewing process, he felt a twinge of disappointment that it only hit 2 stars, though considering the low-quality ingredients he used, he figured walking away without a total explosion was a win in itself. Pondering its actual utility, the system revealed, certain fish species are strongly attracted to this item. Realizing its true purpose, Leon grinned. The alchemist's fish pill is actually meant to be used as advanced fishing bait. Armed with this realization, he baited his hook with the fish pill and cast his line out once more. Leon looked down at the special bait in his hand, finally figuring out why he had been fishing like a madman without ever catching a glimpse of a 3-star fish. Turns out it wasn't because of an old rod or a low skill level. If he used this thing to snag a rare catch and haggled with it, he could probably rake in a cool 20,000 shillings without breaking a sweat. He smiled with a calculating expression. A progression roadmap started mapping itself out in Leon's head, catch rare fish to craft better bait, and just keep pushing straight toward legendary status. Just thinking about it got him hyped. But then he shook his head and muttered to himself, money wasn't the issue right now, and chugging it straight down just for a bit of mana would be a total waste. Better off not selling it. His original goal wasn't about money or mana anyway. He was about to leave this place soon anyway, so Leon decided to go out with a massive bang for his final act. He stepped down toward the water's edge in his bare feet. He carefully hooked the specially crafted bait onto the line. This right here was his entire life savings accumulated from a whole month of grinding. A decisive flick of the rod tore right through the tranquil water's surface. Leon stood his ground, taking a deep breath to steel himself for his final relaxation session at the labyrinth. Meanwhile, over at the majestic Astri mansion, the family head sat deep in thought at his desk. Sylvia informed him that only 2 days remained until the deadline the young master had set. The old grandfather could only sigh and admit he already knew. His face carried a clear expression of worry, though he tried hard to maintain the calm composure of a household patriarch. He confessed that normally he couldn't bear to watch this kind of thing. Thanks to Reichsel, the situation was a bit less terrible now, or rather, he was trying to handle it like a grown-up. He recalled back to the days when that child received a marriage proposal. Back then, he had completely lost his temper, demanding to grab a walking stick and go settle scores with that crown prince for daring to aim for his daughter without knowing his own place. Sylvia offered a gentle smile, suggesting that if he was this worried, he should make proper preparations to welcome Leon back. She looked at her master with an understanding gaze. Hearing that, the family head started paying attention, asking back if she had any brilliant ideas. The harsh edge in his eyes softened a bit. The maid suggested booking a full package at the newly upgraded luxury Esther Hotel. Hearing this, both of them nodded in agreement, feeling they had found the optimal plan to compensate the young master after a month stuck in the labyrinth. Sylvia promised to go make preparations immediately. She turned and walked away, leaving the patriarch still lost in his own calculations. The story about the labyrinth collapsing made the atmosphere suddenly grow heavy. Sylvia gazed toward the towering bookshelves, her heart full of complex thoughts. The family head turned to comfort her, telling her not to stress too much over it. He seemed to understand the true feelings of this loyal maid. Sylvia offered a soft smile, saying that even though the path to freedom had vanished along with the labyrinth's collapse, she had been feeling quite happy lately anyway, so she didn't care about it that much anymore. Leon's grandfather started to say something, but then stopped himself. He shook his head, his expression turning much more serious as his thoughts shifted to something else. He admitted Leon was indeed his grandson, but this kid had a special talent for stirring up earth-shattering trouble. An image of Leon smiling brightly amidst a pile of herbs flashed in his mind like proof. He had a gut feeling that over the past month, Leon had definitely turned that labyrinth completely upside down. That anxiety of his wasn't wrong at all. He even suspected his grandson might bring that thing right back out from the depths of the labyrinth. An ancient contract drifted across his mind. Returning to reality, the sun had started to set, dyeing the entire sky in hues of red. Leon was still sitting patiently by the campfire, holding his fishing rod and waiting. With a rundown fishing rod and just a single piece of bait, he figured he looked like a total amateur if any expert happened to catch sight of him right now. The golden hour sunset reflected brilliantly across the lake's surface. He told himself the beauty of fishing lay in accepting the loss of your bait and patiently waiting until you finally bagged that one special fish. Leon stared intently at the water's surface, full of hope. But the truth was hours had passed without a single bite. Leon started losing steam. This lake felt straight up like a dead pond. Not a single fish surfaced. This eerie silence made him uneasy, as if the water itself had frozen solid. Suddenly, bubbles broke across the water. Leon jumped, his instincts screaming that a massive predator was lurking right underneath. He let out a surprised gasp. The float was yanked violently underwater. Bite! Leon focused all his attention, gripping the violently shaking rod with both hands. The sheer force surging up from below left Leon overwhelmed. He could feel the monster's terrifying strength through every single muscle, and his unwavering belief soared. The water's surface exploded as the fish thrashed wildly, kicking up massive waves. Leon immediately identified it. This was the 3-star rare catch he had been waiting for. He had to brace his entire body to hold onto the rod. The monstrous pulling force almost dragged Leon right into the lake, and he could only grit his teeth and endure. A giant fishtail whipped fiercely against the water, kicking up white foam. Leon's eyes went wide with shock at the sheer, massive size of the beast. He never expected it to be this huge. If he let it drag him around like this, the line was going to snap for sure. Leon knew he had exactly one single chance left to turn the tables. He locked in his focus. Leon's hands were raw and red from friction, but he refused to let go. This was the decisive moment after a whole month of grinding, he whispered to himself, and that's. With one explosive jerk, Leon hoisted the fish right out of the water. A brilliant aura burst forth from his prize amid the young man's determined shout. The snapping sound of the breaking rod echoed dryly. Its durability had completely bottomed out after that fatal blow. Leon stood frozen, staring down at the shattered pieces left in his hand. The system announced that the fishing rod had been completely destroyed. However, the image of the fish reflecting in Leon's eyes was what mattered most right now. A smile broke across his face. The system congratulated him on catching a 3-star labyrinth rainbow sturgeon. It was an ultra-rare species with eyes sparkling like topaz stones, and its value was completely immeasurable. Leon couldn't believe his eyes, wrapping his arms around the giant, thrashing fish on the grass. "Did I actually reel in something this insane?" he shouted out with pride. A surge of hype hit him so hard Leon just wanted to snap a legendary photo right then and there. He fumbled with the fish, his hands and feet scrambling all over the place. But then he slapped himself across the face to snap back to reality. "Get a grip, now's not the time for that," Leon reminded himself, gearing up for the next harvesting phase. "Once you catch a fish, you gotta process it while it's fresh." Leon hoisted the massive fish toward his cabin, muttering to himself that he needed to hurry up. The sound of the knife slicing through was music to his ears. Leon felt hyped while gutting the fish, admitting his blade was razor-sharp today, netting him a whole pile of 3-star sturgeon essence. Talk about a bumper harvest. And here it was, his most precious prize, the 3-star rainbow sturgeon eye. Leon lifted the glowing gemstone high, grinning from ear to ear because he finally bagged the good stuff. Wasting no time, he dove straight into the alchemy phase. He dropped the fish eye into the magic cauldron, full of expectations for the outcome this time. But looks like high-tier ingredients produced a different kind of reaction. The cauldron shook way more violently than it did when he was making bait, making Leon break out in a sweat from the sheer heat. Thanks to the fire spirit's blessing he had just unlocked, his heat resistance shot through the roof, allowing him to keep his hands firmly planted on the boiling cauldron rim. Leon gritted his teeth and focused, thinking about all the backbreaking effort it took to catch that fish. He absolutely refused to mess up at the final step this time. Night fell and gradually faded beneath the moonlight. Leon pulled an all-nighter just to keep watch over this crucial batch of medicine. The next morning, when dawn broke through the window, he finally relaxed his grip with a sigh of exhaustion. Both arms felt completely dead, like they wanted to fall off after a whole night of channeling magic. He slumped down beside the magic cauldron, dark circles under his eyes from sleep deprivation. He couldn't believe he had stayed awake all night just waiting for the potion to cool down. Seeing that everything had stabilized, Leon crawled up off the floor, his hands trembling as he reached for the cauldron lid. The most nerve-wracking moment after a whole month had finally arrived. The moment he popped the lid off, a blinding beam of light shot straight up into the ceiling. Leon squinted as he peered inside with hopeful eyes. Materializing before him was a 4-star top-grade rainbow elixir. Along with it came a notification that his alchemy skill had leveled up to Master Level 2. A true quantum leap forward. Holding the sparkling elixir in his hand, Leon broke down in pure joy. He finally pulled off the impossible using purely self-gathered ingredients. Reading the item description, he was even more shocked to learn it permanently boosted a massive amount of pure mana. Talk about an overpowered item, just hearing its effect made his mouth water. Without hesitating another second, Leon popped the elixir straight into his mouth. "Only a fool wouldn't eat this," he muttered, chewing up his reward ravenously. Instantly, an explosion of energy erupted inside his body. Leon could feel the surging mana power wrapping around his entire form like a brilliant blue flame. He squeezed his eyes shut, pouring all his mental focus into guiding this colossal wave of energy. This was the most critical moment to fully absorb the medicinal power. Mana began gathering beneath Leon's feet, forming complex magic circles. He poured every ounce of effort into driving them straight into his mana core. The system flashed non-stop notifications. "The first mana circle has been filled. Congratulations on mastering the first circle and unlocking 3 basic spells." An unbelievable breakthrough in power. Leon stared blankly at his hands, finding this sense of lightness and overwhelming energy completely surreal. He still couldn't believe he had turned into a full-fledged mage. He yelled out in pure ecstasy, clenching his fists in excitement. So from a guy with 0 mana, he had officially unlocked his first magic circle. This was completely insane. Right on cue, the system chimed again. "Labyrinth restoration is complete. You are now free to leave whenever you want." Good news just kept rolling in back-to-back. Leon was moved to tears seeing his name listed with the title Current Master of the Labyrinth. All the effort and perseverance over the past month had finally paid off handsomely. Wiping away tears, Leon quickly packed his belongings into his bag. He hummed while packing, his heart light because he was finally heading back home after this wild storm of a trip. He turned back to look at the wooden cabin he had built with his own hands one last time. In the morning light, it looked peacefully serene, a far cry from its terrifying vibe when he first arrived. Leon was glad the labyrinth would preserve the cabin's current state, so he had a place to return to later. All that carpentry work and grinding shillings for decorations turned out not to be a waste after all. He bounced along, skipping and cheering over the successful completion of his Survive the Labyrinth for a Month challenge. A journey full of dopamine and unexpected plot twists. Suddenly, the system popped up with another notification. During the restoration process, an unowned item was found and requires owner confirmation. Leon froze, curious about what it could be. He wondered if it was another secret hero treasure left behind. Just thinking about it made his eyes sparkle. Let's see. The item slowly materialized in the glowing light, but it looked nothing like a treasure. Leon felt let down, realizing it was just an old, worn-out scroll. He picked up the scroll with a puzzled look. This clearly wasn't some piece of gear or magical elixir, but just some forgotten document. The moment he unfolded it and read the first few lines, Leon's expression shifted. A contract, he muttered in deep suspicion as he read the bizarre clauses inside. The more he read, the more wrong things felt. Leon's eyes narrowed, turning deadly serious as he began digging deeper into the scroll's contents. The contract explicitly stated, "The witch must not use magic beyond prescribed limits, must alter her appearance according to her master's lifespan, and must faithfully serve as a maid for the Astri family." Violating these terms would result in heavy penalties. Leon suffered heavy psychic damage, shouting out, "Isn't this a blatant labor law violation?" He couldn't believe his Asteri family operated like a ruthless black company, exploiting workers this brutally. Looking closer at the signature at the bottom, Leon was struck with horror. The owner of this contract was none other than Sylvia, his close-knit maid. Turns out she was actually a witch bound by these absurd, slave-like terms. He wondered why a powerful witch like Sylvia would agree to sign such an unjust, indentured contract. This truth left Leon feeling deeply outraged and heartbroken. And then he read the very final line. All of this was just to trade for a single chance, the chance to live as a human inside the Astri mansion. Leon stood utterly paralyzed by this harsh reality.